Uzi and Mata died to the first gank and were unable to push a super strong early advantage when they had Splice against the turrets. So when that fails and you don't have Mata on something like Alistair, you have to wonder where RNG's playmaking actually comes from.
I mean, they probably think it comes from the Realm Orbs. Twice they've used them to go for an outpacing maneuver, trying to surprise, but twice they've arrived just late. In the top lane fight, Looper was already dead. In the bot lane fight, he got Malzahar ulted and burned down much faster than I think RNG expected, and it threw a bit of a spanner in the works for them.
Definitely did, and you've got to see Royal hope to catch back up now in this one. The gold deficit still 6,000 from their perspective, and maybe it gets better. Splice have not gotten a lot of objectives in the last 8 minutes or so. It's petered out a little bit. They got a Cloud Drake and a tier 2 turret on the top side a little while back, but otherwise a holding pattern here, looking for the play onto the red buff. Trashy not going to get the steal. That will actually go over crucially to Uzi, but look at this Wonder Force. So Flash Play Xiao, who is on the chase, gets the root, could be enough to get the kill. Looper is in the mix as well, and yes, finally a kill back on the board for the Chinese squad.
And Splice would want to answer with Baron, but it's too early on in the game, and Looper still has teleport. Great Realm Warp there by Xiaohu as well as the Ghost, exactly what Krepo was just talking about.
Yeah, but they could actually just go for it because they have Voidlings and Elise, which means an incredibly quick Baron. Imagine if they started this a couple seconds earlier, but there are some wards in the area right now being placed.
They are now checking. Looper has teleport, walks back to the fountain to get the home guard buff for when he does do it. Voidlings timeout, out they go. That is teleport burned. Cancelled, 3 minutes.
And more importantly, they didn't lose a single bit of health, and it shows you the power of a Malzahar in a Baron rush here, because you can do it very safely. It does cost them the mid lane turret, however.
Yeah, it lost them all the health in the mid lane wave. They push in, don't quite knock the turret down though, but the slow still landing. A big knockup, but it's only really onto MLXG. Uzi did lose Flash though, and its significant resources now down, and that's the stun chain on that Xiaohu. It looks like they'll be able to pick him up. He's gonna flash, but the stun is still there. Another silence, and the kill comes through the shock flash from Wonder. A nice knockback for Looper, but he is still stunned, and that should be the kill. If Shock Blast can come back up, he's burning down. Sencook slowed by Mata. Cocoon's gonna land, Shock Blast in, still not dead. The sniper Kabi gets him from downtown past the 3-point line.
This should be a really easy Baron right now. They can get more Voidlings. Olaf does not carry Flash, so he has to run in head first into a Braum passive without the ultimate up here, so it's very likely that RNG are just gonna yield.
If I've known RNG though, it's unlikely that they yield. Mata is actually looking to try and poke something in here.
And smites up in about 3-4 seconds if they can get MLXG
He's gonna try
into
and
the
steal it
pit.
with an axe.
That's gonna be
¿Qué está pasando en este mundo?
Throws it.
¿Cómo puede ser? ¡Qué
Splice
weá!
does secure the
¡Qué
barrel.
weá!
We have seen so
¡Qué
many
weá!
catastrophically rare barrels.
What are we watching here, my friends? What are we watching here?
Every Baron steal is tense.
Yep, I was ready for an aneurysm right there. If that axe kid takes it after that Karma Q yesterday, that would have been really bad. But you look at the fight here. The early flash force on Uzi, everybody's forced to run without returning any damage.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Looper wasn't at the start of the fight, so no one's able to stand in front. Love the stun chain right here, getting the Braum stun right after he post flashes, and they get that kill. And this is actually the chase in this fight. Splice landed all of their skill shots. It goes to show how tanky the Poppy can be, even when behind.
But it also shows that RNG is
Bueno, cabros, ¿cómo están?
flash
Choro.
to death here. Because they didn't flash the Braum Q, and the slow was just enough to get Malzahar in range. Then Looper didn't flash early himself. He got tagged again and got chased down here. So RNG probably that greedy with their summoners.
And we say that when it doesn't work out, but we praise them when it does. And it's kind of the way that RNG plays, where they play with so much bravado that it looks great when they're able to save their summoners and pull off these amazing plays, and it falls flat on its face when they die time after time.
Flipping coins, sometimes it comes up heads, and wow, what a sick play. But unlucky, as some would say, in solo queue. Either way, it is Splice coming up much better here in this one. The trap wall now coming up for Uzi, hoping to keep mid lane tier 2 alive, but Splice make the rotation. Cloud Drake helping a little bit as they get down to the bot lane tier 2. No defense to be had, grabbing it easily.
But it has to be so satisfying for this roster that trained so hard coming into Worlds. You get smashed 0-3 in the
Pueden empezar a darle un like a la publicación. Ya que llegamos tarde, pero más vale tarde. Pero logramos revivir de la araña. Y no puedo creer que Royal esté perdiendo contra Spice. Qué wea este mundial.
Exactly. Now they're trying to poke off the turret with Baron Minions and a Jace that can go.
Qué wea este mundial.
Trap line, which normally defends turrets quite well, already has 2 of them gone in a
puedo creerlo.
right there. So very difficult for RNG to defend through this Baron buff.
Also, actually a really good champ to mess with Galen traps. Usually she gets like a max range hurricane shot that will punish you, but Malzahar passive does not apply any in all of the headshot particles.
¿Dónde sacó la fuerza Spike para ganar la Royal? ¿Qué mierda está pasando? No lo puedo creer.
Right now, control over this Drake. It's going to be Mountain, and that's going to be a nice one there. Mountain, I think the best late game Drake because taking Baron and taking turrets is the most.
Top y el bot fueron los que murieron a pico. ¿Cómo mataron a esa Poppy?
Unless you already have the objective control down, you want more poke power, but that's really nitpicking. I think Splice would be happy with either Mountain or Infernal right here, especially when they have so much damage dealers on their top.
Right away, Royal never give up, just seed control of that mid lane tier 2. 6-1 in turrets, 9-3 in kills, and Looper just buying 30 seconds by ulting back the minion wave.
Yeah, this is still Baron for another 25 seconds.
Wonder gets caught out though, he's forced to fly away.
But without Looper coming in for a flank initiation, they can just disengage with Braum and Jace and
Bueno, guachos que se van integrando como...
¡Está
niño! ¡Nino! Bueno, Daniel, a ti SM le gusta esto, señores. Que tu madre están ahí. Hermano, si es que Royal llega a perder, va a quedar la cagada en el grupo, weón. Van a quedar de nuevo todos empatados, weón. Entonces, si Royal pierde y solo mid le ganas a... No, queda la media cagada. Si Royal pierde y Samsung le gana a Royal, queda Royal empatado con... No, queda la cagada, queda la cagada.
And you can see Trashy trying to get a little bit of tankiness with the random dome and make it so Uzi can't completely cut through him.
I really like
Alerta del MLXG, el feo.
With the early game lead they already had, just be a front line so that you can walk through the rest of that roster. I think very
a un tercer tiebreaker.
Especially if you're looking
¿Te imaginas, weón? Hacen un BO3 cuando un triángulo de tiebreaker la media cagada, weón. Pero creo que eso matemáticamente no puede pasar, solamente pueden quedar dos empatados.
Trashy, but right now, Spice need to close it out. They need to keep suffocating RNG, keep them in their base, keep up the control and make picks.
Oh, Xiaohu, how? Oh, he tried the juke with the flash, still gets hit for the knockup, into suppression, into the kill. The mid laner is down.
¿Qué wea hizo Xiaohu a tu flash?
He got zoned out as far as the ultimate goes from Mickey X, as far as I could tell.
Oh, qué wea hace Rapid,
or silenced, it stops casting.
Horrible,
the CC land, he tried to flash to juke it, still got tagged by the PB AoE version of it. Uzi rooted up, but he's not going to get anywhere.
No lo puedo creer, no lo puedo creer.
Usually, in the heat of the moment, you get kind of panicky. He's like, does it actually stop it? Am I going to waste my ulti? Is he going to make it out?
Hermano, todos están haciéndolo por ti ese, man.
Much easier to play with the rise off the table.
Yeah, and RNG pushing too far outside before they had to. Still
igual si Spice gana 3 seguidas, la hace, weón. Creo que queda con posibilidades. El día del pico.
Top lane getting small chunks out, but yeah, that's a large chunk out of Uzi with that one. You're seeing Wonder going back and forth, clears the mid lane wave, close rotation, chips the top lane champions, comes back down. 1.5 minutes left on Baron, and it's up to Splice to continue that suffocating ward control.
Mira cómo pillan a Xiaohu, weón.
He's in technically, but just instead,
breaks it.
CC breaks the channel. And they're basing right now because they really want to refill that Ruby Sidestone on Mickey. And then RNG is using the sweepers on the breadcrumbs that are left in the jungle. Splice are bringing more wards to the table. Immediately challenging and attacking that deep vision again, hopefully. Should be their goal, but it looks like they're fanning out again for 1-3-1. They're so comfortable with this 1-3-1 composition.
It's been working, honestly. Right now, we haven't seen that deep backline Realm Warp flank. Those just haven't been successful.
Buena metal, qué weá.
Qué
weá, lo mismo dije yo cuando me puse a ver esta weá, weón.
Lurking in the river. He's afraid to go all the way to the top lane just because of that threat here.
Así mismo estoy yo. EU le va ganando a Royal, así mismo que yo.
But after they do that, they're in a pristine position to start baiting this Nasher.
Yeah, they're trying to keep all the waves at the same time. MLXG is doing a pretty good job of keeping some
LUL pasó a ser EU. Hermano, estos weones no pasan el doping de entrar todos anfetaminizados.
While they're out of position, it can swing the game and give Baron right back to RNG.
They're pinging on the bot lane right now in that brush too.
That's going to be the risk. Yeah, you can always look for the pick onto Wonder, but he backs out securely. There's wards in the jungle for him, but not that'll watch the mid lane rotations. And nothing to be done there. Fight once again over that brush we saw last game. Royal currently holding a pink ward in it.
And no river vision, so if
Buena Piruciño.
really good shock
¿Cómo está Guachín? Buena Solcita.
Start.
No ult's gonna come through. They're gonna let that one slide for now.
Oh, two-man Baron yeah, started.
They can easily two-man Baron. They have so
two-man
many
Baron.
things to tank the Baron here.
Tienen la media weá, pues la combo de Malzahar con Elise se dedica a esto.
The mid lane does right now.
The equivalent to playing Zoo in Hearthstone. They're just spawning out minions everywhere.
RNG does roam over and get the
Es como jugar su en Hearthstone, dicen los hueones. Luper entra.
They can't quite kill off the Jhin, and he will get away with an ulti coming in soon. Now a root on Amata, but look at Wonder running out of health, tapping into the wall, and that's going to be the kill picked up by Uzi. One for
Puta, en un momento
zero,
pensé
and MLXG
que
is tanky, but re-engaged.
Spike está 1v1.
The jungler is dead. They get the root onto Uzi, but is there follow-up? The answer is no.
Really interesting fight right there as Splyce all decide to take up a very defensive position, and also Wonder never flashed over the wall because I believe chain CC. So I think that's a fight where Splyce could have peeled and won, but they played very passively.
I think what actually happened there, what threw them off guard,
Oh,
they
ni siquiera le llegó al
expected
Baron.
a Rise to come out of the Realm Warp. It's so associated with Rise ulti that they, I think, were surprised that it was just Looper coming out there.
Oh, the stun on Amata, he's dead. Nicely played. He was on a ward. What a setup.
Uy, ahora eso es un Baron, yo
The
creo.
Drake for support has to be worth it for the Baron here because they expended both flashes on the lives.
Yeah, and Trashy or Wonder can teleport in 10 seconds, so it will be a 5v3 at the Baron if they wait the 5 seconds. RNG is going to want to fight this.
It's a smart play by Splyce. Now, can they control this?
Wander
spot?
vive,
Looking to finish
está
down the Baron. They
tepeando.
get that pickup.
Oh, Looper.
Looper, more CC, but no Braum Q land, so Looper able to walk away, but they get the suppression. He's gonna burn down. A slow to Uzi.
¡Oh, sí, no!
Dead Caitlyn, a double kill.
Oh, qué wea Spice. Qué wea Spice. Qué wea Spice,
Use
weón.
that to the utmost advantage. They had the smite secure, they had the confidence, and then they land all the skill shots for the fight.
Amidst cheers of "Let's go Splyce" from the crowd here in San Francisco, mid lane inhibitor is down. Still 30 seconds
Juan,
of
honor pa'
5
Spice,
versus
weón.
3 with a Baron buff, looking
Cómo dar
for the
vuelta
Nexus
la wea,
turret. The
loco.
cocoon not
Qué
quite gonna
mierda.
land. Pushing back down, MLXG gonna
Oh
get
my
shot
god.
down.
Bueno, esta weá es una partida de las, weón. Que chucha, están matando.
And the miracle run to make the quarterfinals.
The death timers are still quite long for RNG.
¡Mata!
Mata again!
Shao, who is zoned off the left-hand side.
Mata como
Shao gets the root, runs away. That doesn't matter, though. There's a new minion wave down to the Nexus turrets, and that's
Oh
going
my
to be
god.
their first win.
Oh my god, what?
2 more to go.
And they should actually be brimming with confidence right now. This week in Worlds, Europe has now won 6 games in a row.
Yep.
Which is in stark contrast to the 1-8 beginning they had in week 1. So what a way for them to start with a decisive win over Royal Never Give Up.
Yeah, and some
What the
victories are
fuck was-
by mistakes and people overreaching, but I really feel like Splyce claimed this one themselves. They played their signature style, some of their signature champions. They got CS advantages in the top lane. They played a horrible matchup in the bot lane and persevered, even though their jungle did not show up. And then suddenly the snowball started
No lo puedo
rolling
creer, weón.
based around aggressive
puedo
invades
creer
to the
todavía.
top lane triangle, and they made it work.
Yeah, I
Como que está un-
really have to shout out Kabe and
Oh,
Mickey
yeah.
X for dealing with Uzi and Mata, with the Caitlyn Karma super poke lane, picking a tank support and a Jhin, and being, you know, the 11 CS to 1 start, the constant harass, to be able to turn that lane around and actually have Mata go 0-5-2 in the game is really impressive, especially after what happened in week 1.
Definitely, and it's also the kind of the story of Kabe as a player. He's always
Juan,
overlooked,
mundial culiao
always
rancio,
looked at
hermano.
just the weak
Europa la vende,
area,
Europa la hace.
nobody
Europa la
expects
vende,
anything.
Europa la
And
hace. Así
spring,
van.
He was rated among the worst, and he got Mickey X, complete rookie coming into the team, and they had to mentor him. This guy was face-taking left and right, but they grew into a really solid bot lane. They
Yo no
were
la creo.
the second best bot lane in Europe for the longest time by a margin, beating out all the others. They kind of failed in playoffs, but it's so satisfying to see them kind of get the resurgence and fight back.
And it's funny because it's the same story here at World. Splyce were the European finalists, and they took a game out of G2. They were the #2 team in Europe, and everyone said, they're just screwed. TSM, Samsung, Royal, 0-6, sorry guys. You know, maybe you'll learn something at Worlds, but now the run gets to happen. They get this win here. TSM's up in 20 minutes.
¿No ustedes cachan
That's
que si
one more.
Splyce gana
That's
2
one more.
juegos más?
Tiebreaker, let's go.
We were expecting rock, paper, scissors between
Podría
the 3 teams.
dar
Rock,
vuelta
paper,
a su
scissors,
weá y ganar un
Splyce
cupo,
already
weón.
got
Spice
taken
todavía
out.
tiene la
And
pequeña
we'll see if
posibilidad de
they keep it
llegar a
going.
la
It's gonna be
a la cuartos de final.
in store, but for now, let's hand it off to our analysts to dial in on that win.
¡Qué mierda, weón!
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Splice showing up on the world stage here in their first game of the day, showing us what we had heard so much about in terms of their play, being able to orchestrate a win with a lead in that mid game.
Yeah, Splice played the mid game just so damn well, but RNG, Royal never give up, more like results not guaranteed. I have no idea what they were doing this game. They're so bipolar as a team that you just have no idea what's going to come out.
I was going to call them like a coin flip team. You never really know what to get from them, but it's more like rolling a dice and only one side is a victory because you really cannot tell. When they get that victory, incredible. You'll never see something as powerful as them, but the other 5, disaster.
Yeah, they're just so extreme, you know, if they don't win early game, this team falls apart completely. We praised Uzimata a lot coming into this. We talked about the standard laning phase should be in their favor. It was for the first like 6-7 minutes, and then Uzi decided to get hit by every single snare in the world and actually played an awful game.
Right, and let's talk about this, because as you mentioned, you know, RNG out to the races early with a gank top lane. Beautiful sidestep by Wonder, because if that kill had gone over, that could have spelled disaster for that lane in the other direction, because we expect Jaces to get ahead, but if that kill goes over, could be bad news. As you mentioned as well, Splice not off to a very good start early in that bot lane, but quickly got themselves back into it by hitting their skill shots and a couple crucial ganks and kills coming through early in the game.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if there's any criticism for Splice, it is like, again, the first 5-6 minutes. Trashy was late for the first top gank by MLXG, where I think he should have been there and actually prevented Wonder from losing that flash. Bot lane, of course, falling behind because of the way they drafted. It was a fairly risky draft, honestly. It was all focused on winning top side of the map and kind of surrender bot side. That was risky, but then they start outplaying after those 5-6 minutes.
Yeah, even the pathing was from bottom side to top side to just make sure that Wonder got ahead. And I really liked his play towards the mid game, particularly just pushing a wave and then grouping with the team and making it so difficult for RNG to defend the actual turret. When you're dealing with the Jace, but when you're dealing with the Malzahar and you don't buy a QSS ever, you're going to get killed and you're going to give up every objective.
38 minutes, no QSS, had an Abyssal Scepter instead.
Unlucky.
It was incredibly weird to see that from Xiaohu.
And we have to talk about kind of a crucial minute or so in the game. It came 14 minutes in with a turret dive orchestrated top lane by Splice, where they're picking up 2 kills. And then cross side of the map, we have the 2v2 in the bot lane picking up another 2 kills. I mean, that was a huge influx of gold for the team.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where Splice kind of found something we didn't expect them to have, where suddenly they mechanically start actually outplaying a team like RNG. Bottom lane, that was just a 2v2 lane where Mickey and Copy honestly just destroyed Uzimata once they got to level 6 and Karma didn't get anything from her ulti. The dive top lane, that's what we wanted earlier almost, because we wanted like, hey, Trashy, camp that lane.
Yeah, well, TSM is loading up on stage behind us, as you can hear, but this stat here, I think, tells the whole story of it, exactly that, what you mentioned. Well, hey, when RNG is on and they're crushing the game, yeah, sure, they create a 2.7k gold advantage between just one person, and then this time around, Splice able to strike back Cobby with a 400 gold lead at that 15-minute mark, but then it was about pushing things forward, and we saw maybe a little bit of a lull in that mid-game. I know, Deficio, you would have liked to have seen Splice maybe be a little bit more aggressive towards that Dragon, get those stacking up earlier, but all in all, pretty impressive play.
Well, I think as you guys were mentioning yesterday, I think we're kind of judging these teams on the basis of perfect play, and that's just not going to happen right now. All these teams are not at that level. They're at a much more robust level of play, and watching them just execute with really nice plays that are just, in theory, very good, and maybe the execution isn't there, is what we should be criticizing them for. And I think that Splice did a really good job, particularly around the Baron and how they were able to turn it and try to convince it.
Yeah, a lot of teams just want to make sure they don't make a super stupid play that can actually lose them the game, so they'd rather, you know, not risk maybe 2-manning the Baron and try and fight 50-50 smite it, and that is okay. It gives a little bit slower mid games. But when you have something like Malzahar, at least, you can just have Voidlings tank that Baron and actually take it down. That's what they did over and over, and they got it down in the end.
That's what the game winner was, and that's what I want to take a look at, the play around Splice with that Malzahar, with the Elise Spiderlings, knowing they could start it up time and time again, but still look for fights.
I mean, combinations of disrespect aligned as well with good plays from Splice. We saw the weak early game, maybe questionable decisions.
Todavía se confió, yo creo, bueno, eso le pasó, la típica.
Similar to the first game, but only this time around one team was firing and RNG were left responding
Nunca se
every
confían,
single
cabros,
time.
siempre pueden
Like the
perder.
turn here as well. Obviously, now that RNG is coming in to try and stop them, but it's way too late, and instantly you turn around. Crumps, you said earlier, no QSSs. Yeah, Makes it pretty easy.
Vamos a TS, pues, Diego.
Yeah, and it's very nice to go kill the Poppy first, target closest, and at this stage in the game, just being one man down, regardless of what role it is, you're in the
empecé a hacer nada el
top section,
streaming,
you're
man.
going to be giving objectives, and they're going to use that advantage.
El streaming lo empecé
push
hace 10
all the way
minutos,
for the
man.
win.
And that's a gold graph.
Llegué recién y
llegué,
vi que estaba perdiendo Europa y dije, wow. O sea, que estaba perdiendo Royal y dije, wow. Yo, wow. Yo, wow. Aló.
That was a pretty big deal in the top lane.
Aló.
I was talking to Deficio during the game about this. The bottom lane of RNG
Ahora.
did the rest of the map.
Ahora.
The support did more than everybody but Uzi. That
No, estoy muy loco.
the undoing.
Hermano, yo todavía no me lo creo.
Bueno, si estáis bien con esta partida, ¿no? Tienen que haber visto la de Album Knox versus Rox Tiger, weón.
Cuando pues se la vi.
Esta fue mucho más emocionante que esta, weón.
Esa yo la vi.
De la Wildcard, weón.
Hermano, esa yo la estaba viendo con el apoyo, pues, weón. Estábamos al costado. Y hasta ella le emocionó, pues ni siquiera juega.
Que fue la media partida, hermano. Es que
La
yo
vi,
estaba
weón.
apoyando a Album porque nadie quería apoyar a los coreanos, pues, weón.
Obvio, es que tiene nada, porque los coreanos tenían que ganar porque son coreanos.
Además que después igual Rox Tiger le ganó la partida final para quien quedaba primero en la tabla, pues. Pero clasificaron, pues dejaron fuera así el G y a G2.
Hermano, si Spy le gana las dos que. Si Spy gana las dos que quedan, Royal gana a Samsung, TSM le gana a Royal, se produce un empate entre los cuatro.
Tienen que hacer desempate en todo el día, weón.
Hermano, se viene el grupo de nuevo.
Lo van a repetir, hermano. Pero muy buena la partida, hermano.
No metal.
No se espera nada.
En volada y metal. Vamos a ver cómo avanza esta cosa.
No se espera nadie de nadie, man. Un mundial culiado.
Pero es que qué wea Spy, man.
Están locos, man. Se fumaron algo, pero brígido.
Man, pero.
Hijo, el Zeicro juega muy bien, hermano, pero la coordinación que tuvieron.
Espérate que quiero escuchar esto, weón.
Well, the stage is set for an exciting day.
Quiero ver qué les dijo el coach, que me encanta el coach de Spice.
¿Cuál era? No sé quién era, man.
Pero ¿por qué chucha habláis, weón? Empieza a hablar ya. El coche su madre.
Sound muted.
I fight for a brighter tomorrow. Oh, I should do the voiceover for Jace.
Holy moly. I should do the cosplay. You can do the voiceover.
Does get the knockback, but does he have the movement speed? He's gonna flash Looper, buys him some time, the undertow lands, and he falls back and Wonder gets away! Looper saved his life, I'm pretty sure.
I got the red. Maybe I can kill him. Nice. I can kill him. No, I'll get him. Oh, fuck, man. Well played. Good job.
Sencook slowed by Mata. Cocoon's gonna land shot.
Taxi.
Still not dead. The sniper Kabi gets him from downtown past the 3-point line. They get the suppression. He's gonna burn down.
La hizo la list, yo cacho, weón. Estoy cachando.
Gonna be a dead Caitlyn, a double kill for Kabi.
Qué chucha la partida.
Sound resumed.
Spice, se vio la Royal, never give up. Buena bichox. ¿Cómo está, guacho?
Dare to be different. Revel in the impossible.
Oh, weón, qué weón.
Seen a little anarchy.
Habla un poco, Diego, ¿no?
Aló.
Venido.
Because a hero
Panía
lies in
3.
all of us.
Oh, pero este enfermo me dice. Ven a buscar el blue.
Tenemos que ver el Blue. Estoy jugando, enfermito.
Estoy a punto de llegar al blue.
To
Lo
conquer
lleva,
worlds.
Ah, eso hago yo, eso.
No, es que gente así merece estar en bronce. Splice. En este mundial voy con Albus Knox, weón. Yo quiero que ganen esos guanes. Está el nuevo Gambit. Oh. Oh, no tenía flash. Oh, no me he dado cuenta. La chingué.
Frente de volado yo.
La de TSM,
Ahora esa última quemada que pegué me dejó loco. ¿Qué va? La de TSM la di a la mitad, weón. La vi cuando estaba almorzando atrasado, weón.
la vi completa y me andaron muchos cagazos, weón.
Yo caché que Jelsen culió, lo culiaron.
Sí, weón.
Que no, iba como 0-3 así.
No supo jugarla con Cillian, weón. Contra un Víctor, hermano.
Es que el bueno era buen Cillian, pero no.
Es que no rotó mucho, weón.
Eso era la weá, po.
Es pa' eso, po.
Fue con TP,
Tenía
po,
una-
¿no?
Sí, pues, creo que fue con TP. Pero la línea...
Ah, es que ahí el Olaf la vendió, po, weón. El Olaf, ahí me acordé, po. El Olaf culiado cagó, weón. El Olaf la vendió completamente porque la vendió intentó robar el blue en early y ahí lo culiaron, weón. Sí, po, en early la vendió, po. Fue a robar el blue cuando tenía que estar pasivo y se lo atraparon entre 3. Y después siguió desposicionándose como Olaf. Es que el problema de la composición de solo mid, y yo en esa partida la vi no por la weá, sino que el otro streaming culiado que hacen como el análisis todo el rato.
¿Ya?
Y contaban que Olaf era el único frontline de la TSM, pues entonces la única pega de Olaf era no morirse. Y el weón se empezó a morir desde el principio del juego.
Sí, pues, además que el Kenan no hizo mucho, weón.
Por eso, pues, entonces el Olaf tenía que ser la frontline y no había. Pues.
Y además, eso ya llevaba mucha ventaja, pero fue una sola play donde pasó como por el medio de todo y atraparon y perdieron una TF.
Sí, pues,
y ahí ya se fueron a la vez.
a la chucha.
Igual escuchaba que esa fue la play la que hizo que ganara Samsung Galaxy, pues. Encima el Crown, que era el mid de Samsung Galaxy, se creía caleta, weón. Decía, ¿por qué ganaron? Porque me dejaron piquear a Víctor. Como, qué bueno.
Hermano, si solo mid le gana a Spice y ahora Royal le gana a Samsung, quedan los 3 empatados de nuevo.
Bueno, es que seguir, ¿no? Pues, queda de otras men. Ah, se está enfermito mental.
Pal Peco, Coutinho, Pal Peco.
Baja, weón.
¿Mataron?
Yeah, bitch. Me entraron por atrás, pero como si no hubiera un mañana. No. No. Oh, bueno.
Welcome back to the Bill Graham Civic Auditorium, where Splice is back on stage to face TSM. And gentlemen, I think the most important thing to note here, Splice coming hot off victory, where they looked very good. TSM not looking so clean in their loss to Samsung Galaxy, rather, to start off the day.
Felipe culiao, me cachaste que hay un video de Jhin algo que no he visto, weón. Tengo que verlo de ahí, weón. Me ha cachado, weón. Subió hace 2 días.
¿Vos rapeáis?
¿Ah?
¿Qué rapeas?
¡Rapeo! ¡Rapeo que ya está empezando Spice contra Solomi!
Va a ganar. Si no se abonan con los picks de nuevo, puede ganar TSM.
De nada, yo ya no predigo nada yo.
Y bueno, es que.
Buena Seba,
No
weón.
sé,
Buen
no
Andrés.
te crees nada, weón.
Ah, se sabe.
De hecho, hermano, el domingo juega así como la revancha entre Cloud9 y TSM. El Impact dijo que perdieron contra... que no, contra SKT era la weá. Impact dijo que habían perdido contra SKT solo porque habían baneado mal. Pero bueno, llegan a banear bien y pierden, van a quedar para acá.
And understand that your mid lane and bot lane is where you're supposed to win this early game against Splice.
Yo creo que SKT fue culiado,
TSM
weón.
play entirely different to RNG. Splice coming
Tengo
off
feo.
a strategy, they do have to completely rework what they're looking towards. It will be a carry off in the top lane. They will be trying to kill each other, so I agree with the J spam, but
SKT se los va a garchar a
to
todos.
be fighting each other at the very least. And
La
one
idea,
needs to work with his jungler this time.
All right, well, that's a little bit out of our analysts about how they think this game might go. That's going to be enough from us, so it's time to kick things over to our casters to get into the game.
Esa última.
Thank you very much, Dash. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the cast. We are
Pero ¿por
just
qué
about
está
ready
la
to get
Poppy
into
aquí?
our third game of the day,
¿Qué
which
puedo,
is
bien,
TSM
tío?
taking on Splice. And
Me lo voy a
I mean, the
andar
day we
robando
look
el
great,
me
right?
pasé de
TSM
repente
get a
en la
win, and
cámara,
they keep
me
the
sale
chances
rojito
up.
que me
But
están
now,
sacando la chucha, weón.
Splice
Cagamos.
definitely in a position to strike back.
It's been a crazy week of Worlds
Yes.
so far. We've had tiebreakers in every single group. Potentially, you could see a 4-way tie in this group that would require Splice to win this game as well. But anything can happen at this point. This is no longer the team you can walk over, and TSM has to be present of that when they go into this game.
Yeah, Worlds has been great in terms of storyline. So many times
¿Por
you
qué
think you
no,
have it all
amiguito?
figured out, the predictions out there. There's a reason 99% of the pick'ems are already in shambles or something.
99.97% of people already have their pick'ems wrong.
And anybody that predicted him right was probably just under influence, honestly, because there's no way you could have predicted the way Worlds played out.
¿Cómo pelearle en un lugar cerrado una
have
Catarina?
interesting surprises here as we get ourselves into the pick ban phase. TSM removing some of the champions that Splice are known for or have shown and demonstrated.
TSM banea Jace,
very
Casadin.
large skill line with the Kassadin and the Jace gone.
Spice ni está baneando los jungla. Que quieren cagar el Sven Kerrens.
Splice heavily targeting Sven Skarens early game invading junglers. So
Sí, se quieren cagar el early de Sven Kerrens.
Ese van es muy bueno.
Oh, this will be a first rotation Aurelion Soul
Con Lesin por lo menos.
by Splice. They have to ban Syndra here, I feel. So they have to ban Syndra against Bjergsen because I don't think they actually have a reply ready. And then you could see maybe an Aurelion Soul first pick for
Tank and shove. They can wait for later for that, and they're getting their power picks.
Exactly, because with this.
Oh man, piquearon a Syndra, man. TSM con Syndra, Spice va con Karma y Elise.
Ahí está, pues, dijeron que Villese jugaba muy bien con Syndra, pero se la baneaba. Ahora como la piqueó no puede perder. Si pierde ya...
Culpa de él.
Culpa de él no.
Para él está malito. ¿Van a piquear Nocturne?
Oh man, no te mueras.
The Splice duo bounce back from a rough laning phase. Last week we saw them do well against TSM's 2-on-2 already, and pick a good matchup, might just win again.
No creo que piquen Nocturne porque ya piquearon la jungla, para que van a adelantar el pick de la jungla. Estamos mostrando nomás Nocturne.
TSM, are they gonna go for the OAF again or just gonna start pivoting?
Because of the fact that they're breaking up.
A menos que no quieran mostrar su de carga y quieren esperar.
Most proficient early game jumpers aside from that. I think Splice has actually won the early part of this draft, assuming Sencooks is good at Aurelion Soul.
No lo quiero perder. Una buena partida de versus...
NA.
So utility is there for a double. He will not be the hard carry. Jhin can, but it's less likely to be the case. Might even be a losing lane matchup. The Rek'Sai is back in for Svenskeren, so he has some early pressure. We'll see if he can use it.
The other pick we've seen in December that has been fairly effective has been Vladimir. And Vladimir is good if they get to the team fight phase against both Syndra and the Jhin. So there's a chance they go with this as well, but it's a tricky early game.
I feel if you watch every game,
Jhin para double it!
Vladimir has only done well when the Syndra has neglected to play on her strength, which is if a Syndra sits into lane and eventually lets the Vladimir get to the game, yes. But if the Syndra goes
Gripex, no creo que no está en el Mundial Gripex.
These other lanes, she gets such a large benefit for the team because Vladimir pick just doesn't have the influence. So I'm actually quite surprised that Splice as a
Es suplente de Spice One, creo.
Rumble ban over the Syndra ban and let TSM have that Syndra first pick, and they didn't match it with a creative counter pick, and they just did another iteration of the Vladimir Syndra.
You also have to look though at how Splice won their game against RNG, where they picked losing matchups against the other team's strengths, and then tried to win everywhere else on the map. In a sense, that's what they could be doing against TSM here, and hoping that Sencooks can keep Bjergsen at least a little bit under control. Definitely a bold strategy.
He visto highlight nomás del Gripex.
Just about 2 hours ago, bike down in the mid lane, so maybe he's a little bit off his game, and Sencooks could make this happen. Of course, Sencooks himself definitely played very well in his previous showing on the Rift. And we have to see Ezreal picked up alongside to go alongside the Vladimir. Plenty of damage now available to Splice. They're waiting on their top lane pick as well, which will give them counter pick and
El Diego dice que Gripex es Flamer.
showing these champions. Vlad into Syndra, top lane waiting.
Could be the ultimate curveball. Top lane Vladimir. Seen it once.
Amazing J, is that you? Up in the top lane. Amazing J did play it in the LPL playoffs. Carry tops in the past. I think it's a little unlikely.
What?
I'm just gonna see some Aurelion Soul, man. But it's not gonna happen.
Bobby puede ser.
Definitely a fun champion, but you're right. It seems pretty
Buen
unlikely
pick
here
de
at this
Bobby.
point. Instead, they're saying, you know, it might be a losing matchup a little bit, but the Poppy might work well.
I really don't want to see Poppy here from Splice because that makes their mid and top side of the map get shoved pretty substantially early on in the game. I would much rather see them, even though Aurelia has had some losing games against Gnar, play Aurelia or play Kled.
Me voy a mutear ahora, hermano. Avísame si te voy a ver el mundial que estoy flameando y no tiene.
So a lane you've got to play aggressively in order to win, and Wonder so far has.
Con el Julio estaba flameando. El tercer ban de TSM por si acaso es Malzahar.
Again, a lot of pressure here on Trashy in the early game. Maybe Yamato Cannon gave me a little tweak, said, you know, one camp less, earlier gank go out.
Yamato Cannon!
Any early gank can stick here, but it almost guaranteed has to be in the top lane. Aurelia level 3 plus Elise coming in is such a potent lane combo. Yes, you won't get the equilibrium strike stun out, but you can just get the slow, which is enough for
El Is level 3
with red buff.
tiene mejor ganqueo que Rek'Sai level 3, creo.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Bueno, dale, ¿cómo está, guachín?
Does have this window of time where she can beat the Gnar. It's generally before Gnar is level 7 or 8, picked up some armor items, but early on, even if Gnar is shoving in, that actually makes it so your equilibrium strike can stun.
¿Cómo parecen robots como los coreanos? No entiendo.
So it's a very dangerous lane for Hanser early on.
Y si voy en equipo y todos somos como robots en equipo.
TSM top lane, we've seen Wonderwind lane before. He might do it here as well. He's been given the champion to do so, and he's also got that early pick Elise on Trashy. You mentioned the pressure on him. The theoretically advantageous jungle matchup. You're expecting top lane to win for Splice. We'll see if they can do it because piloting it is the important part. So, throughout the tournament, we are always on the lookout for your contributions at home on Twitter. Hit us up at LO Esports and call out your favorite moments from Worlds.
Información confidencial, Felipe. Clasificada.
Worlds big plays. As always, cheer on your favorite teams as well. We had cheers for Splice, but we're also in TSM's hometown of Splice. And here we go into our third game of the day. We are set for explosive matches as TSM takes on Splice.
TSM, Splice, TSM.
And it is so
TSM necesita ganar esta partida.
TSM succeed for their organization. They failed to make it outside of group stage.
Ah, me refiero como carisma.
They dropped the first game of the day to
Los rusos son más robots que los coreanos para eso.
Splice took down RNG. If TSM win the next 2 games, they're in 2 quarters without any tiebreakers having to be played.
Buena Jhin, tanto tiempo, guachín. ¿Cómo está, Choro?
Splice came into the day. I wouldn't say
Mira cómo baila ver Jensen. Está flameando. Recuerdo ver Jensen flamear. No bañar de ahí, weón. No weón más. De puta, nunca más les cuento un secreto. Fue mi auto. Yo te dejo bufandas, capa. Pensé que iba a face chequear. ¡Woo! Puta, como que igual quiero que gane TSM porque me gustaría que TSM pudiese representar a NA en el Mundial. Pero si Spice ganara 2 seguidas sería el comeback de la vida, de toda la vida de League of Legends. Así que igual también quiero que gane Spice, así que tengo el corazón dividido en 2. Bueno, Juanqui. Sí, cada vez que habla el ruso culiado de pelo largo, el Liquid dice que para ellos todo es ganar, a nadie le importa el espectáculo, a nadie le importa el juego, para ellos la victoria es todo, es como máquinas culias. Para que aprendan. Extra XP. Es que, bueno, a mí me gusta obviamente Cloud9 más que TSM, pero Cloud9 no creo que pueda ganar, weón. Cloud9 está recagado, weón. Tiene a SKT1 junto con los taiwaneses.
Basically what it does is it prevents Double from leveling up on that creep that he just killed, which means he actually gets zoned a little more. They wait until the next wave settles in, and it makes it very manageable. In addition to the fact that Firefrost already used 1 potion.
Nice dodge.
And he ate like 2 Qs. So right now, Splice, they're playing the sustain game. In raw terms of experience, yes, they're slightly behind, but they have the lane control, they have the push, and they have the sustain.
And now if we match it by levels, the next time TSM would be able to bounce back in this lane is around level 3 if a Rek'Sai were to approach in the gank. So the early lane definitely going to Splice.
We'll see how much more they can get then with this one.
Splice tiene mejor early one.
TSM
está como para la teamfight.
He has been juking spectacularly in the last few games. Olaf axes to save him last game to ganks, and there are 2 slick skill shot dodges right at the start.
And it speaks to the comfort that Splice is playing with. I feel they were much more on the...
A TSM no le tocaron puro europeo, le tocó Spice, ¿no?
They had to make something happen, but in a sense the 0-3 kind of liberated them. If they went 0-6, it's kind of what people...
Tienen que ganarle Royal todavía.
But at least you want to go down.
No la tienen tan fácil. Pero Cloud9 sí la tiene más difícil.
And last game was such a feel-good game for Splice, capitalizing on all of their strengths against RNG, doing well enough in lanes, and then making a great one happen. Now it's about, can they
guardeo.
Doesn't give it away too badly, actually. Not rushing back. He's going to let Trashy waste some time.
Super recent ward here, so that's a bit of an error in communication. Wunder should be able to track the movement of a Gnar to the point where the ward is very likely placed. Trashy wasting quite some time here. Let's see if Svensson can use it to his advantage. Maybe out tempo.
You've had a nice little play by Hanzo. He walked down what looked like to be faking putting a ward down, trying to like mess with their timing, say, oh, it wasn't warded, I just outplayed you.
Yeah.
Wonder gets chunked.
It could have been a bait onto Trashy because Svenskeren was coming to try and get the kill, and luckily for Splice they don't take that bait, but it definitely helps the early laning phase for TSM. When Gnar was needing to be pushed up, they had the ward in the
Miren, Bellesen le
so
tiene
they
la
understand
media
that.
ventaja gracias al blue.
Monster is
weón.
very skilled in kind of doing the mental math in terms of camps. He knows Trashy is now forced to do 2 camps and kind of path to the right side of the map there, and he'll actually will be avoiding ganks for the next few minutes. So that little phase is very well played by TSM.
El support de quién no va a estar por Flamer, hermano.
The jungle push Trashy around, can't do that just yet. He made an early recall around wave 3, got an extra spring, and was given the blue buff. So Bjergsen will have the next minute and a half of lane control, and maybe he can join Svenskeren, but that's going to be an engage by Trashy, getting plenty of damage down. 200 HP left on the Rek'Sai, has to flash. But
El support de quién lo echaron por flashear con el de Cloud9.
and the heal's not going to come down in time. First blood, but it's an exhaust into a stun, into a very dead Elise, and down the water spout she goes. TSM getting a kill back.
TSM had the shove in the bottom lane and the mid lane, which is why Svenskeren
Mira
was
sangre.
able to make the invade, but it wasn't in time to save him from that first blood.
A lot of summoners
Para
though,
Spice, pero TSM contra el resto del tiro.
in time. Trashy could have said, okay, you burn flash, I walk away. Instead, trades kills, but gets way more summoners out of it.
Yeah, it's 6 summoners to 1, which is a gargantuan difference when you're considering early game usage. That means Trashy's next game can be much more effective.
And then we need to look at the information that was on the
Pues
table.
cacha,
for
hay
TSM.
dos flashes
Bjergsen
que me
is
van
just
bot.
checking Raptors. They're gone, so they should actually be ready for the potential that Trashy is in that rush. But Svenskeren just saw him very late right there because Trashy wasn't moving much, and honestly, a very bold invade here. His mid laner is on the left side of the map invading, and he's going on the right side.
Exactly, and in this situation, there's a lot of little things that happen. Trashy could have been starting on the Wolves, which is why Svenskeren was looking to invade. Trashy made the call to think of an invade because people are kind of used to Svenskeren always being super aggressive. Then, Biofrost could have flashed early and got the shield in front and potentially saved Svenskeren's life, but Trashy was the first one to pull the trigger on that flash, gets the first blood, and I think overall it's worth it, even if they gave a kill back to Bjergsen.
Definitely agree, but we sit at a game with a 300 lead.
Ah, de IM.
Nowhere to really
High
jump
main.
to. Is it going to be the stun? The ulti coming across. There's the jump.
Hoy no tenía idea de eso, voy a buscar después la noticia. Buena kill para Bjergsen.
And this is TSM
Estaba
resorting back
Rek'Sai,
to
pero
what they were so good
no
at.
tenía idea de Bjergsen.
In unison, together, they will invade. Svenskeren and Bjergsen become a tandem, and they both moving together, combining their champion strengths and weaknesses.
And when the trade is
Parece que
6 summoner
Spike estaba
spells,
comprado por solo mí.
TSM zeroing out the 1 summoner spell and punishing it, whereas Trashy wasn't able to do so, is incredibly key in swinging that early game.
And it gets even worse. Trashy rushed mobility boots to hunt for that advantageous gank, you know, to really drive it home, and he got punished super hard on his next camp.
It's the ability in the last game as well. Moby boots into the movement speed AP item. I'm blanking the name, Ether Wisp I think it's called, and he tries to get into those lanes and find those pressure points. Clearing the ward right now and finding what else he can do.
And when Elise as a champion falls behind early, you do not get back into the game by farming more. You have to go for another gank. So the next few minutes are so incredibly important here for Splice. They need to get Trashy back into the game. They need to make something happen, because otherwise those 6 summoner spells that were used will not come at a single cost for
No tengo idea, solo mid no tengo idea.
Double his flash, even closer on Biofrost with his exhaust and flash of his own. Yeah, that might not get punished at all. The question is whether they can track Trashy. The engage towards the Splice's dual lane, pretty much non-existent. Do you want to talk about
No sé si ha pasado cuarto, creo que no, hermano.
It's plus 17, 18 right now for Wonder. This matchup has done well for the Splice top lane. It's keeping the game quite a bit closer. You're seeing him go in for the slow and forcing the hop.
Una
And Aurelia has a large amount of threat, especially when there's an this size, because if Hanser does want to return auto attacks, he has to back away. Not to mention, even when
Claudio.
jungle, Hanser always has to be wary of the Elise gank, since the damage potential of an early game Aurelia is so high. This is why the Aurelia can win the matchup. It's about kill through.
Stun and the Q gonna land afterwards. At least Hanser gets a little bit of damage through, but absolutely Hanser doing okay for himself. Wonder doing even better.
And we're approaching the point of the game where Doublelift and
Rex se va a
Biofrost
gankear, amiguito
actually
Rex.
get a really favorable matchup in terms of all-in. Because Karma doesn't get access to more power. Ezreal gets the ulti, but it's hard negated by a Braum shield.
Again, still
Wait,
flash.
Smites it away though, gets the red buff completely secure, walks away pretty cleanly. He was on a pink ward.
Uy, Leire no está escuchando. La vendió.
By Bjergsen. Wonder's gonna have to dodge this stun somehow, and he does flash to get away from it. Trashy's there to help, he should be fine.
Beautiful timing by Wonder on avoiding that stun.
Buena. La hizo al final la ira y la bomba. Quedó desposicionada, pero después la hizo con el flash bomb. Lo terminó perfecto. ¿Qué tal, Esteban?
There is a move that Scout pulled off earlier where you can throw your W in one spot and the Q where the flash would be, and then E at the same time to try and catch up with a stun either way. But that's thinking a little bit impossible.
Sí, bueno, aguanta Immortal, weón.
It's just going to be the loss of flash for Bjergsen's Ghost in the roam out.
Critical moment here in the game, though. That's exactly what we were talking about earlier. The hard negation of the ultimate here with the Braum shield. If that incident happens in an all-in, suddenly TSM pulls ahead because when Splice have to run, they're running away from third and
¿No es cierto, weón? Yo también. Hacer el G lo respeto solo por Afromo, weón. Yo también prefiero a Immortal, weón. Por Pobletter, hermano. Aguante Pobletter. Yo tomaría por Juni, weón. Aguante Juni. Un único bon con cuevo en top lane, weón. El único bon que le gusta sacar daño en top.
Or if Splice can actually go bottom and try and get some kills on Doublelift and Biofrost. Unlikely though with the Summoners.
Yeah, if Trashy does, he is alone. His entire dual lane recalled. TSM know they're under almost zero threat at all. Biofrost kills the
wall. El White Tortula.
Gonna be fine, but yeah, talking about Trashy losing.
En la Season 3 el White Tortula era de TSM, pues bueno, y le culeaba el pico a Doublelift. Y Doublelift era de Counter Logic. Y ahora están al revés. Ojo, ojo, ojo. Ojo, ojo, ojo. Ojo, mira esa Irelia. Ese Irelia debería estar tepeando. No, está recagado. Está recagado. ¡Caque!
The last fraction of a second that Hanzo could get the Mega Gnar, he cast it, immediately hops back to Mini Gnar, and it was so clean because Svenskeren and
El problema del White Tortula es que es muy soberbio, la soberbia le pesa al White Tortula. O sea, no al White Tortula, que era, al Doublelift. La diferencia con Doublelift es que el Doublelift es muy soberbio. Le pesa la soberbia a Doublelift. Jura bueno. No, ni siquiera, no se jura bueno, se jura el mejor. Y no tiene miedo de decirlo, yo soy un buen malo. Que el mejor soy yo, weón. Te lo he dicho varias veces. No sé por qué se van a andar hablando, weón.
Mada and Uzi weren't going to roam around on Karma and Caitlyn and affect the rest of the map. But when Bjergsen is on Syndra and he's able to affect the other lanes, the problem isn't isolated to a specific part and it spreads to the rest of the
mira, se lo acabó.
Saw it before, knocking to the wall, chain succeed. Even if Hanzo doesn't get that knock off, it's still going to be at least a 1-for-1. That's just a really solid play for TSM with such a low risk of failure.
Absolutely agree. The matchups that TSM have gotten in the early game, jungle, the winning lane matchup, Svenskeren and Bjergsen can walk top lane whenever they deign, whenever they want to. They're up there and they can start punishing Wonder. You can see, because of the influx of gold, Hanzo are having a better time trading back and forth. Kami has to arcane shift that. Well played by him. Biofrost will get rid of that pink ward, gets replaced.
And again, Bjergsen roaming with Svenskeren.
And Sencooks is just sitting in the mid lane right now. They open up and are looking to at least burn summoners, hopefully getting kills.
Mickey is alone under his turret. Here comes the dynamic duo looking for it. Mickey gonna get hit up. Couple more snipes to go.
Y TSM está haciendo lo que siempre hace TSM cuando está en ventaja, gankear de 4.
Now 3 of TSM's members have kills.
It could be a race for the first turret here, though, as TSM might want to get the bottom, as Splice is now going for Hanzo.
Espesa siempre fue malo, hermano.
But Trashy can't get a range for the stun.
They abandoned the race because there was only 4 creeps left, and that's
Special siempre fue, esta es la cadena de los más malos. Regional, Dirus, Special. No, Regional, Special, Dirus.
I don't know, it's still looking pretty risky. Top's getting lower and lower, and I think it's actually a fairly close race. You're seeing the Spiderlings were up for part of it.
The base race cam to see who can get it first. Splice!
Siempre encontré remador Special.
Just a few seconds. That's actually a pretty crucial.
Pero no malo, o que no era bueno por último, era ahí. Ni fu ni fa, ¿cachai?
Splice looking for more than just a race.
Puta, como Biofrost, pues bueno, yo a Biofrost tampoco lo encuentro tan la raja, si a veces se la hace, pero ni fu ni fa. Para ser buen soporte tenés que ser muy bueno.
Yeah, you take the 90 gold from the Gromp and the 400 gold from the first turret. that's actually 1,000 gold difference that TSM could be ahead if a few things go differently. So very critical that Splyce can stay in the game with those small margins, as they were very close to being completely snowballed on, and now they still actually have a bit more of a chance.
And no immediate power on the Dragon. It comes
Donde
later on Thursday,
llega
contestation, but right now there's no Elemental Drake here that gives you immediate bonuses to Splyce. They have a few windows to get back in.
Here comes the roam. They want Bjergsen. He has to flash the Cocoon. Saw it coming, and Trashy, good job getting rid of that Summoner spell. The repeat gank the next 4 minutes could be very good.
Yeah, it does hurt Trash that he had to burn his flash on the way out, because now he can't necessarily get a guaranteed kill onto Bjergsen, but still a valuable roam by Splyce.
See if they can get it. Roams weren't built in just a day. Sometimes you got to take a bit longer to make them happen.
Eso como el puñito todo. Oh, pero ¿cómo? ¿Qué estáis haciendo si los viste a todos? ¿Qué hizo, weón? ¿Qué hizo?
But it is a nice pickoff.
Yeah, they CC'd him. I think the reason everyone on TSM was hitting him so hard is because it was the Cinder stun into the Braum stun, and they were worried he was going to pool flash away. But Sencooks never flashes or pools early, and he pays the price.
Right now, Krepo's checking to see if he had people walk through Fog of War, and he actually saw plenty of people just
he saw
way too long.
Yeah, he saw the play. He saw the support come from one side, so he thought he was fine, but then they came around the mid lane wall.
Really
can't afford to happen. Bjergsen playing with no flash so far.
Oh, nice repel. Trashy jukes it away. Gets the trade kill. Claw back to this game, but it is a 2,000 gold deficit. Now Wonder in the top lane does have flash. Will he be forced to use it? Yes, he's going to finally jump over that small part of the wall. I was hoping he wasn't going to get chain slowed, but he was.
Haunter has the Frozen Mallet. Wonder was definitely extended too far, but Bjergsen was also extended too far. He had wards on the right side. He was too close to the left when pushing up there, and he gets Cocoon from the Fog of War.
And this is the way Splyce deal with problems. One big Bjergsen that pushes in. Well, we're going to put 3 members against him, put the Vladimir on a slide lane. This is against Splyce opting for the 1v1 very early in the game here. Good Cocoon, and just as you mentioned earlier, he dodges most of the damage with the repel while still going forward for the kill here. 3-man squad. Very tough to deal with a single Syndra though.
Now it's actually making the land just slow on Fog, and TSM really trying to get something. Trashy, no flash.
Slow 1, slow 2, slow 3. 4 shots gonna land on a Trashy, but now will he survive the encounter? A big knockup comes out of Biofrost.
No puede ser Spy igual.
Knock down the Elite, but Repel's gonna buy a few more seconds, and the re-snipe comes through, but it's too early.
¡Listo!
To the backside, they've picked off double lift. It's now a 4v4.
Oh my god!
Sencooks is poised to do
Lo va a hacer Splyce. Muere.
From Wonder, they've already picked up another.
No,
That's 2-1 in favor of Splyce. 2-2 actually. They did pick off Mickey.
That's still exactly the type of fight that Splyce would want. It's messy, it's protracted, and then Sencooks can go in the back, get onto Jhin.
Rara la wea.
Messy, but also very calculated because they peel away the Vladimir from one lane. He is not running.
Es que el Irelia todo es
He
raro.
goes into that fight, and as he peeled in, they teleport from the other lane. So while they were super spread out on the map, 1-3-1, they suddenly collapsed as a 5-man unit and surprised TSM.
Yeah, and this feels like it keeps happening to TSM so far at Worlds here, where they'll get a small edge, pushed a little bit too far, and the opponent...
Esa es la wea, solo sacó la ventaja, puchó un poquito más adelante y la vendió.
Yeah, look where Vladimir actually starts. He starts in the bot lane, moves over, there's a teleport, let's see where it actually comes out. It's on the wards behind, so the shallow wards into the enemy jungle here. Double completely surprised, moving away from Sencooks, but then suddenly, as he casts a W, Wunder comes out, and if you give an Aurelia access to a low mobility carry in the background, he can almost solo it.
Yep.
There was no teleport.
Buena Wonder ahí terminó. Quiero que gane Spice, weón, y que queden los 4 empatados, weón. Se la raja, loco.
And that's props to Splyce for, despite being behind in this game, a good 2,000 gold, even more than this at this point.
Yo tampoco piqué tan mal Spice.
That teleport to happen, not letting up in the game and losing all their vision control.
And by putting 3 mid, challenging Bjergsen at least a little bit on the roaming. Sure, if he wants to go to a side lane, he's only finding one isolated target. They can usually back off. TSM are still aggressively contesting.
It's a blue buff steal, nicely played. And this is the thing, is if you're the team with the gold lead, you're just supposed to win any given 5-on-5.
Fue raro que no le hayan dado nada de prioridad a Heraldo en este match.
Pushing their weight around in the right places where they are going to match up well enough and get those advantages and continue to push forward.
Mano, Spice gana 2 seguidas y bueno, estamos listos.
It would mean side lane priority, but they seem very much so dragged towards the bottom side of the map, really challenging Vladimir, who has to get up close to the mini wave if he wants to clear it. 4v2 here.
See what they can get. Senkuk's juking back and forth, looking to clear some minions under this turret, but the wave clear not honestly amazing from Splyce. TSM have a pretty good amount of siege. The minions are back in. You can see if melee minions are allowed to hit a turret, that means your wave clear is bad. And that is the case with this team comp.
Right, but even with that, they only get a couple of shots on the turret. Jhin at this point in the game, not the greatest at killing turrets. They don't want to overextend too much in fear of...
Es que el Heraldo en minuto 19 es tan bueno para un jugador, es tan bacán.
At this point, though, they have a whole bunch of wards in the jungle of Splyce, the blue buff, and they're probably Ocean Drake in about...
Triforce with some lifesteal here on Wunder. He's always leaving himself exit creeps. Good read from Hanser. He knows that Wunder is actually trying to dodge the boulders by dashing to the creeps. If you play against an Aurelia, you always have to be mindful of what is her exit path. If you can somehow screw that up, make her waste a Q bounce.
Oh, he jumped in, but he
play.
Out.
They're going to land the root. They're going to land the slows. They should chain the CC pretty easily here in this one. One more snipe will do it. And Doublelift gets his second kill. Nicely done.
And I can see why Wunder died there. He was not expecting...
Jugué 4 top vista por salir de dragón. Deberían ser dragón ahora. Deberían ir dragón ahora. ¿Por qué no hacen dragón? No van a alcanzar a traer la torre de bot, man. Van a hacer pelea mid, mira, van a hacer pelea mid. El Jensen solea, Coes, Venskeren, slowea. Bjergsen está asegurando.
Bjergsen Syndra just has so much pressure because he is able to hold the mid lane 1 versus 3. Earlier, it allows TSM to put 3 members in the top lane and get a kill. And then after that, when Svenskeren moves down, he can just one-shot, obliterate Kobe right now. And that's all falling apart.
Bueno, Virulzinho. Lo raro es que no van por varón, o sea, por dragón. Van a seguir puchando. La prioridad acá son las torres antes que el dragón de agua. Quiere entrar Spice. Ojo que están peleando un 3v5. Cadena SC, cadena SC, cadena SC. ¿Cómo la juega solo mid? Cadenea el ulti de Hanser. La doble de Svenskeren con el combi de Bjergsen y tenis. Como 7 segundos estuneado con Chetumare. Y ahora ya TSM un monstruo imparable que te va a comer. Y eras, o no. La única oportunidad de Spice es que ahora vayan y se peguen el ace. Ahora. 2v5, 3v5. O saquen un varón. Ahora. Porque ahora le pueden puchar.
First stun, I believe.
Y están cagados.
Ultimate into the Rek'Sai knockup, all the while hitting them with circular damage. Mickey as well.
Oh, he's so dead.
If you're new to Splyce, the Mickey X special. Walk into Fog of War.
Horrible.
TSM hoping to play with confidence. And I think 3 minutes ago, this game was incredibly dangerous for TSM because if you think about this game moving towards the late game, if it does get close, the Aurelia and the Vladimir combo so well into the Syndra and the Jhin. But this play right here, he gets the priority target that he needs to, and this is after TSM had already picked up the Aurelia in the top lane.
But this is with Mickey X walking around in range with exhaust available. You should never let your AD carry die if you're playing 3v1 and you have exhaust, because if Bjergsen doesn't get that kill, suddenly Kobe can finish him off on the back of that plane because Syndra has cooldowns.
And this is an I think I can mentality from Splyce. They don't want to give up the turret despite having 2 people respawning on the map. Wunder goes a little bit in. They get a bunch of CC chain onto Senkuk. He thinks he's safe.
Ahí estamos,
Senkuk comes in, and when Hanser doesn't hit the Mignar, Splyce still kind of think they're safe. They should have just been fully running away, but Mickey gets caught into Bounce House. Everyone goes down.
Cadena es increíble, weón.
It's a dirty sequence there from TSM, and now fully in control of the game. Looked a little bit close from Splyce. Honestly, that rotation where 3 people surprised Wunder in the top lane was the tipping point. That's where TSM took control again of the game.
And it was good on TSM to finally have a better looking mid game. The mid game is where they are Samsung around that 20-minute mark stun. On a Kobe, not too much more gain off that one, but this is Splyce backs against the wall. If they lose this game, they cannot make the quarterfinals here at Worlds. They'd be capped at 2 maximum wins. There'd already be 2 teams of 3.
Yeah, and from TSM's perspective, they need to be strong in this stage of the game.
And they've already knocked down 1 member for it. The turret's going to be up next. It can't even run away, so unlucky there in this one. Svenskeren going to weather the storm. The damage not going to be enough for him. Plenty of orbs available.
She's coming in behind them.
Has the
Fallan.
ulti, a bit of
Ojo que
slowness
fallan.
and cooks more damage. Sengu pulls out of there, but now that means he's an available target for that unleashed power. Here comes the engage tools. It's double lift with the curtain call. Gets the slows on a wonder. Gets plenty of damage. Mickey gonna get away, but he's not gonna be so lucky for the top laner. That's 2 dead already. Another trade kill. More in for Bjergsen. 4 versus 2 right now.
Just a snowballing Cinder right now. 9 kills, also making it so difficult for Splyce to escape.
You can definitely still see that Bjergsen is the central axis that TSM is playing around. He's involved in 14 out of 16 kills right now. He is the one driving the game home. Initially relying on his push into roam mobility.
No, yo iba, debía ir para una limpiar visión. Buena Jesús.
And last game was Splyce capitalizing on all their strengths from the European LCS split. This is TSM.
Bajate del cielo, mi hermano.
North America. They are a mid-game team with such a low average game time. It's because they can make these plays happen. They are aggressive even when even in numbers. They get the stun of the trash.
La mega combi que le hacen al
and then
Maggie.
as this play extends, actually, they dive through the turret because they know what their priorities are.
Yeah, they have a super strong poke and siege composition, you know, with Deadly Flourish, with the massive range of that Syndra QE combo, and then if people start running, the curtain call is enough to facilitate the chase here. Firefrost not afraid to go for the aggressive ultimate either here. TSM, sleep. Rolling over Splyce.
Oh, and Kobe gets hit by the Deadly Flourish, and it's going to be just that load. Ulted, goodbye. Double lift on a killing spree now. And look at the Mega Knock catches several.
Oh my god!
Look at that, a 3 for 0.
Cacha, ¿cómo la hace, weón? Para el
It
pin.
just keeps coming. TSM has so much hit potential with the
That's a
Jhin
TSM one.
and the Syndra right now, with Biofrost jumping over the top on all of these fights. 3 kills now.
Sí, bueno, tienen la combi de NSC solo mismo, weón. En cambio, la Spike tiene una combi muy rara, weón. Que la Irelia ya, si con Irelia no alcanzáis el early que necesitáis alcanzar con Irelia, ya estáis cagados después, weón. Porque tenéis que armarte Trinity y después tenéis que armarte o tanque o... Pero no tiene ni ítem, weón. Tiene 2 ítems y botas, está hecho pico, weón. No tiene tanque Irelia.
Team comp in the mid game snowballs so well. Nobody actually cares about the red buff. It's about the kills that ensue. Kobe forced to use his gap closer once. Has flash, but
once you get hit by 1,
it's over.
Yep. The Braum stun, the Rek'Sai knockup, the Cinder comes in over the top. Hanzo gets Mega. Guess what? He lands the 1.
Que igual ya estaban jugando mal, tenían que haberse ido por el pasadizo culeado ahí de la pared y siguieron para donde estaba tepeando. Queríamos empate, Daniel, queríamos empate, weón. Queríamos empate y llegó solo mismo.
Those have been very well orchestrated so far. The Baron buff, the question now is, how long does it take for TSM to kill off the Nexus? They are almost definitely guaranteed this one. They are almost guaranteed to send Splyce home without a quarterfinal spot. They got that upset win over Royal, but if Splyce can...
Buena, Laito!
Up for TSM.
Listo, man. Listo, man. Ya está ganando, ya solo mismo. La perra. Hola, perra.
And the shields came on enough. Now the retreat because Kobe wants in on the double lift. How's that duel?
Kobe se la juega contra Doble. Oh my god. Doble se lo culea. Buena Hydra, Hail Hydra!
Was a little bit more even with Bjergsen. That's exactly how Splyce would want to fight in the late game. But they're going up against the gargantuan goal lead here for TSM.
And they're looking for even more. Hanzo jumps in, forces out the Sanguine Pool from Senkux, and it's going to be the bottom
Listo,
inhibitor.
man.
Mid lane inhibitor soon to follow. Baron buff still on for over a minute, with 2 inhibs down and 14,000 gold, putting TSM ahead.
Very important they also win this game quickly because average win time is one of the seeders for tiebreakers you can get. That's really tough. Although maybe it's not important anymore. They're going for the game.
Callado, weón, callado, todavía tenemos esperanza. El 4 de empate, el 4 de empate. Cagado. Y solo beat.
Even taking damage from these Nexus turrets here as they push forward among the crowd, yelling for their name, chanting the initials of North America's #1 team. They won the summer split. They're hoping to do well at Worlds. They're 3rd, but in the group stage right now at the hands of Splice as they have one more match to play, and if they can win the next one, they will make top 8 at Worlds.
Cacha el doble y weón, tiró su audífono, weón. Estaba chato, así como. El culiao soberbio. Soberbio. Tiro mi audífono y yo soy el mejor, weón. Pa' puta, weón. A la mierda solo mío. Carga el doble culiao muy soberbio.
Qué bueno,
Es más malo, weón. Le costaron 5 seasons jugando como el pico. Ah, ya, pues, alto ahora. Tokio. Cagaron los Russians.
An interesting story for TSM here at Worlds. 2 losses already, 3 and 2 now.
Deberíamos hacer eso nosotros, Loleros Chile.
See how much it means. They're stressed. They knew this game meant a lot to them, but they still need to do more. For Splice, unfortunately, this means they cannot make the quarterfinals anymore. The dream of a 4-way tie at 3 and 3 is gone. But they're definitely making teams think about them.
Yes. And they will play. Go ahead. And their role is like spoiler right now, and they're also not a team that's going to take that lightly. No. Splice at the end of the season, yes, they played a science support once because it didn't really matter in the standings that somewhat, not so much. But here at Worlds, they really want to put themselves in the next game. So whoever's next against them, like Samsung right now, they will have, honestly, still a chance of losing. Because stylistically, a slow team like Splice, like if they play like in Europe, could technically take a game out of Samsung.
Sure. Yeah. I think there's even some camaraderie there, right? You've got the 4 Danish players here on Splice, 2 Danish players even on TSM. It's like, all right, we're going to help you guys get through the Worlds. We'll knock down Royal for you. We'll knock down Samsung for you. Do the rest of the work, Bjergsen, everyone else. You know, still, yes, it would leave a great impression on the European fans to have this second week do better for the EULCS. Splice 1-1 in this last week. One more win at least leaves them on a positive note coming into the next year. It would be nice to see from them. But for now, let's hand it over to the Dash and the boys to check out TSM's win.
And thank you very much, gentlemen. There's the kind of victory we're looking for out of the TSM squad here coming into week 2. And unfortunately for Splice, this does mean no quarterfinals for them. Still the opportunity to knock Samsung down. But let's dive into this one here and figure out what adjustments TSM made, because this was a
Mejor
very stark contrast between Game 1 and Game 2 starting champs.
Well, the first thing he's letting Syndra go through is asking for a ball beating back to dodgeball in high school. I mean, you're just going to get beat up nonstop. What I didn't like about Splice is the fact that they went with a no-pressure matchup into the Vladimir, and we've seen how Syndra to Vlad plays out. Vlad gets pushed in, Syndra has the opportunity to roam. That means that if you pick a top laner that is really volatile, a matchup like a carry into the Gnar, and you have Syndra go into your lane, you're going to lose that lane, and you're not going to have that win condition.
I definitely blame Yamato Cannon here, honestly, with this Splice draft, because you said it perfectly, I feel. Banning Rumble in the end, when you're planning on playing something like Aurelia anyway, who can just go up against the Rumble, and you have the same kind of situation where you can try and camp that lane and snowball the Aurelia, really doesn't make any sense, because you also end up trading. The first rotation is so important. If you give Syndra, you better get something really, really important on your first rotation to make it worth it. They end up trading Elise for Rek'Sai, so that's like a slight gain maybe for the Elise, and that's it. And the Karma, while she's a good pick, so many other supports play so many other different things. We see Alistar, Braum, Nami. Karma definitely doesn't have enough value to be worth giving away Syndra.
And of course, when picking Syndra, you know the Vladimir's into it. The difference as well with Splice is they go for the Aurelia, so there's going to be a split pusher, and they end up putting themselves in this awkward 1-3-1 situation where maybe if they had a team fighting top lane as someone that can actually...
When I call you to meet you, you're such a muscle
back and forth lane, there's a better chance that the pivot will be more effective.
Yeah, because what's going to happen later on in the game is Splice wants to play on all 3 lanes at the same time. So they want to put Vladimir in the side lane, they want to put Aurelia in the other side lane, and then Ezreal sits in mid with the support. The goal for them, or the hope, is that Syndra has to go to that side lane with the Vladimir and defend, and then you isolate her, she's alone, she can't kill the Vladimir, you have a winning side lane there for Splice. Top lane, Aurelia has the winning side lane, you have 2 lanes pushing down, it's all great. Problem is, Syndra is not going to go to that side lane unless she's behind. She's just going to sit mid, wave there. She can 1v2 the enemy dual lane, and when you have no pressure mid, you can't play side lanes because you can always get roamed on.
You saw it even in the builds, right? Aurelia going for that Blade of the Rune King second is a huge telegraph for I plan on sitting in the side lane against Gnar for the remainder of the game. Now, aside from a repeat weird invade from Svenskeren in game 2 here. I do want to push past that. The recovery for TSM this time around was much, much better. And this is where I want to look at the roams that they were
Sí, pues Europa ya tiene representante. Norteamérica está ahí. La quema.
Teams will make it strongest when Bjergsen is on a mid lane pick that can push, and Svenskeren is on a mobile jungler who can gank. And that's exactly what we just saw right here. Mid lane gets pushed up by Bjergsen, he roams to top side, and if you do not call miss instantly and your top lane is leave the tower, just give up the lane, leave the tower, he's going to die like we just saw now. So TSM just got like the best picks for them around mid and jump.
And to your point about calling me, the same thing happened in the top lane. The dual lane from TSM recalls, goes straight to the top lane. Nobody's calling this out, and you have a Jhin sniping the Irelia with the Braum coming in onto the Gnar, once again putting that split pusher even further behind, and Irelia just never got a foothold in the game. She was unable to put any side lane pressure, and in the team fights, she became blown up, and that's exactly what happened.
Buena, Carlos. He volvido. ¿Qué les pareció el partido? El de Chile. No me olvides de esa wea.
This is a part of the lane assignments to go all wrong here. Vladimir in the bottom lane, Irelia trying to be inside.
Oye, ya cagamos para Rusia, ¿no?
Sí, hermano. Ya si hicimos, perdimos 2 partidos en Madera.
Yo cacho que ya fuimos ya.
Ah, viste que Bjergsen con Syndra era como la mano. Por eso se lo banean.
Viste, por los baneos perdieron estos malos culios. Le tuvieron miedo al Svenskeren, pero no le tuvieron miedo al Bjergsen. The Bjergsen.
Tienen medio con Rex ahí, Syndra, Nar.
Cagamos.
Tiene un enfermito que se llama Jhin. Si tiene un poquito de daño, te atrapa. Y inicia muy bien esa mierda.
Mira, en unos momentos Spice estuvo ganando.
32k de daño, hermano, la Syndra. Da daño, bro.
Yo me tomo daño, tranquilo.
Callado.
Ahora
juega quién?
Chile.
Oh, esta partida va a estar buena. Samsung Galaxy versus Royal. Never give up.
Never give up. Never give up.
Really poor timing. The bot lane of TSM blew all summoners to try to save him. Luckily for him, Bjergsen got double buffs off that pick and then was able to, on the backside, kill Trashy as well. And from that advantage,
Si sirven los comandos, hermanos, con una inflamación, se demora un poco.
That's what you want to see out of a
Está volado el comando.
top-notch player.
Está volado el comando. Solo. ¡Oh! Te meo match, papu. Papu.
Este va a estar intenso, man.
Intenso.
You don't want to give Aurelion Soul or Syndra to because of the strength.
Corea contra China.
They outright win the game like that, and Bjergsen very much deserved it.
Well, game 3's in the books, and TSM is on the board in week 2. When we return from break, Samsung Galaxy and Royal Never Give Up are back on stage. Stay with us.
De más, pues, papu. Se quedan ustedes y yo me quedo.
Váyanse.
And I laned with his Thresh and I was playing AD and I laned with Biofrost Thresh. Oh my god. I'm breaking, of course. Alright, I'm sorry. I'm insta-locking Thresh.
But Trashy could join up soon. He has flash of himself, and the heal's not going to come down in
Están cagados la
time.
Hijos de puta, man.
Uno que está para cagar la ruta de arranque, weón. Lo ponen en un mundial, se ríen, weón. Estaría hecho mierda. Estaría más concentrado que la chucha.
Goodbye, double if on a killing spree now. And look at the Mega Gnar catches several displays. They're going to run out of health. That's several more as they have one.
El daño de Syndra, weón.
If they can win the next one, they will make top 8 at Worlds.
Ya, cabro. Main soporte, only objetivo. Capa.
Reportado.
Ayer me dio una crisis de pánico con la araña y por eso dejé de streamear, cabrón. Que tan hecho pico es que eran 3 gigantes y después había un nido y quedó la cagada. Horrible.
Bueno, me está hablando de un enfermito que se llama BBC Alexis Texa.
Cagado.
¿Qué hago con eso?
Tiene las tetas.
Yeah, no, pues. Por favor.
Yeah.
Ah, ya sé quién es.
Vos banea. Banea nomás. La duda banea. Entonces ahora tenemos Samsung contra Royal. Partido.
Vamos a ver quién gana. China o Corea.
¿Por qué no partes? Cagamos.
Una partida que estaba jugando recién Korian, hermano, salí 23-7, weón.
Luego contra Faker.
Sí, weón.
Le ganaste, es muy bueno tú, weón. Excepto cuando juegas dúo conmigo. Joder puta.
Pero es que ahí...
No, pero eso es Riot no, pero es que es cuando juego dúo. Hermano, yo juego solo y me tocan buenos buenos, weón. Pero cuando juego dúo, Riot me trolea.
Me tocan buenos malos, juego con todos me tocan buenos malos, así que... Estoy aprendiendo de a poco a cargar los malos y después cuando juegas con buenos como que...
Sí,
bueno,
weón.
terminé como 15 minutos la partida, weón.
¿Viste, weón? Tenéis que subir el elo de actitud, weón. Esa es la weón.
Hoy sí, de hecho, hay una página que dice MMR y a mí me salía, no es que habíamos cuando empecé a perder y bajé como Platino 5, me empezó a salir, tu elo está por debajo de las demás personas, pues... No es perteneciente de esta liga. Y yo, puta la verdad. Por eso ganaba como 15 puntos.
Ándate.
Solo que, güey. Y ahora me dice, tu elo está por arriba de esta liga, sigue así. Oh.
A ver, ¿dónde puedo ver eso? ¿Dónde la página?
Last.pgg.
Pues anda la weá, weón.
Deja buscarla.
Escriba la weá. ¿Qué va? Hermano, está hablando el chino, está hablando el coreano.
Esta es la página, man.
¿Por qué los coreanos son tan ricos, weón? Mira ese weón.
¿Quién?
Yo ese weón se la pongo, hermano. Culeado está entero maquillado ese coreano culeado, weón.
Ese tiene falso, ¿no?
¿Qué wea pongo yo? ¿LSH SerllinOPI o pongo, weón?
No, pues pone Minecraft. Pregunta, weón.
¿Y dónde dice la wea del elo del MMR y la wea?
Consultar MMR, weón.
¡Estamos arriba! ¡Estamos arriba! ¿Viste, weón? Lo logramos, weón.
Pero renovaste los datos, ¿no?
¿Cómo renové los datos? Cagamos.
Los datos para que actualicen las partidas hasta la última que jugaste, weón.
Cagamos. Vamos a consultar. Cagamos. igual. Estamos más arriba incluso, weón. Estamos más arriba incluso. Estoy 80 puntos arriba de mi liga, weón. ¿Viste? Yo soy platino, weón. Yo no soy un gold de culiao. Tengo un KDA promedio de 2.3. Cagamos.
That was one of the huge topics surrounding Crown coming into Worlds, right? Was his champion pool. He had a ton more games on both Victor and Varus than any of the others.
Le voy a pasar el link del mío para que lo vean, weón.
They talked about multiple times. Yeah, he's in solo queue. He's practicing so many other champions. He is diverse, and he's actually shown here at Worlds the rise was also extremely impressive for him.
Un micropixel.
Victor, you know, he
¡Son los pixies! ¡Los pixies! ¡Te queremos el T6!
That rise out earlier today. We'll see if Royal Never Give Up feel that is ban worthy. Royal did not show up against Splice. Splice actually picked up their only win of the tournament so far against RNG earlier today. What went wrong for RNG Spawn?
Yeah, no, if you cast your mind back to World Group Draw, I said that Splice would beat Royal in one of the games.
Vamos a ver. China-Corea, cabros. China-Corea.
Early lead on Royal and then split them up, drag them across the map. This
China, China lindo. China como un sol.
That just caught him completely off guard.
Also, I think one of the key points for RNG is having Mata on a champion that enables him
We were rock yo.
You don't really get to have the same control.
We were rock yo.
A spectacular playmaker that I feel like RNG will go back to that now and be more scary.
And I think that they just played too much to
Mano, no me acordé de ese momento, fueron los peores de la vida.
Surely you can take something like the Caitlyn as well as a playmaking support to be able to get in there, as we've seen so many other teams do, because you don't have to beat Kobe every
Hermano,
game by
estoy feliz.
You just have to have those late game team fights.
Me voy a comprar sushi.
¿En serio? No, pues. Yo también. Ya. El culiao.
Es que va bien mi tío y se va a rajar. ¿Y qué pojo? Vino el mundial con sushi. Ya empezó, hermano. Sala de baneo. Banearle sin Samsung Galaxy.
Estoy adelantado, hijo de perra. Maldito, me caen mal.
¿Cómo se llama su man?
MLXG. MLXG.
Syndra, la gran Syndra Xiao.
¿En cuántos segundos vais tú?
Yo voy en los 26, 25, 60 ahora. La está dirigiendo.
Puta, estáis un poquito más adelantado, el hijo de perra.
Ya, creo que los paneos ya enfocados al mid. ¿Ah? De Royal. Allá fueron como equitativos, hermano. Bañaron al support que se llama la Karma. Jhin, porque inicia bien. Y una Nidalee que tiene un medio ganqueo. Porque me cacha 81% de piqueo, o sea que...
De baneo ese weón.
En muchas partidas.
No, weón, esos son el 81% de baneo, imbécil.
Por eso,
lo banean en muchos partidos, no lo piquean, po weón.
Ah, la chitadora legal. Chao, cabrón, un placer. Ya.
Están malos los datos del analista.
Ese champion Oregon Sol, ya andan toda la línea.
Es que se aprovechan del bug, weón. Buena Kevin. Ah, no, no querés Kevin. Buena Curicano. ¿Cómo está Curicano, weón? Que el Kevin también tiene una K verde, weón.
El Kevin.
¿Cómo está Curicancito? Perdón por confundirte, hermano. Este está por ti.
Ya, tenemos Kindred para Samsung Galaxy.
Caitlyn con TP. Ojo, Caitlyn top.
Contra Looper que va a pillar ese.
Claro. Rumble para contrariar a Caitlyn.
Sí, no, pues Caitlyn para el rango, por más.
Ahí está, po.
Cuando le tire la R, Rumble pa.
Se hace Michael Jackson. Claro, po, weón. La grande.
Después
Olaf. En Corea nunca se había visto un Olaf, weón. En todo el semestre coreano. En Olaf solamente lo estaban piqueando los norteamericanos, dijeron delante, weón.
Sí, de hecho, o también de los que G2 igual creo que lo piqueó en algunas partes.
Ah, pero G2 Lul. Te van a cambiar el nombre a G2 Lul.
Yo la mayoría de las que he visto en el mundial lo han hecho mucho, se lo han cagado, pero de mucha manera, weón.
Es que no la esa es la weá, pues te quedas sin flash y te pueden cagar si es que no tenés último.
Por ejemplo, ahora, mira.
Pero ya tienen calor, los weones tienen calor. Ha cagado calor ese weón.
No tienen cómo iniciar con este Olaf. Tienen frontline, pero ¿cómo inician? La Zaira,
la iniciada de la Zaira, yo cacho que está. Ahí está la Zaira, pues, para iniciar.
Ah, pero ese.
La piquearon. Chalupa. Meo team. Este es un team coreano. Este es un team que está mostrando pies que no habían querido mostrar, yo creo, Samsung Galaxy, weón.
Mata con su alta.
No lo bloqueo.
No, lo va bloqueando, tiene que bloquear.
No lo bloqueo. No.
Bloquea, mata.
A ver, está ahí. Una benjita, ¿cómo está?
¿Vamos a sacar a Brown?
No. El Brown. No creo. ¿Y qué le pero para qué va a sacar Brown? ¿Qué quiere que va a cagar con su pared, weón?
Nada,
Por eso, pues, qué mierda, loco. La está troleando. La está troleando, hermano. Lo único que le puede cagar es la Q del negro este.
Ah, pero aquí es para el Chile al
¿Cómo?
con su que es su escudito, hermano.
O sea, claro, podría ser para la línea, vos decís, para cagarle el Esnare a la Syndra. O sea, la Syndra a la Cira.
Yeah, bitch.
Pero en late game esa weá, yo me hubiera gustado más. Es que puta, esa es la weá. El Alistar es iniciador y el Brown es defensa, weón. Están confiando en Uzi.
Están jugando al pin nomás, yo creo. Protegen a ese Uzi.
Es que con mata con la vaca es bueno, pero que dicen acá, pero el problema es Cira, pues, weón. Cira se lo conterea, pues.
Que son...
Va a tener la media fácil línea Cira contra la vaca, por cambio con Brown.
Entra por atrás y inicia cualquier TF. Y con Brown no creo que pueda hacer eso. Por eso hay que jugar al pin. Igual como que es real con Brown no es como muy buena combi.
Es que Uzi con RL es muy bueno, weón.
Uzi un dios. Ah, buena partida completa esta mierda. Esta partida va a estar de puta madre.
Exactly, because it's a
Ahí
risk.
está
If you
el
win the
flaquito
lane versus
Rek'Sai.
Caitlyn Zyra, it comes from
Mira,
Rek'Sai
se jungla,
comes
hermano.
down
Pero mira.
going in with the Q4.
¡El huevo feo por la chucha, weón! Que alguien le... Hermano, por favor que Riot Games le dé una cirugía plástica a ese pobre muchacho, weón.
Hermano, que en volar hicieron tan bueno para el LOL que tienen que dejarlo feo.
No, es que no voy a...
No voy a tener todo.
No voy a tener todo, weón.
Ya, hermano, va a empezar.
Vino Gran Melchor, vale 100 lucas, qué chulo. Lo sorteamos, capa.
Samsung Galaxy versus Royal Never Give Up. Oh, esta es muy buena torta.
Mira, a mí solamente me gusta Royal por Looper mata Yuzu. Y Xiao Hui y MLXG. Solo ellos.
Y empiezan a nombrar los
Y
suplentes.
me gusta Samsung. Por Ambition nomás. Y Cube. No, Cube es también bueno, weón.
Crown, el Mirko. Mira, dejaron Victor.
Es que claro, Corona es bueno con Victor, no me lo he visto. Es que Xiao Hu es bueno, weón. Yo vi toda la liga coreana, o sea, la china y... Bueno, las dos en realidad, pero la china me gustaba más, weón. Son más lanzados.
Con razón sacó Brown, pues si tú sabes que esa Zyra tiene mucho poké con sus plantas,
Por eso, pero el late...
El late va a ser
O sea, en la teamfight, ni siquiera el late, la teamfight... No sé qué tanto, weón. Igual tiene sentido, weón.
que va a ser buena frontline.
Es que la weá igual que la iniciación la sacó el feo, weón. El Rek'Sai. El carne cañón. Ya tírate primero, por feo, Julián.
Ya, flashea, weón. Ya se Uzi sacó.
Mira.
Ya, esta línea del mid va a estar...
Estoy seguro que va a seguir adelantado un poco, hijo.
Estoy como 4 segundos adelantado. Ya, ese Victor con ese Malzahar va a estar difícil.
For RNG, because you expect the Olaf for the quickest clear to start on the blue for the extra mana and cooldown reduction, but he does have Opti and the possibilities of his early influence. You know, that's where a lot of people fell in love with this jungler, right? Where the
También la línea de Echo versus Rumble. Yo creo que al principio Rumble tiene mucha
Uzi.
So, looking to see something special from
¡Ojo! ¡Weón! Ahí está el Brown.
On the back foot at early level, as to be expected in terms of this matchup, but Martinuzzi moving forward.
It certainly is, but how patient can this duo be? Because you can see already they're walking
El soneo que tiene esa Zyra con sus plantas.
Braum is such a volatile lane, especially with that exhaust.
Está perdiendo en todas las líneas Royal.
Imagínate la combi de sonear con las plantas y además sonear con las trampas de la Caitlyn. Dejan muy atrás al no lo dejan farmear. Y esa es la idea.
Más encima el rango de la Caitlyn, weón.
Sí, y por lo peor es que las plantas pueden seguir haciendo daño abajo de torre, pues la va a seguir poniendo.
Side lane, bush control
Está roto
is not
Zyra.
going to be there in the early game, and there's always the chance that the enemy jungler, if you haven't seen them, are
El que va a meter Royal.
Jungler from Samsung Galaxy, this is MLXG waiting
Quería entrar ahora,
for the
weón.
crown. decides not to overextend. Here comes MLXG. Flash is available. Will they trade it? Xiaohu's going out. Malefic Visions is tagging for the damage.
Le forzaron
todos.
Why wasn't he more patient? And why did he go right at that moment?
Igual tranqui, tranquilo. Para salvarse de ese gang, yo ya flashado al tiro.
Even though that gank resulted in summoners, or
Muy
actually did
desesperado, yo
result
cacho
in
que ya
summoners,
estaría...
it also resulted in
Base,
denying a canyon minion and a decent amount of damage there on the crown. So that was a very successful.
Si tienen la visión y saben dónde está, pues saben que está para abajo.
Was not flashy.
But at the end of the day,
Oh,
the
esos
investment
bichos
is still
del...
quite high now with the pushing
Uh.
bottom lane, pushing
Pero ahora
mid.
se quedó sin maná. Eso
La
es lo
firlo,
malo.
la firlo.
If you are ambitious on that
La visión de los bichos.
right now.
¿Viste esas plantas que ahora...
¡Oh, pero mira!
No. Las trampas sonean mucho. Mucho.
Oh, yo soy culiado hasta en la B ahora. Se tomó trampa, tuvo que gilear.
Sí, pues.
Le puso una trampa invisible, weón. No sé si cachaste detrás de torre, weón. Acá hay clean culiado, weón.
El soneo que tienen las trampas son mucho. De hecho, hasta abajo de todo tengo lento.
Está mostrando el feo, weón.
Son un pro. Feo y Challenger. Que dupla. Y coreano.
Chino, weón, chino.
Chino. Oye, si matas coreano, ¿qué haces ahí?
Que no había mucho, no había cupos coreanos. No había pega.
Ni tan carrito. Mira ese Rex ahí, por la jungla enemiga, buscando el ganqueo atrás. Se viene el ganqueo de Rex ahí. No, mala.
Me esté weando.
Debería haber entrado por atrás, por la parte de la torre. Se demoró mucho en entrar por la línea. O mátale y salgo yo el ganqueo.
Mata, otro one que es bien soberbio.
But I feel it's worth the risk because there's 600 gold behind
Ego
the laning phase
se
and
fue a
you
base,
expect
man.
Uzi and Mata to win.
Igual Looper es como el talón de Aquiles de Royal, weón. La suele vender. En late.
Sí, de repente sí.
Con unos o no tiras de P.
Ese Rambo yo creo que igual va a hacer la diferencia en las TF.
Por eso,
tiene
weón.
mucho daño.
Y QB le pone, weón. Aunque igual Sansuma esta season estuvo ahí nomás, weón. Sí, llegó con Kue al mundial, pues, weón.
Sí,
Es la tercera semilla de Corea.
Oh,
Con cacha, se cayó el TP al tiro, weón. Coreano que compran nada, weón.
Aunque compra una poción y tío.
La cagó, weón. Poción Pingward.
Eso es lo mismo, si había ido avance anteriormente.
Pero es que con el ulti él hace el eco, weón.
Sí, pero no tiene TP, que lo gastó igual. Pero eso sí lo va a tener como...
Buena Brony, buena Sar, buena Sol. Oye, Sol, te pregunté una cosa por Facebook, pero creo que te lo dije de una forma como demasiado mala, weón. No era mi intención.
Perdóname, no es lo que es. Ese Pingward del mid.
No pasa nada, Sar, no pasa nada. Vos disfruta, capa.
Reportado. ¿En qué dan bicho? Oh, con casi le sale mal. No, le tiró la última de rama.
¡Oh my fucking god! ¡Choju! ¡Oh! Calculó mal, pero ¿se va a salvar?
No se salva.
No se salva. Primera sangre para Crown. Cuidado que Crown, si nos volea ese Víctor, es su main.
Fue buena rotación de la Zaira. Llegó justo en el momento.
Es que hermano, Xiaohu la hacía si es que le pegaba el ulti justo cuando se le acababa el ulti al Ambition, weón.
Pero justo lo hizo mal, es que
sí, bueno, y la vendió, weón. Pero le faltaba así como él. No creo.
Un poquito de cañita.
Es que cañita, coño.
Fue buena rotación de la Zaira, la atrapó a los dos. Y después me hacía la W de Víctor, ulti. Ahí está el replay.
Pero Sol, no llorís, si estoy acá, yo te tengo acá. No te preocupes. ¿Cachai? Y Zaira, weón, mira la mea Snare, weón, que se pega, loco.
¿Sabéis que lo malo es que el support y el Chao Hu le gastaron todo al Lola, metieron esta nación sabiendo que tenía el Ragnarok.
Es que por eso lo timearon mal, pues, weón. Si los dos se tiraron pensando que ya no tenía Ragnarok.
Era súper mala esa jugada.
Era arriesgada, es que igual podría haber salido buena. Es que los chinos juegan así, pues juegan al 50-50.
El nulo de vida. Y esas plantas siguen soñando a Este. GG Uzi.
Mata manages to escape with his life. No summoners. And Samsung Galaxy plus 1,600 gold.
Oye.
Got themselves first blood.
Brown no tiene su summoner.
As if Uzi didn't have a tough enough time. Now he's got
La suelta mal, weón, la suelta mal, tiene pena la Sol, weón.
Sirve un torre para...
Está estornudando y llora, no sé por qué, weón. No llores, Sol.
Primera torre para Samsung Galaxy.
¿Cachai el snowboleo que se pegó de la venta de Chao Hu, weón?
Y el Brown igual, pues, si el Brown subió y murió, pues. Ah, no murió, pero gastó todos sus summoners y tuvo que recalear.
Gastó hasta el... Oh, MLSG. Se dicen al feo.
Always been the problem playing against the Korean powerhouses. As soon as you make that one mistake, as soon as you give them the window.
Pero es que hermano, si Royal pierde esta weá, Royal queda afuera, weón.
¿En serio?
Si Royal pierde esta y TSM gana... Royal perdió contra Spice, weón.
Ah, verdad,
Si Royal pierde esta está cagado porque Solomid les bastaría como que Solomid ya tendría más victorias que Royal.
Que si pierde esta, TSM queda clasificado automáticamente.
¿O no? O si pierde esta, TSM queda a pate.
Creo que tiene que disputar. O sea, yo creo que un equipo tiene que disputar el segundo lugar.
Ah, pero mírame, y fíjate lo que dice bien Sergio Luna, weón. Incluso con todo el castigo que está metiendo la Caitlyn con la Cira, el Uzi va ganando el farmeo, weón.
Sí,
por pico, weón. Y por 10 minions, weón. Qué chucha, weón. Cuidado, bueno.
Yo creo que la Zeicro con las plantas le quitó todo el farmeo.
Ah, puede ser,
del escarabajo.
Samsung have this Caitlyn Zyra combo. It's also very good at anti-dive and dealing with melee carries.
Están preparando ese dragoncito de agüita.
Igual a lo ojo que ese es el que más pega, weón.
Y el que más sirve de eso, porque da mucha recreación de mana y de vida.
Bueno, prefiero que el que más pega, el que hace daño. Ojo que el feo la roba.
MLX lo puede robar. No, lo frenaron mucho. Se lo deleó. Y Looper, bajo Looper, QB lo va a matar.
Hago, bueno.
Oh, hizo muy buena QB, weón. Dejó fuera la TF.
Uzi la está haciendo, Uzi está peleando para arriba.
No, me llegó.
Uzi no se rinde, Uzi no se rinde. Uzi contra el mundo. Uzi contra el mundo. Uzi contra el mundo.
Ojo que QB.
No, tiene sangre de Pero hermano, estáis comentando todo como medio segundo antes, coche tu madre, weón. Vos decís buena y después lo mata. Hijo perra, weón. Bueno, aprieta el espacio y después aprieta de nuevo. Pero un poquito así como hijo de perra.
¿Qué segundo? No, ¿qué parte hay?
No sé, bueno, estoy en la replay, no hay segundero, pues culiao.
Yo estoy en el replay, pues está QB peleando con... Acaba de matar a...
Ya, pues acá...
A Looper. Ahora tiró...
Pero espérate, si es más fácil, tranquilo, deja que pase la replay. Ahí vemos por minuto, pues weón.
There are just so many snares you have to watch out for. This really does Crown's job a lot easier in the team fights.
En el 45, 6, 7, 8, 9. Ya, bueno, te va a matar.
Ahora igual más adelante.
No más. Yo soy más lento. Yo tengo el delay de la hierba.
Ahí está.
Ahí está. Pero quedaron. ¿Y por qué no se tiró? Tiene miedo, es feo, weón.
Es que cuando fallan eso no sacan nada, weón.
No, pero al revés, pues como fallaron tenían que haberse tirado los Royals, pues weón.
Estaba solo en ese momento, estaba con el Rumble, ¿no? Ahora recién llegó el team. Ahora puede iniciar.
Tienen que hacer algo porque Grom va a pucharle mid. La chasira como sonea, weón.
Me hace daño de la R de quién. Tanto Grom bajando torre y QB bajando el bot.
Qué chucha. Va a caer todo, hermano, va a caer todo.
Mira, esa trampa, invisible otra vez.
La hizo.
No, si las trampas están jugando una mala pasada, men.
Igual puta lata la weá, man.
Que esa combinación de Zyra y Caitlyn, trampa y plantita.
Papá.
Y la combi es que si la Zyra llega a atrapar a Uzi, le va a llegar la trampa porque va a estar asociado 2 veces. Más encima más el básico, la Caitlyn hace la combo y... Oh, Zyra, deletea 3.
Toma el pico.
La vieron más posicionada.
Si Royal pierde, tiene una última oportunidad de empatar contra solo mid, parece.
Yo creo que
sí, Daniel.
solo mid le podría ganar a Royal. Sí. Por cómo está jugando Royal ahora contra Samsung Galaxy ya está ganando Royal. Pero están jugando Royal.
Puta, Royal está jugando mal. Esa es la weá.
No sé qué les pasó a los men. Iban como avión.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this game is the top of the group, right? Because as soon as they beat this, they have the head-to-head against TSM already.
Ahí la vida,
Really get up there and contest it. And RNG right now, I mean, they peak earlier, but they're so far
El
behind.
buff azul para
The later this game goes, I mean, the Zyra is going to be
Crum.
is just so safe in these team fights. We've already seen the Victor.
Mira ese
Honestly, like,
pingüar en
the
medio
door
de
has
la
shut very quickly for RNG this game.
Especially if you
No
consider
sé qué será invisible que puso un pingüar en medio de la línea.
in these corridors
Es desagradable.
Por ahí una Evelyn, quién sabe.
the gravity field and the Zyra snares.
Todo puede pasar.
Moving the fight up into the jungle. They're taking it to RNG's side of the map. They've got so much vision control now. They would love it if they
Y
could
cacha
catch
que
RNG,
aún
walking
sigue arriba
through
el
those.
farmeo
The thing they do have to watch
que a
out for,
Jhin, ¿a
though,
quién la va a
is that
Uzi?
if you're in the jungle, Rumble ultimate and Braum ultimate, still very good line
Ahora van
combination
empatados.
spells there that can turn a game around.
Que ese es el problema, po, weón. Samsung se dedicó a cagarse a Lucy, po. Con la combinación que hicieron en bot.
Aún así...
Y Mata no pudo salvarlo, po, weón.
No.
Igual Mata no está... Viste, yo desde dije que Brown no iba a aportar, weón.
Que está haciendo mucho roaming, pero le sale mal. No se había dedicado a salvar a Uzi, de hecho que la línea lo ha ido mejor. Oh, ENG.
Tacho. Tienes que matarlo. Ya, perfecto. ¡Oh! ¡Con él! ¡Flasheo de Lupe! La hizo.
Llegaba ahora, pero no. Alcanzó a hacer nada.
Weón, por fin esta weá. Royal despierta, papá.
Está haciendo rotaciones, quieren ir por ese lado. Sí. Mientras tanto, Cube va
Oh, se le mientras tanto, Cube.
Ahí va Looper a salvar esa torre. Mientras tanto, Crown peleando. Le forzó el ghost. Eso pasa por no haberle baneado Victor a Crown, sabiendo que era uno de los mejores champions.
Faltan baneo a Royal.
Banearon Karma, Royal baneó Karma, Nida. No me acuerdo cuál más. Hacen de Looper, y esa ulti, para que no dejar caminar a Caitlyn.
Es muy buena, man. La del Looper,
And here comes that Drake. Actually, it's just far too late.
Uy, en
The
bicho.
timing was a bit off. If it was 20 seconds earlier, yeah, they could combo it, but I feel like this is.
Ahora lo que puede hacer Samsung para seguir con la ventaja es empezar a guardiar la jungla enemiga. Otro dragoncito de agua.
Tienen buen setup igual de guardia.
Sí. Están diciendo todo. Ojo que te vas a ganar alto, pero van por el segundo dragón. Mira esa ventaja de oro, 31k a 24. Están muy por encima.
But Samsung, they get their second Ocean. That's a lot of regens. They can back away from any Malzahar or Ezreal damage that is landed. And the
No pueden dar vuelta igual.
if they secure it, push
Como
to
al
close the
mundial,
gap.
cualquier cosa puede pasar.
Do this far too often.
Si la venden.
The one bright side there is that Kube didn't go tank first, he went Trinity Force, and the Olaf isn't as tanky as you would like him resistant-wise, and there is some good damage items right now.
Estos tipos van 6-3 y mira la ventaja que llevan en oro. Nosotros cuando jugamos una partida llevamos 6-3 y con suerte es como...
Está ahí.
Nada.
Está ahí, está así como a 2k de diferencia, man.
Para tener esa diferencia, uno...
Se cagó, weón.
Solo por 3 kills arriba, tiene una diferencia de oro brutal.
Es que cada kill es un objetivo también, po. Cada vez que aprovechan todo.
run onto Samsung because you got to get through Caitlyn
Eso
traps,
están
you got to
enfocando
get
a
through
los que
Zyra
la
roots
kill.
and ultimate, you got
De
to
todas
get
las
through
torres que han bajado.
Victor's gravity field, and Samsung
Y
they're
Royal no ha botado ni
daring
una.
RNG to keep chip away at this inner turret, looking at MLXG. No
Y ahora
flash
sí,
available.
Remember,
He flashes away, still gets knocked up. Equalizes.
Cuidado.
Any further engaged. Royal are running for their lives. Ambition takes a lot of damage, but look at Chao. He's being
Cago.
shot down. Chaos Storm.
Deleteado, weón.
Ace Neil fired, so that's
Deleteate.
damage onto Uzi.
Y Víctor saca el doble.
Phase dive the tower. They'll get the tower as well.
And as Rusty says, this team loves to roll the
Ese
dice,
Crow
but it just isn't coming up
loquillo
their
con
number
ese
today because
campeonato.
Samsung too good. Kite back,
Yo se lo
disengage the
bañaría.
fight, and then re-engage at the perfect moment, taking
consejo.
down multiple members and getting the objective.
It's so difficult for RNG because they can't split push, they can't team fight, they have to hope for an error from Samsung, and they're not giving it to them. You can see constant Caitlyn
Ya
traps
mucha diferencia de oro.
all around the perimeter here.
Sí, ahora ya es un milagro lo que falta para que Royal le dé vuelta. ¡Cacha!
Le calió.
Around the other side of the wall, so no vision. Here it is, though.
Yeah,
Hay
so let's take another look at
finalización de
this. They feel
Rek'Sai,
like they
es
hard
súper mal.
engage, they can blow
Quedó
up
muy
one of the damage
vendido
sources, but a good
Claro.
flash,
enfrente de
good
los
net,
daños.
and then that big Zyra
Es que
ultimate
Ruler le pegó
that you want to chase through, and as soon as
todo
you
ahí,
finish
po,
the
weón.
fight, it's a 5v5, you need a back.
Y mira cómo deletea, weón.
Y aquí atrapan a Uzi. Se vende. Deleteado.
Muy por delante, weón. Pero mira las trampas que le tenían para soñar, po, weón. Tenía que darse esa vuelta para poder salir, pues si no queda atrapado.
But isn't that 2 games today now that Uzi's
Buena
just
combi,
been a
la
little bit
trampa
off
y las
his game?
plantas.
We expect a high
Sobre todo
caliber
Caitlyn,
play
en
for
todas las
one
partidas
of
que he
the
visto,
world's best
las trampas de Jhin están
especially
soñando
when their
mucho.
back is against the wall.
Es que mira, Crown es main Victor, pero Chao jugó en main Malzahar, weón. Eso es la weón.
Open, a lose here means that they're most
Va
likely going to be playing for
0-3,
second.
Chao jugo.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
now the winner of the TSM RNG game is so important for how this group plays out. One more thing I want to point out about RNG. They're a big desperation Baron team. They do have a Melbourne.
Igual si la Galen le hubiera tenido a Lucy, weón.
At some point to try and claw their way back in, it means you have to run through choke points.
Todo hubiera sido distinto.
They're way too far behind, but that's generally how they lose games fast.
Quedó muy
20
vendido.
minutes and 5
Ahí
seconds
lo
the clock
siguió.
when that Baron discussion started.
Encima que Lola
That is
haciendo
how
frontline
far
dejó
ahead
todos los daños atrás.
Samsung are. This has been one of the most impressive stops. You know, it's so coordinated, it's so well played by Samsung.
Actually, at 15 minutes, Samsung had the largest lead
Ambition.
of all the games at World that we've seen.
Pero mira Bichon.
So far. So this was the largest
Para
early
iniciar.
lead of any team thus far.
And unless I'm horribly mistaken, Samsung
Oh, tiene relay.
Cacha, ¿cuánto le quitó, weón?
Mira ese flash, ese reflejo.
Pero mira.
Deleteado.
Pero un coleado dejó el ulti y lo mató todo, weón.
Ese relay.
Hermano, el ulti ni lo controló, weón. Oh, weón. Cube culeado, weón.
Van a ir por Baron.
Cube puede entrar a base y no le pueden hacer nada, weón. Está cagado Royal, hermano. ¿Qué chucha está pasando?
Que hubiese dedicado puro
Very likely, unless Uzi gets a miracle.
Uzi.
That could be blind. They could be blind.
Oh, estuvo ahí, weón. Estuvo ahí.
Samsung, clean Baron.
Y la de Carry está así. El de Samsung se echa vientecito.
That's how you do it. Pick off the jungler.
Está caliente, weón. Pero míralo, míralo. Miran las cámaras.
Sí, estoy viendo la cámara. No puede más.
Así, está así. La palmita, la palmita.
En cualquier momento se desmaya.
La cagó, weón. Está caliente el hijo de perro. Oh, pero mira a Crown cómo le falló. Oh, ¿cachaste cómo Crown le flashó en la desenterrada al Rek'Sai, weón?
Esa fue.
Culeado, bueno, weón.
Por eso te digo los reflejos, weón.
The quickest Baron of Worlds 2016. So,
Oh, el varón más rápido de todo el mundial, weón.
the earliest Baron at 21 minutes.
21 minutos varón, nunca ha sido antes.
Now we need to see if they can close the
¿No viste
game
la
out,
partida de Albus, weón?
as efficiently and quickly.
Igual lo
Están
sacaron.
diciendo estos weones, loco.
They have the tool. They even
Confía en los gringos.
thanks to the
Nada,
amount of
confianza,
disengage
weón.
they have. Though obviously it increases the risk factor against a Malzahar Rumble combination.
And the tank item
Ojo que el Lapa. O Apo.
Ese eco. No deja el rumbo ahí a hacer rotaciones. Está full bot.
And honestly, the raw damage
Y con esos Baron y ese cañón.
Poor JJ is arguably stronger than
Y las
Looper at
trampas
this stage of the
soñando
game. It's just
la
going to
torre.
be so hard.
All right, listen, gentlemen, I've got a bit of a head for numbers now. The timer for pole position for fastest game at Worlds is 25 minutes, 32 seconds. So they need to get 25-31 to set the fastest game. And that was RNG stomping Splice.
On your marks.
That's it. That's the timer that we're looking for. Keep your eye on the top screen. Samsung Galaxy sieging 3 lanes at once with Baron.
Este es Samsung, weón. Uy, pero cuidado, mata, entra. Oh. Lo culeado, se lo culeado, weón.
No, Víctor. Pero malo paneo. GG. Mira, Víctor. Hasta el final.
Oh. Sí. Sí.
Si no me queda la cara.
Bueno, Nico.
0-4 quedó Chao. Su mal Sahar fue estampeado.
¿Cómo está, Nico? Llegó loquito. Al pico.
7-0 ese Víctor.
Víctor Zapatero y la ganada. La win más rápida de todo el mundial.
¿Y qué tenemos?
Julián.
Para Samsung Galaxy.
Ahí se mete lo main manjar desde la beta.
A complete shellacking. I mean, they destroyed them this game.
En 2 partidas que me han baneado
That
Víctor
was as one-sided of
Crown
any game of League of Legends you will ever watch, and you can see it on Uzi's face. They had opportunities.
Yo creo que nunca más va a ver a Víctor Crown.
But just could not get it done.
What has happened to Xiaohu? At MSI, he was so good, had so many strong moments, but he was absolutely destroyed this game.
Tienen que clasificar. Tienen que ganar la
Give
pieza.
Samsung Galaxy their best
Que están
champions.
felices estos pibes.
Cacha, cacha.
For them to play. I mean, that Zeicro was a surprise.
Todo lo ponen
TSM
loco,
knew about it.
weón.
TSM had it prepped, got
Le
rid of
mueven
that
las
from the
manos.
play. Uzi and Martin,
Yo
but
creo que
never
otra
had
vez van a
a
entrevistar a
chance.
Crown
Never had a
porque
chance.
I mean, when you have a look
ganó la
at
partida.
it, Uzi and Mata go
Que Mata y se denegaron a Uzi y Mata, pues, weón.
specifically in lane. Alistar is up. Alistar Rek'Sai combos gang so
Debe sacar un
incredibly
champion con
well,
más
but
utilidad,
they try
Mata.
and play for the later stages of the game, and
Una
another
Yana
Chinese team gets
o una
punished
Nami
for it.
If
para
that
ir
exact play
geleando
that
por
we saw
Pukeo.
down bottom,
No sé, weón. Tenía que sacar, no sé.
that was a
Es que
guaranteed
con un
engage.
Aerial,
There's
una
no-
Nami
there's no
sería
way that
bueno.
you
Un Brown.
can flash the headband.
O sea, un Brand.
I completely
Papa.
agree. Flash
Un
on,
Brand.
the
Que
next
con Brand
person
igual
follows
saca
up.
mucho con
Realistically,
la
they
pasiva
should
del
have
fuego.
gone for the play regardless, even with the flash out of the Braum. They just let too many things go. Don't worry, we're better than them in the landing phase. We'll beat them organically. And Core JJ and Ruler smashed them for it.
Absolutely did. That allows Samsung Galaxy to qualify for the quarterfinals. We hit that story not too long ago. They will be joining the top 8 in Chicago. We'll see how the seeds play out a little bit later as they've got themselves 4 wins on the board. They play Splice immediately after this game. Truthfully, it just looks like Samsung's going to go 3-0, right? Like, is there anything that Splice can do?
If you know the group stages at Worlds has been any indication, be careful where you place your bets because a lot of upsets have occurred. But yes,
they're just looking phenomenal.
I would definitely say with the recent performances for both those teams, Samsung definitely on top.
They might be the best team coming out so far. Rocks look shaky versus ANX. I mean, H2K look shaky all week.
2 good games. Hold on,
This
2 good
game
games.
can
And
prove it.
Spawn says they're the best at Worlds. Now let's check in with our analysts to see if they agree with that misguided analysis.
Thank you very much. A quick shot. Before we dive into any analysis, I have to welcome LS to the desk to break down what was one of the more dominant, if not the most dominant game now of Worlds so far. I mean, let's dive into it from Champion Select because we had seen the Respect Zyra ban come out earlier today against Samsung. Doesn't happen this time around and spells disaster.
That was complete
Uzi
annihilation.
y los randoms cagan.
Turret by themselves before 10 minutes. I mean, you cannot get stomped harder than that. And it was really enjoyable to watch just Samsung completely devastate them.
And once again, we see an RNG team where they don't win the early game. They don't win the bot lane because they're against the Zyra. They pick the Braum into it. That's not going to work. Mid lane, we get Victor, of course, picked by Crown. Again and again, I think you're a big fan of that. And then Malzahar is the answer. It's like, no, Malzahar is not the answer to Victor.
Yeah, I don't understand the pick and ban phase at all. Alistar was open. You could have banned away Victor. It just doesn't really make any sense what RNG is doing. And also Mata looking very uncharacteristic in all of the games this week and also taking exhaust every single game. I'm wondering if that's actually something to do with his mentality because last week he only took Ignite. In the bot lane this week has looked very shaky, so when they collide with TSM later on, I'm actually really worried for them.
Yeah, and I'm overall just really concerned and kind of sad to see the overall LPL trend when we look at the pick and ban phase. I think they're not flexible at all. Like a lot of them is like, oh, okay, we need something like Poppy top lane. We just gotta like have a top lane.
Es que el pick de Ezreal era para poder ser safe y Uzi le daban las manos. El problema es que la línea que le pusieron no había como un pick para salvarse.
No, estaba muy soñado. Imposible, mucho pow.
They look so lackluster. It's
Le
absolutely insane when they start
pow.
losing early on. How far they fall behind, how little they can do to get back into the games. So it's just lack of flexibility in the pick and ban phase, but also in game. Because very few players have like a great game and a bad game, a great game and a bad game. Often it's like the same players having multiple bad games, like Xiaohu has had this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, we already talked about how the game was going poorly for RNG prior to 10 minutes, but I do want to take a look at the Dragon fight that happened at that 10-minute mark, because it basically sealed the deal here. 3 kills going over to Samsung Galaxy at this point in the game.
And this is just pure positioning from MLXD. He's going to get caught out with a really nice stun from
Mira ese
Crown. As soon
replay,
as he
se
dies,
metió al Rek'Sai.
Samsung knows they can just keep pulling the trigger, and it's going to be on the bottom side with Uzi going to be taking out. On the bottom, this is a nice little stun from Cuvee that's just going to be able to solo out the Rumble completely.
Yeah, when you're in such a condensed area against Samsung Galaxy's team
Samsung es que la bot la carrió, weón. En todo sentido, weón.
gravity fields
Sí,
and
me decía la
control and
rotación que
zoning
hacía
coming out of
Zyra.
Zyra is
La
too
primera
much, so
rotación
it's
sacaron
really
aquí.
questionable why they even tried to take this fight, and then they just got
Sacaron el snowball de una,
I
weón.
mean, a little bit of a fun stat for you guys here on the back end of this, hitting that 15-minute mark. The previous biggest lead in the tournament was 6.9K. That was TSM leading against Samsung Galaxy. Now, Samsung Galaxy at 15 minutes, 7.5K. So they now hold the largest lead and largest deficit in the group stages of Worlds. But this was just destruction.
23-53, that's not enough time to even decide if you want to surrender. They just got run over, and I really enjoyed watching Samsung just play the entire map. 3 lanes at once, just push everywhere because you know you're strong enough to do it, and Cuvee was able to just take out turrets by himself nonstop. He was inside the base at times, just doing whatever he wants, while the other side of the map is just winning in. Really good stuff to see them play so fast, a team that we thought would be playing a much more slow style.
Sure, but now they're playing Core JJ, and that's again where they started playing much faster in the Korean Gauntlet, and they're doing it again. Clearly, when he's playing for them, there's a lot more focus on early games, a lot more focus on especially the bot lane 2v2. That's why he has picks like Zyra waiting, maybe as a brand. We don't even know if his other supports prepared. So it really benefits them playing with him right now, and it seems like everyone on the team plays better as well when Core JJ is in the lineup.
Yep.
So it's no surprise that he picks up player of the game, the Zyra pick, not being respected this time around. But can you give me a little bit more discussion around what exactly the Zyra pick does? Because I think some people are sitting at home going, well, wait, where did this support pick come from? Why is it powerful right now? And why is it able to push a turret down, 8 to 10 minute mark?
Well, it's not only an incredibly strong laner, but it's also a complete anti-dive. And when you have the likes of Caitlyn and Victor on your team, and you have melees that are trying to get into that, it's going to be impossible. And we saw a lot of times the Rek'Sai just get caught out by the entirety of the ultimate as well as the roots. That it's just so difficult if you don't have gap closers to actually hit.
Es que estoy en la promo y esta weá termina muy tarde y yo quedo muy cansado, weón. Entonces no me da... No me da pa la promo, ¿cachai, weón?
The number one reason you pick her now is just laning phase. Like, she's so hard to lane against.
Sí, bueno, Uzi es tercera vez que no puede llegar a un cuarto de final a un mundial.
2v3 situation due to the plants being so effective if a lot of them are down. So when you pick her just for laning phase and you win that, great. The composition from RNG wasn't terrible against Zyra, because normally in teamfights, she's good against like Hecarims who dive in, you put the ulti behind it or on top of him, and then no one can get to the backline. This was actually enough backline threat to deal with it. But you pick it for laning phase, and when you win the laning phase, well, ka-ching, you win the game.
Yeah, one of the things I was worried about coming into this match was actually the bottom lane, because when we saw Samsung go up against TSM, Double Lift at one point almost had like a 40 CS lead, and they botched the 2v2, even going for a trade that they never should have went for. So I think that the Zyra helps them to basically guarantee that they don't lose bottom lane, which is one of RNG's saving graces going into this matchup.
Highly doubt that he'll get that pick again. But now I want to look forward here, because Samsung Galaxy have secured themselves a quarterfinal berth. At worst, they are going to be playing a tiebreaker for first place, similar to what H2K had to do. But here's the thing. They have one more game to play today. So in contrast to H2K, they are the masters of their own destiny here. If they win this next game against Splice, they are the #1 seed out of this group. So let's get a little preview of that game, because it's all on Splice to play upset and give us a tiebreaker at the end of the day.
I was going to say, please ban Victor. This guy is too good on Victor. He's just crushing everybody. It's insane. I don't want to see anybody lose horrendously anymore.
I think there is something for Splice in favor of Splice in terms of the mid lane, actually in terms of bans at least, because you talk about banning Victor. Right now, Samsung is banning Syndra and Aurelion Sol in all the games. They might do the same here. I'm pretty sure Crown can play them because I've seen him play it in solo queue, but he's not pulling it out right now. Maybe he's saving him for later, which I don't think he is, but he might not be too comfortable on it. So if you remove Victor, you can actually thin out that mid lane pool quite a bit. And then the next thing is bot lane. You cannot lose the core JJ and Ruler in that bottom lane.
Qué wea, Fred. Hermano, mira el grupo de WhatsApp, hermano.
2v2. Not criticizing players, but just
Hermano, hay un Teletubby en nuestro grupo de WhatsApp. Hagamos.
They get to play this really good macro in the mid to late game. That's so hard to play against.
Yeah, I definitely think that we need to see a lot of mid lane focused bans against Crown. But one of the problems is Crown does have one of the biggest champion pools coming from Korea as one of the mid laners, and so it is pretty difficult to.
Es que sin importar el nerfeo que le dieron, está pega. Con un buen jugador es bueno.
Finish in the group. Now there's more group stage action coming your way as Splice takes on Samsung Galaxy right after this.
Samsung Galaxy on the cusp of qualifying for the quarterfinals. All that stands in their way is
the
rest of RNG.
El Teletubby. League of Teletubbies.
Burning down ambition. A flash forward. Stand behind me, Mata yells. And RNG feel they can go forward. They're gonna bite off more than they can shoot.
Puta, como la hicieron, weón.
¿Cuál es la rotación?
¿Cuál es la rotación, Rafa?
La diferencia del botlane.
Coreanos culiados que no saben expresar emociones.
Son muy profesionales.
In the impossible.
Todos me están llamando,
Disrupting the natural order. Because a hero lies in all of us.
Hello.
It's beyond your reach.
¿Sí?
Claim your victory and go forth.
Hola Luis, sí, dime. ¿Sí? ¿Ya? 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 Ah, claro que sería como mate 21 que acá en la universidad. Ah, ya, claro, ya. Sí. Ya, entonces necesitaría clase. Claro, ¿cuándo tendría la prueba su hija? Su siguiente así como certamen. Para saber si es que me refiero a que quiere clases semanales o necesita clases para una prueba en específica que tiene pronto. Ah, ya, entonces mira, yo tengo planes que son semanales y tengo este plan que hago clases de 2 horas, con los cuales yo generalmente a mis alumnos los preparo, generalmente con entre 2 a 3 clases los dejo listos para un certamen, dependiendo del alumno. Cada clase de 2 horas salen 20.000 pesos. En la clase yo le enseño la materia y le paso con ejercicios de explicación y también le dejo ejercicios para que ella pueda estudiar en la casa con soluciones. Sí, eso de hecho es lo que más me acomoda a mí, que yo también ofrezco poder ir a domicilio, pero en la universidad donde generalmente hago las clases porque yo vivo acá súper cerca, entonces es lo que más me acomoda a mí. Mira, como tienen la prueba la próxima semana, yo podría incluso mañana domingo o el lunes tener la primera clase, como ya para poder tenerla lista lo antes posible. Es feriado el lunes, no sé si pueda. ¿Sí? Exactamente, aunque generalmente para mis alumnos puedo, la mayoría queda listo con 2 clases de las intensivas que le llamo yo, que son de este tipo de 2 horas. Claro. O sea, las 2 horas, o sea, las 2 clases serían 4 horas en total. Eso es lo que generalmente... Exactamente. Y porque de repente me tocan alumnos que tienen muchos problemas con matemáticas que, bueno, ahí acarrean problemas del colegio, entonces ahí me tomo tiempo para como tapar esos hoyos antes de poder empezar con la materia ahora. Entonces con esos alumnos son los que más me demoro. Entonces igual ahí depende de cómo esté su hija, pero generalmente me demoro 2 clases en poder dejarlos listos por un certamen. Ah, ya, sí, entonces yo creo que podríamos hacerlo rápido. Ya. Ah, ya, sí, sí comprendo. Claro. Sí, aunque el lunes también la universidad también está abierta como para que, si es que la acomoda ir a la universidad. Porque de hecho yo el lunes tengo que hacer otra clase también de universidad, entonces igual me acomodaría poder hacerla ahí. Yo el lunes tengo que estar desde las 3 a las 5. Tengo esa clase, entonces yo podría hacerle antes o después, no sé cuándo la acomoda. Claro, de 3 a 5 yo estoy ocupado. Claro, el lunes. Claro. Sí, igual este chico yo le podría decir que le hago la clase de las 4 a las 6, porque él vive acá al lado y podría tener esa facilidad, así que como, por si le acomodara hacer la clase el lunes de las 2 a las 4, por ejemplo, como para que pueda almorzar, digo yo. El lunes.
Rumble, Olaf, Victor off the table. That's going to make Kobe happy. Nidalee, Syndra, Jace, and an insta-lock Elise. We're caught up.
We got one of them. They got rid
claro.
of the big pick, but everything else stays on the board. The Rise is still available. See whether they go towards it or whether that is something that Splice want to pick up.
Definitely curious to see what he does go for next. You know, as long as it is something a little bit different. This is very similar though so far. You know, Ruler's Jhin has been one of his best champions. Locking that one in early. They've already done it in the past.
Ah, claro, también podría. ¿Dónde viven ustedes más o menos?
They talked about it already a couple of times today, but still, the passive from Rek'Sai
no, yo ubico hasta aquí. Bueno más.
Obviously with the viability of multiple gank paths, but I do like the use of his passive 4 or her passive 4.
Yeah.
Oh, little twing change there at the end though.
Yeah, we should still expect that most likely later. Take away a high priority pick here from Wonder.
Okay.
And of course, on that cannon once again.
Yeah, just a reminder that Core JJ is playing. It means that Kuve is allowed to pick cannon. That seems to be the pattern.
Ya, dame un segundo.
However, I do like this combo because
¿Usted me podría mandar después la dirección por WhatsApp? ¿O su hija? Ya, para que... Ah, ya, sí, que me escriba por WhatsApp porque también necesito que me mande como el temario que le entra este semestre de su cosa y todo. Ya, pues entonces ahí dígale que me hable por WhatsApp y yo le respondo al tiro. Ya pues, entonces estamos hablando. Gracias, hablamos. Chao. Conche tu madre, weón. Voy a tener que ir a Belloto a enseñar cálculo, hermano, a Belloto.
Hermano, mira,
enseña cálculo, es plata fácil y querís fumar hierba.
Es Aureliano.
Es que si voy mañana a Quilpué, o sea el lunes a Quilpué y enseño esa weá, después me gano al tiro 20 horas. No, eso sí tengo que hacerlo. Yo enseño cálculo y física de universidad, hermano. Y álgebra y de ecuaciones diferenciales y todo esa weá. De Minecraft también tengo un magíster en Minecraft. Aureliano de Spice.
Buena rotación, hermano. Un Clet y rotación más Aureliano.
Clet jungla. Clet top. Piquen a Clet, si ya están fuera, tengan huevos, hijos de perra. Le pusieron.
and with
Instaló
Echo. So
Instaló.
Splice have got a lot of tools for both engage
Que no
and
gripe.
disengage.
Oh, ya, entonces tengo que escribir.
Earlier in the pick bans for Splice, they mentioned the Aurelian Soul for Splice. They mentioned that Zeicro has put time on it, and we'll see if he can actually make that count here because Crown is back on the rise.
Para Crown.
And the thing
Versus
that I like
Aurelian
about
Soul
Aurelian
Senko.
Soul is, you know, Kane was a Promotiania, we gave him to the North American LCS. He kind of
El top va a estar
revolutionized this
peleado.
idea of against aggressive mid laners, go something that you can pick up boots of swiftness early and just back whenever you can off the wave and run back down mid.
Splice,
Of
hermano,
course,
son
Hecarim
todos
has the E,
rubios.
so does
La wea
Aurelion
loca.
Soul, just able to fly back into lane. So unless Rise 100 to zeros you, you're always able to sustain.
The other thing about Rise, obviously, you have to position very well to get around frontline members, since your main damage does come from your overload, from your Q, and it can be...
Che tu madre, weón, belloto, vos culiao.
Both of those will do their best to try and land the zone.
Oh, es que weón, es como que tengáis que ir a clases de Santiago y hacer clases así como y bien, no, ¿dónde eres vos? Ah, por ir del norte, no cachai nada. Y un guaso culiao. Como que el tío Narica y quería ir a Perú.
Típico, weón.
Típico.
Como de Antofagasta ir a Calama. Oh, qué baja,
La cago.
Do you think they have what it takes based on the two games you've seen today to deal with this Kennen Rise combination?
I'm a big fan of Splice, honestly. I watched a lot of their games. I think that when they played
El culiao le dije que me fuera a ver y se quiere jotear a mi alumno, weón.
their laning phase was going to hold out.
El weón es de al lado ahí que estoy está al lado yo.
However,
Eso se jotea todo.
No está Gripex, Gripex está en la banca, suplente de top.
Samsung, best team in the whole tournament.
No
after
Gripex,
2 games.
GG Splice.
Well, guys, we're going to be on the
La
lookout for some of your
composición de
favorite
Splice me
moments
gustó
and memories
caleta,
from Worlds
Oye, culiao, necesito
2016. When you see
que me
that
hagáis un
hype play
presupuesto,
shouted out on
onda como
Twitter,
para que me
with
enseñen matemática para
Worlds,
sacar
big
sobre
plays.
700
We saw
puntos en la
what
PSU.
Smeb could do with Kennen.
Van
We'll see if
4-1.
Juve can pull the same magic, or maybe it's going to be Sankak's copy.
¿Escuchaste esa wea?
Playing spoiler here for Europe and picking up their second win.
Oye, culiao,
Ah, es que Leil me escribió una vez.
Core JJ with
¿Cómo
another
escuchas?
very
Escribe,
good
weón.
pick. This guy, the Tom Kench into Alistar is great for lane. Plus
Al
Core
primer
JJ, some
dragón
of
al
his
tiro va a
best
ser de
performances were
informático.
on the Tom Kench. Making use of the ultimate. Watch out for those mid-game plays, and in combination with Rise, there are just so many options for Samsung to actually catch Splice by surprise in the mid game.
yeah, it really helps that 1-3-1 split push if you want to go towards it, or a 1-1-3. One thing I do want to point out one more time, I'm going to speak about Splice's discipline. Double exhaust. Rise in a team fight, Kennen in a team fight. You need
Qué weón,
one
bicho
for each
culiao.
and they pick it up.
Very smart. As
El
we've seen, we
languetazo.
mentioned a lot
¡Oh! ¡Languetazo contra el 6! Quieren tiltearlo, weón. Quieren tiltearlo los weones. Oh, no se quiere salir el chat tan demonio. Ahí sí. Cacha, cacha. Control 6. ¡Mira, mira! Tan, tan. El BM se siente. Oh. No. Taunteando.
Samsung Galaxy will top the group. They will guarantee
Dijo ni culiao, deja de fomentar el odio en el WhatsApp. Odio a esos Teletubbies, culiao.
No, es que yo le hago la segunda vez porque a mí me pasa lo mismo.
Ruler. You should be flashed on here.
Do it, do it, do it.
Oh,
go for it, Mickey.
yeah,
You should be flashed.
Ruler.
Exhaust, there's the pulverize. Flash
No,
and heal
no, no,
available.
no.
150. Exhaust is available. Copy's going to get licked. Core JJ
Yeah.
trying to run him down. 110. Summoner heals traded back and forth.
Uy, Force Flash. No, pero mira. Tan terrible loco, weón. Tan Maya no puede hacer nada.
And the catfish
Doubler solo
wants to eat
gastó
more.
Heal.
Gets a stun into Mickey. Pulverize comes down. The fight's now starting to wrap up. And it's Ruler and Core JJ that look like they got the advantage.
The reason you generally flash early is because if you can get the panic flash,
Wait,
just straight support flash for AD carry flash. Don't ever fight Tom Kench level 1 because his stupid passive does so much.
Stupid passive!
He bullies out both summoner spells from Kobe.
Biggest takeaway from this, actually, to me, is giant siren sounding for the junglers. Oh! Big mistake there.
Mickey pulverizes the ground. Remember, first time professional Alistar. You can't afford to make those mistakes as the game plays out.
At least get into the bottom lane. You're needed.
Woo, 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 woo. Jungler alert. They're trading heavily down bottom, and they both have melee supports over there. All right, let's return over here to the top side, though, because Wonder's getting zoned out. QV.
They actually pinged River for the ward, but it hasn't gone down yet, and Elise is in position.
Flash available on Alistar, but not on Sivir.
Can he find the pulverize? Cocoon was fired early.
So let's talk about what happened there, because that is the bottom lane.
I don't think he'll get a chance. Gonna lightning rush forward. Wonder's in trouble. Needs a few more tags before he gets stunned. Flash, but Wonder stays alive for yet another time today.
Yeah, I don't know. It didn't quite get there with the charge to grab the stun. But anyways, we were going to say down bottom, great respect from the Samsung.
Sorry, I don't think it's your turn. Bobby takes a big hit. Boomerang comes out.
All right, I'll sit down. Takeover spawn.
Let's try this one more time. Huge push now coming into the bottom lane, and Rek'Sai set up vision control through the Scuttle Crab and the 3 wards around the bottom side of the map. This should be a dive.
Oh no, Copy's coming back. Why are you coming?
Le limpiaron. Llegó el
Spice. La venganza, Spice. Mete miedo. ¿Cuál tuvo media loca la wea? Es que el Jhin, weón, es que el Jhin.
Seen catfish eat spiders before. Ambition not
ya están jugando reval. Están como jugando ya la última partida para irse para casa.
Sí, están como chatos, mira. Es que igual mira el tryhard culio. Pero comió mal. ¿Cachaste?
Oh, un minion.
Hermano, el sapo culiao en vez de comérsela de carry comió un minion. Hermano, se mandó la gran SerllinOPI, weón. Pues el weón flashó y tenía que comerlo nomás el weón, chao.
Quite
aggressive. Wonder face dive forward, but Cube's not going to step into the stun. So parallel convergence whiffs, and Wonder's still in trouble. Look at that wave.
Exactly. This is so.
Weón, qué weá estás. ¿Qué weá? El toro lo intenta.
Well, what you want to do is at least break the freeze here. They need extra pressure because Cube could just completely starve Wonder out of the entire game if not for this extra presence. And merely the roam up there from Alistar and taking out the ward allows Wonder to move up and try and take this, but Cube is even going in again.
Oh, Wonder is just having such a hard time trying to shove that wave in. He's about to face JJ, gets a tongue lash, gobbles him up shortly. Devour should be available, but not going to be able to catch him. I think he canceled 2 autos there, it looked like.
No, están sin ganas jugando.
Samsung Galaxy have got a 1,300 gold lead. Your favorite team, Worlds, is in a great spot here.
Yeah, still looking very
Pero mira ese cagón, weón.
respectful, although now Core JJ caught.
Weón, le tiene miedo un super. Está solo, mátenlo. Oh, el BM. El BM. Oh, repo. ¿Por qué Crown no ultió ahí? Hubiera ultiado Crown, weón.
No sé.
Gastó el flash, hubiera ultiado de antes nomás, chaval.
Gracias, morado mucho, weón.
En volar, weón, nunca hubiera usado a Ryze, no está acostumbrado, weón.
Yo piensa que la ulti es para pegar en área.
Cagó, weón.
Se hubiera demorado mucho el casteo de la ulti, weón.
Pero es que mira. Ahora debería haber casteado, ahora. ¿Cachai? Entonces alcanzaba a meter daño mientras la casteaba y ahí iba a estar al otro lado.
Su mente pensó que...
He visto tantas veces ahora que no te metáis con el Sabre es mejor Ryze que Chrome, cabrón.
Bueno, así,
contra los bronces.
Pero gankearon, se tiltea y todo.
Cago. Por eso con One con Ignite.
Sabre no aguantaría un gol.
Sabre te amo. ¡Oh! ¡Chrome! No, me estoy weando que se va a salvar. ¡Oh! Le canceló los fueguitos, weón. Han bicho culiado, weón. Se los culiaron a todos. No queda nadie vivo, señores.
They cannot buy a play right now. I mean,
No
that's a
podían terminar la
face
kill,
check
¿no?
into double CC.
Pussy, cabrón, pussy.
That's the benefit of having a catalyst.
Y te hace... No, tío. Ahora
No,
sí,
weón.
Credit to Samsung, or to Splice there for looking for the opening.
Oh, no hay ultia.
Areas on the map where they can try and create a play. This is one of the few. I mean, they've got a pink ward, and then Senkux hides up in the Fog of War in their own jungle, so it was a good setup. They're just not able.
Oh, weón.
La estrella estaba a punto de donar.
Hermano, loco, fue justo, weón.
Chin. Crown escapes with his life.
Great setup, and yes, Crown really just saved by Ambition being very close there and landing that flash knock-up.
Kobe, can I slow the tempo down just a touch?
Go for it, I mean.
Game, that's
Como el que se raíz, men.
8 minutes, 2,000 gold.
¿Dónde está Sabre? ¿Dónde está Sabre?
Yep, typical. There's going to be a
Sabre
fight
va a
here.
gankear bot.
¿Sabre es quién? ¿Sabre es cuándo? Deleteado.
Nivel 3 para el support, nivel 3.
Si te fijaste el medio rally que se pegó para el topper.
But
Sí,
look at the
weón.
CS
Mira,
difference. His tower's
Jhin ya
under
tenía
pressure as
ulti,
well.
po.
Samsung Galaxy may even get first tower blood. There's simply
Mano,
no
esta weá es su render back.
defense here from Splice.
And Crown one more time just ducks into the fog of war, has the Rise ulti, so they have to back so far away.
Not to mention, Samsung have already made so many visits into the red quadrant of Splice's jungle that they've got the vision there already, and you have to respect that. In the bottom lane that's getting pushed in,
Igual uno de León debería estar culiándose un Rise.
Debería estar rotando, se está perdiendo, pero no ha dicho nada.
and could have gone bottom. Now he is down
Que no puede rotar bot.
Krugs as well.
Mira la visión.
Trashy's also paying the price for this
Por eso
bottom
sí ya
lane
se fue
pressure.
topeado. Sobre todo
Like,
en
the
línea
only
y
answer right now is to try and move into Samsung territory.
sobre todo con un Rise que le luchaba.
Aureliof.
No, it's not. Ambition's going to be able to steal away that Krag, and luckily for Trashy, he can move in very quickly. He's got Moby boots again. Kobe, you were fairly strongly opinionated about those Moby boots earlier today.
Lo intenta, lo intenta.
Wait for opinions because we've got some action.
That we do
La
again.
rotación, la
Celestial
avionera.
expansion comes out. They've got to get through the slicing
No,
mail.
entonces mando. Oh,
Se los culió.
Uses the chrono break backwards. Cube still alive. Wonder forced to
play
flash
it.
away. Loses his life in a 3.
Pero bueno, el Exhaust lo guardó mucho, qué chucha, loco. Le tenía que haber tirado el Exhaust antes del ulti.
He doesn't have a lot of support just yet. He has
Oh.
Trashy, a level
¿Qué weá?
jungler, is playing so aggressive.
Cuando se
Trashy has
daña.
simply no idea.
Hermano, qué weá, es un sapo level 4, ¿cómo no lo matan?
That's what I mean by playing.
Como lo sonea,
They
güey.
finally realize he's by himself. They're like, wait a second. We have been had. This is a level 4 top catch. Get off my ass.
El level 4 de Ankench contra 2 con el level 8.
But when you're behind, you have to take the risky plays, but Kuve just outplays them. The flashback in
Ahí hizo
outside
ese
of the
flash.
stun range absolutely smashes Splice here. And unfortunately, there's just, when you're this far behind, there is no good play. You have to go for a trade. They go 1-for-1, but they lose out on
Me van a
mid lane
poner el
pressure. They
corazón.
lose out on Dragon. Samsung is just so good at playing this style.
You can tell they're having fun too. I mean,
Hasta Lion hubiera dado menos pena, capa. Rip Pepperoni y Lion. Oye, bro, teléfono.
and flashes away
Album
there.
Nox va cargando.
Te metáis con Nox.
Another one-on-one.
Oh, mira, ese super,
Well,
hermano.
Coach is bringing exhaust this time round.
Escapa con
Trashy's
rappel.
able to repel the scuttle and get away.
What an animation on Tom Kent, by the way.
It is my favorite.
Core JJ is just playing fantastic.
Utensils out, tongue slobbering back and forth.
In picks and bans, you even mentioned about how good he is on that champion.
Yeah.
Just really knowing the limits. And it's giving Splice the hardest time.
And now you have to question why they were starting Wraith, because you can tell that this team with Core JJ in the lineup plays much more cohesive.
And let's just all
Bueno, por lo menos Europa sacó un weón a cuartos de final, pues, si ya no tenía ni un representante.
We thought there was going to be a lot of exchanges here as we move on towards this point when people are fighting over the pink wards and trying to move up vision. Since Samsung got such an early lead, they're really using the Tahm Kench roam and soon the Tahm Kench ultimate, as soon as he gets another level, in combination with both the Rise and the Rek'Sai also having that mobility. So whichever team got ahead was going to be able to make a lot of these cross-map plays, and Samsung are definitely taking advantage with the support of a Jhin ultimate. You have to really respect every time that cone pops up, especially if you don't have Fog of War vision. You know, how many other members can be there?
So how does Splice then bounce back? They're down
La
in a very,
diferencia de farmeo
very
entre
big hole.
ADCs.
It is still fairly early in the game, and they've got strong wave clear from actually all of their solo lanes and carries rather. Is that the only way? Buy time somehow?
Yeah, buy time, look for the side wave pick if it does become available, because right now still some squishy members running around on Samsung Galaxy. However, realistically, the siege is just way too strong.
That really is. Copy's not doing his best with that ricochet. The rest of the team's coming up from behind. Mickey once again, so much damage, no unbreakable. He decides
Ooh, Mickey.
Rulo is devoured by Core
No tenía
JJ.
ulti ese
Sets up in a
alta.
safe spot. Curtain call goes wide.
No va a
3
salir.
bullets missed. There's only one connected. But Mickey opted to go in aggressive with the headbutt pulverized combo.
Oh, Sandcooks.
He's in
La
trouble.
diferencia de oro
Ambition,
ya.
flash
No,
available. No,
no.
I take it back. It was
Ay,
you.
¿cómo?
Voice of Light comes down.
Ooh.
And Crown's looking for the bounce on Spellflux. Not going to find it. Now Senkex is packing. I don't think they can hold this tower.
La
If
diferencia de
SSG
oro
stick
ya en
around.
early, en los 12 minutos,
Pressure
igual
remains
harto.
for Samsung in both lanes. Cuvée up top, pressuring the turret. Meanwhile, mid also shortly gonna go down here. So much pressure and
Mano, porque nadie saca el heraldo, weón, me da rabia.
little.
No importa.
Yo cuando soy jungla siempre quiero el heraldo. Y estos weones no, ni ahí, weón.
So, trying to minimize
Ya
your
no le sirve
losses
nada.
would be the route that I would go for. Trying to set up one of those Fog of War plays is really difficult since Samsung do have all that extra mobility we mentioned. So I think playing very safe at the moment and trying to farm up for Splyce would probably be the best option.
The thing that is impressing me so much about Samsung is, you know, they lose out in playoffs in the LCK so hard. They go away, they change their champion pool, they change their support, and they are a team that prides themselves on preparation. Heading into this week 2 of Worlds, they look night and day right now from where we saw them last week. And that is just so impressive.
2 days in a row, you've seen a team come away from week 1 to week 2 and looking significantly better. Yesterday was H2K. That silenced many critics. Today, Samsung Galaxy, they've put up a showing that surely people have to start questioning. Maybe they deserve to be here. We'll answer that question a little bit later as Ruler, it looks like he's going to get jumped on. Here comes Wonder. He phase dives onto CoreJJ. CoreJJ, no flash available. He's going to get cocooned. This is a kill for Splyce. Well played. Wonder bites off a little more than he can chew. Chrono breaks back. And here comes Ambition, looking for more. Ambition's not going to get tagged by the Celestial expansion, but Mickey does.
Mano, ¿has visto un Teral Rise?
Nunca.
Hermano, ese Rise no conoce la R, weón. Es como el sabor.
Quizá no la subió.
No, si la subió, si tiene el icono iluminado. Pero weón no lo usa, weón. No lo usa, weón. Me está hablando la pendeja culiada de las clases, deja de hablar, meteoro. ¿Cómo está, bebé? Pedringo. No, güey, porque le acabo de decir perro. Vale.
And one more time, this is a well-drilled team. They don't go onto the 80 carry, they go onto the Tom Kench because they know that the save is going to be there. However, they will lose out in the long run.
Yeah, that's what I was worried about for them. Does go down, so in the end, Samsung do punish them pretty heavily.
Wonder does so much Trumble, slicing Maelstrom, C-Drive Resonance allows Wonder to run away. CoreJJ delivers Ambition, but not going to be needed.
It's the problem when you try and make one of those comebacks against a team that has so much vision, you know, both on your side of the map.
Lo intentaron por lo menos.
It makes the counter
Creo que fue mejor que G2 de Europa.
Here we go with the kite back though.
So this is a
Le ganaron
however, look how long the Tom Kench takes to
Samsung.
die, and
No, ¿quién le ganó?
allows the rotation to come through from the mid lane as
Roger.
well as the top
Le
lane.
ganaron a Roger.
They fly in here off the back of the curtain call, as we said, and he's looking for fight.
Now remember, slicing Maelstrom was used just a few seconds ago. Mickey's the
Este Aureliano es el único Aureliano que no hace nada.
already taken down. Ambition's taken a lot of damage. Trashy forced to run away. Won't be able to get the kill. The burn on Ambition won't kill him. Trashy's rooted. He manages to repel up. Senkax can't connect with the Star Surge and is unable to find running away. Wonder's got Chrono Break.
Yo sé que no lo ha practicado mucho.
Pero no es lo suyo.
Quizás estaba probando Champions y ya perdieron.
2 is dodge, 3 flies, and 4 kills. Wonder. That's a killing spree for Ruler. Samsung Galaxy 10 kills to 3. 9,000 gold in the lead. Hell, they set a new record at 23.53. They might look to break it.
We're also now seeing one of the problems with Aurelion Soul if you don't get the early lead. The build is right there. There's the one-on-one where Senkax
Qué wea, Iván.
use exhaust.
Qué wea, Pedro.
Get much damage at all on QV. He can't put out any threat at all here.
Ya se te ve, donde quieren
You
entró por
also
atrás.
have to be really good at this champion because the spacing is
Que el culiao intentó esquivar la weá, se los mamó todo.
De hecho, el Kevin te vio por atrás y no tiene ni ulti.
No sé ni una weá, que wey culiao. Fue el puro bait, weón. Oye, qué weá, Samsung la jugó re mal, weón. Tenía el meo ace.
Also, his last shot crits have been in the mark, and it's allowing him
Capita,
to
Sergio.
cash in. That is always so important. That's why I really like double mage comps with Jhin, since Jhin likes to build so much flat armor penetration really early. You can definitely punish.
He's going again.
He is indeed. Maelstrom will be up shortly. And Cube's got flash. There we go. Flash forward, Maelstrom. Just makes it look way too easy. 136 to 110, 3-1-1, and now Trashy's the target. A realm warp from Crown. Just a bait, not going to actually follow it through. Senkax on the side, gets a stun onto Ruler. But Trashy squashed between Samsung Galaxy's boots. And that means Samsung extend their lead even further.
And you can see how far behind they are because cross map, they're losing the one-on-one, they're being outnumbered, and now Kobe's in trouble.
Devour, knockup. That's going to come in from Mickey. Kobe's looking for more decent damage onto Ambition. CoreJJ.
Vamos Aurelion, vamos Aurelion.
Flash available for him. Teleport coming in from one.
Está ese,
Ambition's flashed away defensively, so teleport used to what end? Where does Splice go with the numbers advantage.
To answer that, we're going to have to turn on Fog of War, and just look how dark the map is for Splice. It's so difficult to analyze a comeback from a team this far behind, especially considering what they're running up against here in the Samsung composition. But we're really going to pop the ult just to zone them off turret and keep Splice from getting any objectives.
Oh, Sencux is in trouble. It's at least a stun onto Cuvée. Cuvée going to be exhausted. Doesn't have a maelstrom.
Rampage.
Goes up, but it's on the corpse of the mid lane.
Qué paja, weón. Tenían que haberla peleado con weas. Por último, si le iban a regalar. Qué nativos, perros culiados. Jueguensela con su clet, no sé, po, weón. Oh, no iban. Puta, me he perdido los dos ultis, conche tu madre.
Te he reportado.
Mano, la partida que viene ahora es la decisiva. ¿Quién pasa? SoloMid o Royal, papu?
Yo voy por SoloMid, pero que va a ganar está difícil.
Está peludo, ¿no? Está peleada la weá. Hace tiempo no teníamos un mundial tan peleado, creo yo.
Y un mundial que no se espera nada de nadie, si aquí fuera, entra en los usos.
Mira, mira, mira. Mueren todos, papu, mueren todos, papu.
Decides against it, lets the dragon go down,
Dele
still
teatro.
gets chased as Crown does pop the ghost there, so did at least make them burn a summoner for
Mira,
the extra kill.
Royal va 2-3 y SoloMid va 3-2.
10,000 gold here for Samsung.
Mano.
La posibilidad tiene
Oh. Bueno, hermano, ¿tú cachai lo que significa esto?
que si Royal no gana, GG.
Royal tiene que ganarle a SoloMid para empatarlo. Y después irse a tiebreak y ganarle nuevamente. Royal tiene que hacerle un 2-0 a SoloMid para ganar, para poder clasificar. SoloMid tiene que hacer un 1-0 o 1-1.
There's a GLP 800 on Sencux A-Sol versus
Está peludo.
a nearly fully stacked Roa as well as your Abyssal Scepter. So it's just day and night, you know, between the
Sí, porque el mejor de 5 los coreanos ganan porque tienen más aguante, donde yo creo que pueden jugar más seguido. Bien, yo creo. Me juicio.
Ya se fueron a la vez.
No, pero en general yo creo que los coreanos se mantienen a un nivel mucho más regular que las otras regiones al jugar harto rato.
Casi 10k de oro ya, por ventaja.
No, si esta wea ya es Spice Lul.
La va a dar vuelta y es un backdoor fanático. Ojo.
Cagamos.
Well, it's tears of sadness for Sencux and Splice.
Trachi. Y le hizo honor a su nombre, capa. Único buen positivo. Bueno, yo creo que Mikix está reportado.
Sí, ya se ha retirado.
Y Wonder está ahí nomás.
5-0 que jugaba.
Y ahí nomás. No, yo diría que el juego era decente.
No, es Sencux.
Otro era decente.
Ahora troleó porque andaba con la shot.
Yeah, honestly, they have so many tools. You can split push to pull the other team apart. You have full vision in the jungle. Remember, this is a 21.5-minute Baron. This is fairly early on the scope of Barons, but they're so far ahead, and they have so much pressure. This would be a miracle steal here for Splice.
Well, not going to be a chance. Star Surge comes out. Sencux is even caught out. Trashy's now coming in from the river. Samsung Galaxy a little bit split up. Pulverize actually not going to hit anything because the TP was cancelled. Sencux looking to do some damage over the wall with that Celestial Expansion, but Trashy's already down. Curtain Call, 1-2, misses third. That's a double kill for Rula. Finally finding his target. While all that's going on, Cuvée doesn't care. He's taking the tower down bottom.
Diana, nuevo. Alumno, Diana, mate 20.
GG partida. Paliza.
Pero bueno nomás, pues bueno. Intentaron. Sí se puede, sí se puede, sí se puede.
But he's running out of mana. Voice of Light does really nothing as Rula starts to heal himself out. GLP sprays the confetti, but it's for Samsung Galaxy. Ambitions coming in from behind. Cuvée slicing Maelstroms available. That's a 3-man stun. Cuvée goes down, but
oye, igual lo hace. No. ¡Ya, Wander! ¡Ya, Wander! ¡Tu momento! ¡Cacha, cacha! ¡La pelea por qué hacer el team! ¡Y lo pierde contra el sapo! Que hermano, cuando un Tankench nivel 4 puede alejar a una Elise con un Aurelion nivel 8, es cuando ya perdieron. Samsung Galaxy la hace como si no hubiera nada, como si no hubiera un mañana. No. Ahí era. Lo intentaron, bueno, lo intentaron. Bueno, y ahora se viene el real match que todos esperaban, bueno. Solo mid necesita ganar o el empate.
Gana pasa.
No, yo creo que tienen que jugársela por el empate.
No, que se juegan por esto para ganar. El empate es para el público.
El empate.
El público goce.
Tienen su render cuando están a un guate del nexo. Empate.
Solo para el
everyone was like, oh yeah, mid game, late game Samsung, mid game, late game Samsung. But the early game that you mentioned,
la pulga quiere acción.
And Samsung Galaxy are the number 1 seed.
El gordito, a mí me gusta el gordito.
From Group D, they will be joined by Team SolarMid or Royal Never Give Up, who will play next. But you know, what a stark contrast from week 1 to week 2. Great growth, great improvement, and that's what Samsung.
Oh, Daniel, quizás tienes razón. No lo sé. No lo sé. Puede ser, bueno, no lo sé. Ahora que lo hice de esa forma, no lo sé.
Brazil and ambition finally getting to Worlds, plus the organization itself. You know, after Samsung White, the entire team released, they have to rebuild from scratch, and yet they top this group. They're coming back like a powerhouse.
You've also skipped a step. They took down KT Rolster in the finals of their regional qualifier. It was a series that I don't think anybody actually predicted to win, you know? So they've got all these other storylines, plus they took down the fan favorites. Now they top the group. And that's 2 of 3 Korean squads advancing to the quarterfinals, the top 8.
And it's a way they did it.
Platino juega a las 26 horas.
Completely different styles. You know, we're talking about poke comps for this.
72 minutos.
You have Kennen running hard, engaged with the Rise. This team is just so well drilled at playing multiple styles, and in a best of 5 makes them incredibly scary, especially when they have that time.
Hermano, déjense de hablar. Muéstrenme a SoloMid contra Royal.
Number 1 seed
Que tu
coming out
madre.
of groups. I'm so excited to see where the groups actually fall, but in order to do that, we still have a lot of League of Legends to play.
Yeah, and that makes it scary for all of a sudden you're going to have TESM or RNG and EDG as a second seed coming out of groups. All of a sudden, Seed 1s are like, this is not going to be as easy as we thought going into the latter stages.
It's been the main story for this world. So, you know, the difference in teams play from day to day. And there's really, you know, had been no team at the very top, the pinnacle, without flaws. All of the teams have shown them.
Team that looked relatively flawless today, despite chaotic and fun, is, of course, Samsung Galaxy. We're going to head on stage, where Shox is standing by with their support.
Guantes Shox.
Thank you very much.
Woo!
Standing by with poor JJ after Samsung gets the number 1 seed in the group. What a fantastic performance here today. At what point do you think everything started going well for you guys? When did the momentum turn?
¿Qué weá se puso las Bosch, weón? Esa weá como que se puso una bolsa de basura en las patas, weón.
너무 좋았는데 어느 시점에서 이런
¿Qué es esa weá, weón?
좀 승리
Una falda de neumático.
첫 경기 때 제가 약간 실수를 하면서 좀 불안하게 가는 게 있었는데
Nakarin que probablemente gana tocarene.
Easy peasy, noobs.
이겨내고 나니까
Helul.
이겨내고 나니까 그 다음은 잘 갔던 것
Quizás
같아요.
dice eso, pero el
So I think the
traductor dice
most difficult game was
cosas,
definitely
otras cosas.
game 1 for the day, and at that game 1 I made some early mistakes, but our teammates, they cheered me up and we kept our
Camila tiene
mentality
pico.
together and we had high spirits.
Creo que
So
es que
after
se
winning the
quedó sin
first
salsa,
game,
¿no?
we had some momentum to keep.
Los lentes de abuela en Corea matan, weón. Esa weá te consiguen teta. Como quinto weón que usa esos lentes culiados que he visto en de coreano. weón.
Lo voy a usar yo.
Abueli, présteme. Por favor. Para echar pinta.
선수는 이제 북미에서 이제 게이머 선수를 했던
La terrible pinta a ti.
선수랑 같이 게임을 했었던 경험이나 그런 게 혹시 지금 이렇게 미국에서 롤드컵 하는데 도움이 됐었나요? 아무래도 같이 해봤던 서포터들은 모두 저에게
주었고
Lo bueno es que
이제
aprovechan
그
de
선수들한테 배운
promocionar a
게
Samsung Galaxy, su
보고
celular
배우면서
Samsung
제가 이제
Galaxy,
서포터로
que se
전향할 수
calienta ahí
있기
y explota.
때문에 제가 하는 플레이를 보면은 키위키드의 모습을 볼 수 있을 겁니다.
Of course, all the supports that I've played with, they gave me a lot of inspirations. And through those supports, I was able to transition my position to support player. And in the future, I think you can see a lot of KiwiKids plays when I play support.
Would you say eating the minion as Tom Kench today was some of that, or?
탐켄치에서 혹시 키위키드 모습이
En el corazón le dio.
일단 굉장히 당황스러워가지고 제가 언제 들어간지 처음에 잘 모르고 있다가 바로 먹어줬어야 되는데 실수를 해서 룰러를 죽인 게 좀 미안하지만 제가 죽인 건 아니니까 큰 상관은 없는 것 같습니다.
At that moment, actually, I was really surprised when the ruler just like flashed forward. So I was supposed to eat him right away, but by mistake I ate a minion. But in the end, it's him dying.
Cierto, falta Samsung Helios, capa.
Just kidding around a little bit, of course, not wanting to take anything away from that fantastic performance. So now that you've overcome all the odds, we've heard before that there was a lot of doubt coming out of the community as well over in Korea what you guys could do. So how far would you go, and who do you absolutely want to avoid in the quarterfinals?
그 이제 롤드컵 이전에 한국 커뮤니티에서는 삼성 게임단의 이제 경기력을 살짝 좀 더 검증이 필요하다는 얘기가 있었는데 이렇게 보란듯이 1위로 진출했습니다. 8강에서 무조건 피하고 싶은 상대 혹시 있으신가요?
일단 8강에서 어차피 해외 팀들은 어차피 만날 상대이기 때문에 만나도 상관이 없는데 이제 SKT가
¿Qué se demoran tanto? Tráiganme a mí, solo a mí.
Tantas preguntas que le hacen yo, si me preguntaran tanto diría que qué hice yo y diría.
I really hope that SKT plays well tomorrow and we all advance together.
We'll see what happens.
Le tiró buena onda a
Crushing
SKT.
it today. Fantastic. Core JJ and Samsung moving on. Take it away, guys.
Thank you very much, Shock. Samsung Galaxy have secured the #1 seed here today. And more than analyzing this game itself, I want to analyze and break down this dominant showing. 3 games in a row by this squad. I mean, coming out huge in week 2 and really making a name for themselves in the conversation for who's going to make the title.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Samsung is showing some things. They also showed as
No, la Force no es fea.
they can actually play early game.
Yo digo que es linda, no es rica, pero es linda.
I'm really happy to see them change.
Las Bucks, las Sharks. Yo se la metería, weón. Yo se la meto feliz. Venga para acá. Hermano, ¿y tú sabes que esa buena está como culeándose al Crepo?
And it really shows like
A Peque, weón.
No, a Crepo sí, Peque es maraco. Peque se culea a sí mismo.
and then this week that
Ayer
everything
Hermano, yo pedí almuerzo, o sea, pedí almuerzo. Pedí comida y está listo, lo quiero buscarla. Anima la wea mientras. Pues voy al esquema, algo.
Games. I mean, that is crazy to think about when, especially TSM and RNG were tied in record with them coming in. We thought that this was going to be the 3-horse race here. Turns out it's a 1-horse race.
Yeah, and 2 back-to-back 24-minute games is such a spanking, and it looks so convoluted in the way that they're moving, but you see the goal lead and it's just like keeps climbing and going.
Que animate este weón.
Game's over by the time you know it.
Mr. Animation.
It's really a culture shock to see the teams that they play against.
Oye, los voy a matar de la risa, weón.
One of the most surprising things
Ahora
to
que
me is that
estaba poniendo
Samsung's
el
biggest strength
chat de
is
Loleros
actually
Chile,
their
¿no?
late game,
no.
and we haven't seen them
El
get there
corte.
yet.
Ya trátamelos bien, por tiro.
Team's been able to actually take
Se van
them
todos
to that
baneados.
stage. And so this is an aspect of their gameplay which isn't even being
Pillera celular y las
they
llaves.
can actually acquire leads.
Pide celular y las llaves.
That early game dominance was
Es la canción para irse de la casa con ese
in the lane phase and on the lane
Cállate,
phase, some aggressive flashes, plenty of cleanup fights as well.
And you got to give a tip of the hat to Core JJ though.
American Woman.
Especially that level 1. Once that happened, they really snowballed very well, and it was just so fun to watch Jhin Ultimate with the Tom Kench.
Yeah, we now have the second Korean team getting first seed in their group. SKT, well, they did lose once last week. Still look like a favorite to get first seed there. So all this talk about gap is closing. Very clearly, the gap between every other region but Korea has been closing. Sadly, none of those regions have actually been able to get closer to Korea, it seems. All these teams look super, super dominant. And I actually think there's a high chance we get 3 Korean teams in semifinals.
I was about to say another 1 seed going over to Korea for the quarterfinals. Royal Never Give Up and TSM are going to battle it out for their quarterfinal spot after the break. Don't go anywhere.
Maybe it's going to be Sankax, Copy, and Mickey playing spoiler here for Europe. Oh no.
It should be a dive.
Oh no, Copy's coming back. Why are you coming? Pulverize comes out. Ruler is taken down. They've got to get through the slicing maelstrom. Oh no. Cube's going to be able to turn this one around. Wonder uses the chrono break back as Cube still alive. Wonder forced to flash away. Loses his life in a 3-on-1.
Here comes
Cube. Slicing maelstrom's available. Proto belt forward. That's a 3-man stun. Cube goes down but takes 2 with him. Samsung Galaxy back to back. Phenomenal performances.
¿A quién le echan barro a ustedes? ¿TSM o Royal? Yo voy por TSM, no sé ustedes, ¿ah? Aunque creo que si gana Royal deberían hacer ese empate con TSM de nuevo, porque quedarían 3-3 los dos equipos. Yo creo que si le dejan Sidra a Villersen podría ganar la partida por su carrera. Royal está jugando muy mal hoy día, no están con todo. No sé, bueno, empezó la partida, cabrón, cuéntame su vida, ¿eh? ¿Qué están haciendo? ¿Con qué se pelan? Ah, ya. No, era eso. La típica. La alergia de primavera, verano. Comiendo limón.
Welcome back to our coverage of the 2016 League of Legends World Championship. We have come to our final match for Group D, Royal Never Give Up versus TSM. Now the winner continues their pursuit of the Summoners Cup in Chicago, and the loser is out of the tournament. So gentlemen, what are we looking for from these teams? What do we think is going to be the key factors in this matchup?
I think that the bottom lane is the biggest aspect of tonight's match, primarily because Uzi and Mata have looked extremely vulnerable, and I thought that Doublelift and Biofrost looked phenomenal against Samsung Galaxy, even though they weren't able to pull out the win. And I also just put Bjergsen on some carry AP mid laner and just have him dominate the game.
Yeah, I think mid lane and jungle are like the two most important roles in this matchup. I do agree bot lane will be important because RNG needs it to win the game. But I think their weakness has been so focused around Xiaohu and MLXG especially. And if these two guys do not perform just even like 10% better than what they've been doing today, they're going to get destroyed by Bjergsen and Svenskeren almost no matter what picks we get. And you cannot lose that middle part of the map because then people are just going to roam to the bottom lane and then destroy Uzi Mana.
I'm with you on that one. I think that the jungle and mid lane matchup is really important. There it is. Bjergsen, even though he had that really poor showing in game 1, he was able to still bounce back with that Syndra. They figured out exactly what they need to do. Don't put him on that utility. But Xiaohu on the other side, I mean, just looking completely off, even with that flash Malzahar play. That's not the kind of stuff you want to see if you're trying to qualify to quarters.
And RNG is not a team known for that teamwork or great synergy. So I feel real bad for a guy like Xiaohu because he's been playing so poorly. I'm not sure anyone on this team is actually picking him up and kind of getting him, you know, to focus. Also, we know that the Chinese community can be super harsh on some of these players. So there's so much pressure on this guy right now. If he performs poorly again, I can see him tilt completely.
I mean, that's the thing. We're zeroing in on specific matchups and saying those players need to step up, but I don't find it, or I don't rather see a way for any single member on the team to lift everyone else up when the team is coming off such a devastating loss. Again, we have to remember 7.5K gold down, the most in the tournament at 15 against Samsung Galaxy. They're coming off the loss, whereas TSM, they did get to turn things around against Splice.
It is kind of what you expect out of RNG, though. They'll have the same kind of game like that when they stomp Splice, but then on the reverse side, they will get stomped themselves. And it's so inconsistent that if TSM just slows it down and can figure themselves out like they did the previous game, they should be able to do, which RNG did so in the first game against TSM in week 1. But unfortunately, they completely strayed away from that style. I have since then not have a clue of how to play a map.
Yeah, I think that tilt might actually be a pretty real factor here, and I'm not so sure how confident RNG is going to be coming into this final match and how much pressure is going to get to them, because they have a lot to live up to. And I think that TSM have shown that they can hold it together, and I think that the momentum that they had from the previous win is going to come straight into this.
I think there's one thing we've noticed with RNG. Whenever Mata is not on a playmaking support, they've not been able to do anything. So I think this is the time to say we don't need to stomp the bot lane with 50 CS. We can get something like Alistar, go even in lane, and then once we get outside of the laning phase, Mata can be the big playmaker that sets up the place and punish someone like Doublelift when he's out of position.
All right, well, it's do or die time for both of these teams, so I want your predictions. TSM, RNG, who's going to the quarterfinals?
We're in the Bay Area. Who else could it be? It's going to be TSM for me. I think they're going to be able to handle RNG very well. And I look forward to seeing them in quarters.
Right, the home crowd's behind them. What about you, LS?
I trust in Bjergsen and Doublelift, so I'm going with TSM.
All righty. There it is, the
I think Bjergsen and Svenskeren are way better than Xiaohu and MLXG right now, so I also go with TSM. Really, the only way RNG is going to win this game is by doing something unexpected. They don't really know what they're doing, so they can't surprise that way, but I think TSM has this one.
All right, well, the crowd is behind them, as you can hear, ladies and gentlemen, but it's up to the players to make it happen. So without further ado, let's send it to the casters for our final match of the day.
It is amazing how loud San Francisco can be.
Todo el público está con TSM de ser muy buena esa.
It is the last game of the day. There will be no tiebreakers. Winner takes all and advances to Chicago and to the top 8, and expectations could be higher. Let's talk picks and bans. What are we going to see from both of these teams? TSM are on the red side.
I do want TSM to use their counter pick on the mid lane, because even if they decide to have Bjergsen go utility, which I don't think that they should do, you definitely need to have that coming as a counter to lane specific. And even though Xiaohu has looked really poor, still scared for that. So Bjergsen, you know, saving that lane for Bjergsen, going back to TSM's core, TSM's identity, is going to be what they should focus on.
RNG has always looked better when they priority mid lane. I'm expecting something like a Syndra, like the Victor coming out for Xiaohu that he's comfortable on. Give him a comfortable matchup, because right now he's always getting played against.
He looked very, very bad in their game versus Samsung. Horrible. But then again, so did Bjergsen. So both of these guys are looking to rebound, and this is all about the mental preparation of the strength that these teams have in between games. Is one of the things that TSM as an organization have focused heavily on. And you know, you hear a lot of stories about RNG, how these issues have plagued them.
Yeah, certainly have. And I mean, when you have a team that is pretty much coached by the support, when he's down, it becomes very hard to pull the team back together and be able to set up those clutch game-winning plays.
Support Mata, I think that is a huge deal. Will they go with an Alistar? The thing they beat TSM with last time around. Double said that Mata was just crazy, and that's coming at him. But we've already got our first big move here. Xiaohu back on the Aurelion Sol, so this should not be unexpected for TSM.
And the LPL teams, before we dive into it, love to play Aurelion Sol hyper carry. Because when you get the Rylai's Crystal Scepter, it is incredibly hard to engage on this carry. So I'm expecting some very big hard engage to come out of TSM, either in the top lane with something like a Kennen again, or through their jungle pick.
Options available. Elise is still up. Rek'Sai is still up. Lee Sin and Italy off the table. Maybe they go that direction. TSM have got 20 seconds to decide where they go. What else does Bjergsen have in the tank to play into this Aurelion Sol? We've seen a lot of Vladimir, seen a lot of Syndra when it's up and available.
Key for me is some hard CC versus Aurelion Sol. If you tag it with one thing, anything, retract the stars, takes out all of the team fight presence. We saw some of the shortcomings. If he doesn't roam, if he doesn't get ahead early, if you can lock him up with some sort of safer CCs, then he becomes a fairly juicy target, right?
Well, first time Jace for Team Solomid here at Worlds. Are we anticipating that in Bjergsen's hands? Keep Aurelion Sol at bay, or is that going up top to Haunter?
Probably a Haunter pick there, but that's the beauty of it, right? You can still flex it, and you can threaten to flex, but definitely would expect up towards the top side versus.
So one more time, Uzi goes towards the Ezreal, and it's not a champion that he has really been known for in the past. I mean, sure, he's had some good games on it, but you know, you much more expect a hyper carries like the Caitlyn, although it's banned away, or even something like a Twitch to really set Uzi up for success.
Oh, here we go. The rise again into Aurelion Sol. This time for Bjergsen. Now, I love the new rise, and it is a lot of people aren't able to keep up with all the updates. There are a lot of changes to Rise, and this iteration to me is actually the most flexible version of Rise, because you can opt to super high damage output, getting all the resets on your overload with your other abilities, or you can pop that shield and speed at any moment that you want, or go for the 2-second snare and set up early kills. That's why I'm going to be looking at the Bjergsen comboing with Svenskeren on the Rek'Sai. This is a very decent 2v2 matchup, especially if you get there first, as far as the lane does go. Probably had a problem there.
Oye, Diego me va a mutear que voy a comer, entonces voy a poner los parlantes. Porque lo mismo para Steven Caro.
Also will be having his first showing on Jace in that top lane in the
Rise.
Sorry, on Rise. And of course now, what does this mean for Team Solomid looking forward? Because they've got a lot of carries, they've got a lot of flanking potential, but no real hard front line just yet, you know, with that Braum supports.
Yeah, so they have Braum support.
Rek'Sai.
Exactly. Unbreakable is really good, and Rek'Sai can go full tank. We have seen a lot of Tiamat versions of Rek'Sai for the fast clear, but the full tank version is very much still viable. Clearlove does it a lot as well, and Svenskeren can definitely go that route. With both Unbreakable and a Rek'Sai full tank on the front line, that's a very strong team fight. I do expect them to go that way, that they've locked in Lucian, because Double F loves to play, you know, very quick and fast inside the team fights. He's very good at keeping 100% DPS uptime on even a short range AD carry. Only 500 range now on Lucian. Remember how dangerous it is to play this champion.
That's the biggest thing for me. I mean, Haunter, Bjergsen, and Doublelift have to pick their windows of damage when the limited CC is out, when the Braum ultimate as well as the Rek'Sai and Burrow go in. Look for them to dive into that team fight. Look to pick up the scrappy kills.
Dodging the Elise Cocoon and the Nami bubbles becomes much more difficult when you're facing an Aurelion Sol. If, as you say, he gets to that Rylai's Crystal Scepter, the slow and the zone control that he does have with the Giant Star can create a lot of problems as far as navigating through the team fights and creating that space for Lucian to get his work done.
So much pressure on Doublelift to step up. He's had one questionable game, one very good game throughout the course of the day. It's very obvious where the crowd is cheering. You guys jump onto Twitter and let us know if you think it is TSM win or if RNG will cause the upset. Winner take all advances to the quarterfinals. And this early game is going to be tense. whether or not MLXG can pull off some magic and disrupt these laners of Team Solo Mids.
All of North America's hopes for TSM ride on this game. This is a team that has put everything into this particular year. This iteration of the team has had the most support, the most practice, the most dedicated players that we have ever seen from the region.
And on the other side, just to juxtapose, RNG was a team that went to MSI. They went deep in the group stages and unfortunately fell down 3-1 against SKT. They made the change and brought Uzi in, who is one of the most touted AD carries from China of all time. If they fail here in a group stage, massive loss for this team.
Two legends facing off in the bot lane right now. Double Lift and Uzi.
Simultaneously, two fantastic junglers facing off. That's the priority of Riot Games 2. Tune into that if you want to. A little bit of trades very early on. And I'm a little nervous for TSM because Uzi has a bit of a penchant for showing up in at least one of 3 games.
Everybody playing in this game, everybody watching this game, everyone associated with League of Legends right now is definitely nervous, Quickshot.
They certainly are. In the Uzi games, you know, 1 in every 3, it is said that he will just explode and carry a game 1v9. He needs to do so now.
Double Lift himself talked about how much he looked up to Uzi. This guy, when he was on the world stage, making it to the finals, his play, especially on things like Caitlyn, mechanical outplays and the team fighting from him were so crisp. He's very, very good at his animation canceling and very good as far as dodging skill shots.
Now I'm going to anticipate a slightly slower early game with all that is at stake in this game. Teams can play a little slower and a little risk averse. But obviously down this bottom lane, Nami's going to have a good advantageous lane into the melee support of Braum.
Oh, Mada's actually doing a very good job kiting there. You can see barely with the outrange. I mentioned Lucian's 500 range there for the auto attacks. It's just outside. There's no exchange there. It's purely one-sided, and every auto does count.
Oh,
it's just like every star counts.
That was 5 in a row for Xiaohu. Much more comfortable on the champion than we just saw from Senkux. And Bjergsen's going to have a tough time in this lane. Refillable potion is going to help him out.
Let's immediately start talking about the junglers, as they have almost both gotten to level 3. They're on their 3rd camps now. Immediately you see Xiaohu shove up the lane on the Aurelion Soul and go for vision, trying to get some, some extra information as to where Svenskeren is. Very good defensive ward there.
That is a defensive ward. That's what I wanted to point out. It isn't the aggressive ward into the blue buff pit. It is just nice and shallow, making sure that he can spot out jungle pathing. And now they're finally pinging in.
I actually would encourage Svenskeren to go for the attempt on Scuttlecrab rather than the blue, but he starts up the blue anyway. To try and hand over to Bjergsen. And this ward that was placed by Xiaohu, remember, that will see Bjergsen walking over there. They know he's trying to hand it off, and they've got a bush. Ooh, not in that bush. He's at the base, okay.
Xiaohu's already
the
backed
tension
away.
Is overflowing at the moment.
It really is, because there's so much on the line. Svenskeren's forced away from his blue buff. Mata's come up to support MLXG. Cocoon lands, Aqua Prison just sidestep. All of a sudden, MLXG repels up, jumps to the Sentinel. Xiaohu's coming in from the river.
Whoa.
It's going to be pressure now on TSM.
That is so incredibly impressive that RNG were able to pull off that invade without a mid laner. Their bottom lane pushed up so far, and Mata on this abusive Nami for the laning phase. They're able to go steal away this blue that was supposed to be handed off to Bjergsen and run Svenskeren off of that Grump. Very big power play from RNG, even without Xiaohu having mid lane presence.
And now let's talk about what that does for mid lane, because Xiaohu's going to be able to continually push up, and the Rise cannot match due to the mana constraints.
And it's not just mid lane, it's the entire map. Whenever Aurelion Sol gets an extra back like that, he's got the purchase now advantage over Bjergsen. There was an extra buy here, now he's got the ring, and that vision you talked about in the mid lane, top and bottom, RNG's advantage. You can see it's affecting Bjergsen in the way that he's playing the lane now.
Yeah, Bjergsen does marginally have a CS advantage. Flash Cleanse or his Summoner spells. Uzi and Mata, they're going to have some advantage as this lane pushes towards them. Biofrost blocking a lot of damage with that shield. Catches a bubble as well. Arcane Shift sends Uzi to safety, but Double Lift still under a lot of pressure.
It was actually a very good exchange there for TSM, because they're trading with Cannon Minion and with some ranged minions on their side, and they got a decent amount of damage. But here comes the roam as well as the
no exhaust here out of Biofrost.
They smell it coming.
Good play from Team Solo Mid. Luckily, have most likely scrimmed against Huhi and CLG. They smell it and back out.
Cross-map players actually come in. You can see Looper also has to back away from his turret, so they're very aware of this play right now, RNG.
And you can see it in double FCS. This is an abusive matchup here. The Ezreal Nami once again used for laning prowess. When combined with a mid laner that has so much global presence like Aurelion Sol, and the respect you have to give to that pick when the pings go down, the missing pings, is insane. And Double F now is going to have to try and carry the game from a CS deficit.
Decent little interrupt by Lupus, still takes the damage though, and as it stands, Hornser is ahead. Look at the CS, plus, what's that, 18 or so, it's a lot. In the mid lane, plus 5 for Bjergsen and Sven Skaren, currently out-farming MLXG. That is why they've got a marginal lead, but it is all at the expense of Double Lift and Biofrost lane.
Definitely true. The other thing about being pinned under your turret like this, especially with, these being normal lanes, there's no lane swaps, there's no way of getting out of it. Even though the teleport was just used there, there's no opportunity at all for TSM, for Biofrost and Double F to get a deep ward. You won't be able to see junglers walking up through the lane wards. They're pinned under their turret, so they have absolutely no vision. And it's the fact that that's combined with the loss of presence around mid lane due to Xiaohu on the Aurelion Sol and that matchup. That being said, Bjergsen is farming well and is getting his last hits.
Yeah, and this is the important thing. You have to weather the bottom lane whilst accumulating advantages on the top side of the map. That's all TSM's game plan is right now, because you pick Nami to win lane, you pick Braum to win the team fight.
The thing is, you pick Poppy to just build full tank and be on the front line and be serviceable with a CS deficit. Lucian, a bit more difficult to do the same. Cole is picked up for Double Lift once again, but this time around he's not ahead, he's far behind, and it's more of a reactive. Gonna try and cash in later. I don't expect them to take any fight.
Look at the river, look at the river! The bubble catches Biofrost!
Will they go
Here
over?
comes the comment of legend. Biofrost puts up the unbreakable, sidesteps the stun. Voice of Light doesn't kill him because Uzi does. First blood secured for Royal, never give up. Sven Skaren follows. Launchly not gonna go down yet. That's a double kill for Uzi. Double Lift's in trouble. Triple kill for Uzi!
And we already talked about it, the Uzi game. He's up in CS, now he has an early triple kill, and this is exactly what Royal wanted.
The pressure around bottom lane overflows. Mid lane and jungle come crashing.
¡Vamos! ¡La concha tu madre!
Victory for Royal. Never give up. And this is just raw aggression. Sven Skaren wants to match the ward challenge. However, RNG want to be able to catch them out, and Double Lift tries to save Biofrost.
You got to flash for that super early. I mean, very risky going up into the river. They have no control mid or control down bottom. And RNG, this is the area of the map you want to fight around. You mentioned the discrepancy between top and between bottom. This is RNG's side. They play off their power. They get a huge lead. First blood, 3 kills, first turret as well. And man, this is going to be a difficult comeback for TSM.
It was a Phage and a Jhin inside Uzi's itemization. He sold the Phage, opted into the pickaxe for now. So much money, he doesn't even know what he wants to buy.
Yeah, 100%. But what you can trust out of Uzi is the fact that he likes damage efficiency. I was surprised to see the Phage, because what he wants is get towards that Mora mana, stack it up as quickly as possible, and if you get it around the 19-minute mark with the Trinity Force, this guy's going to be a monster.
Now remember, Team Solo Mid opted into this pick and ban phase. They allowed the Aurelion Sol through, and Xiaohu's been able to put a lot of pressure with the help of MLXG down in the bottom lane. There's an Infernal Drake up and no tower. So if TSM have to concede control of that portion of the map, RNG could grab another objective uncontested.
Exactly, and remember, this is still RNG's side of the map. This is their blue buff. They've got all the vision inside the blue quadrant. You want to continue to play off your side of the map that you have pressure on. And they're doing just that, continuing to bully Double Lift under the turret.
But the great adaptation here is they've warded out a jungle camp. There's a pink ward top side of the map, so even if TSM want to cross-map them right now, it should mean that Lupa gets out scot-free just by backing away from the turret. So a much more controlled RNG, like the first game we saw against TSM, going back to that slow start.
And this is great for RNG, sucks for TSM. Infernal Drake is going to be the first Drake taken here. RNG continue to snowball. That's going to get all of their damage purchases an extra percentage boost.
Yeah, especially if this game continues to play out. It's a 2,000 gold deficit. Hornser is doing very well in this top lane. He's plus 35 CS, keeping Lupa down, but poke is not really what's going to help you if Aurelion Sol and Elise decide to jump on you. A little bit of pressure in the top lane, as you can see. Xiaohu making his way up. And down bottom, TSM just trying to fend off Uzi and Mata.
One tiny thing I want to talk about in regards to the Infernal is GLP plus defensive item, not really all that much AP. It's not going to help out Xiaohu. At the same time, Trinity Force user generally into a Blade of the Ruined King, not really going to help out Uzi as well. There are some comps that benefit a lot more from an Infernal Dragon. It's still great, don't get me wrong, but this is not one of those comps that it's just very overbearing to play against.
Well, playing against Aurelion Sol is quite overbearing.
Certainly is.
That's what TSM are trying to deal with. RNG with a great advantage in the early game. Got themselves a lead. Lupa's used his teleport, so Haunter will have that advantage if opportunities break out elsewhere on the map. And Team SolarMid may need to use some map plays to claw back this deficit.
And that's the thing. Opportunities don't just present themselves to you. You have to create your own advantages in League of Legends. And there's no wards down bottom, no deep wards for a deep teleport. Plus, Looper is more than serviceable on this Poppy, even with the CS deficit, taking a huge chunk out of Haunter's health bar. Here comes the rest of RNG.
Yeah, 3 members head towards the top lane. They're trying to force them off the turret.
The Cocoon catches Svenskeren. Voice of Light not going to kill just yet. Xiaohu's looking for more. Gets it with the expansion. Kill number 4. And TSM's hopes are dwindling away. Haunter's electing to teleport up. Gonna have the support of Bjergsen as well as Biofrost shortly. Double lift is not there. This is currently a 3-on-3. Lupa looks for the stun. Cleanse used by Bjergsen. The tidal wave thrown out. Couple of summoners exchanged, but Team SolarMid hold on to their top tower for now.
2 summoner spells burn on Bjergsen for only 1 of Lupa, as well as the teleport, matching that global pressure. Means that now RNG, they're just going to be happy with isolating these lanes, trying to continue to rotate the Aurelion Sol around the map, because as long as Bjergsen can't follow because of the push, they're at a disadvantage.
The American Dream, the #1 Western hope. All of the pressure on Team SolarMid, and they have to claw it back. The expectations on this team coming into Worlds was the greatest, arguably, of any Western team to date. There's been some debate about whether or not Fnatic last year had higher expectations, but for Team SolarMid, with the support staff, with how dominant they were in summer, with the talent they've drafted, this is a tough situation to be in.
They're definitely going to have to dig deep to pull this one back. First step, though, in taking back vision control of their blue quadrant has been taken by Biofrost. Cleared out a few of the wards and placed some defensive vision of TSM's own. RNG quickly go to remedy the situation, though.
And this is where it gets tense, because you can see playing bottom side versus playing top side, they want to be able to pressure Lupa. That is where the gold disparity is right now. But making plays onto the full tank Poppy all tournament long has been so difficult to execute upon.
TSM setting up a counter here, but they have to be so wary.
Haunter's in trouble. He's got a flash available. Gonna need to use it shortly. Can't when he's in the steadfast presence. Knocked up into the air. Celestial expansion doesn't get a kill. Cornered. Can flash over. Voice of Light gets the damage down. Lupa uses the buckler. Manages to stay alive. Slowed down by Biofrost. Ignite is out. That's Team SolarMid's first kill. Svenskeren's running for his life. A level 7 double lift is being tagged by the stars. And Xiaohu wants to send them packing. A culling is interrupted by the Cocoon. Knock up on MLXG. Second kill for TSM, but it's a 2-for-2 in favor of Royal Never Give Up. Xiaohu's going to continue to back away, and Mata and Uzi are low. A lot of damage on that outer turret.
Finally, they back away. RNG playing on the knife's edge there, and great response, especially out of Biofrost, taking the bullet, stepping in front of this tidal wave.
All right, let's look at Looper catching Haunter on the wall. Going to get the flash out of him as well, but man, that was so close for the Cocoon landing as well. Here comes the ult from Xiaohu over the wall, and everybody goes for the dive. Biofrost does have the kill secured, and Svenskeren also forced to flash away.
But this is where it gets really dicey, because it looks like double lift is zoned. It looks like this is going to be a 3-man wave, and Biofrost tanks it up for his team. Huge ulti, and MLXG went too deep.
Yeah, exactly. The rest of the team, the DPS behind MLXG, trying to get there, slowed down by Biofrost ultimate and not quite able to answer in time. It almost looked like Bjergsen and Double Lift wanted to create something else after that play too, but disengaged from RNG, and they hold on to their lead.
Thanks to all the action in the top lane, Team SolarMid able to secure their blue buff. Bjergsen grabbed that one. Xiaohu grabbed his own. GLP picked up along with those Merc treads. Items starting to Black Cleaver for Hornsa, but Bjergsen still waiting for his first big pickup. Rune Prison comes down. Picking up those overloads as many as he can, and Xiaohu opts not to use his W.
And now there is a small window where teleport is available for Looper, but not available for Hornsa, so they're
¿Estás viendo lo mismo que yo, papu?
Yeah.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, bitch.
Hermano, TSM LUL.
That one spawns.
No, TSM va a dar vuelta
And if there were dragons to fight over, fire and mountain would be
Yo creo que pierde el doble, Liz.
Team SolarMid
Bjergsen va a cargar.
lost control of
Bjergsen.
had decent wards earlier, and it looks like RNG
Bjergsen.
appears to
Te
be
metáis con Uzi.
this is a great circle of
Uzi never give up. Uzi never give up.
deep for RNG to play with.
RNG, they do the first step. They lay down all the vision through the blue buff side of TSM. So that there's no possibility of TSM coming to contest. They take their relatively
Es feo. Cagamos.
They just leave the
No se atreven a mirarlo.
by itself and get all of that
Llega
damage
todo.
done on the turret, because normally
El regalón de los Dalitria.
get a free shop in, but RNG is still punished for the maximum.
They are indeed. Hornsa's down in the bottom lane with teleport. Sorry, making his way to Looper, who's in the
Es el
bottom
culiao
lane.
único buen positivo.
Teleport's available. Didn't take advantage of having that additional global just yet. And for Royal, never give up. They've had a questionable group stage so far today. Really looking out of sorts. This could justify
Here we
that.
go.
Comment of Legends coming up. Hornsa's the target. No flash available. He should be
Está
able to
cagado.
save the tidal wave, but it's such great zoning tool. A lot of damage onto MLXG, but not enough to kill him. The rest of TSM, can they make a cross-map play?
Vamos a estar top.
Yeah, I mean, they can keep double lift up there to try and trade a turret, but it's not going to be an advantage because RNG can pressure bottom side as well. Actually, they're converting in.
They're actually going to teleport for it.
Wow, they're teleporting on it, and Double Lift should definitely respect that. Okay.
That's actually, I think, a very questionable play there. Maybe RNG, you know, we've questioned their macro before, but not trying to trade
Oye,
objectives,
Sol.
especially when it's an outer, can come back to haunt you when you give up an important flanking tool.
Oye, Sol, yo tengo una cuenta que te puedo vender, weón. Se llama Capitán Crash, level 30, oro 4.
Extra
Capita.
advantage if they can grab a fight in a 4 versus 5 scenario or a 3 versus 2 scenario. They need the wards to do that though, and it's been such a hard fight to get the vision in place, as RNG have shown a renewed focus.
Are we channeling Kamehameha on that move? I didn't see it.
No, Felipe se la
I actually
jugó.
want to talk about Xiaohu's build, because he's going towards the Rylai's as his second item. Doesn't feel like he needs the MR because he's so far ahead.
Estás con la mano en la tula, weón, no engañé a nadie.
To be doing any magic damage. So I really like this. It keeps Uzi safer, and Uzi is so accelerated that he has to become the target that you're taking out at the start of these team fights.
18-minute Trinity Force and Manamune. There's 9
¿Cómo
stacks.
está Luisín?
Xiaohu's Dark
Bienvenido
Seal.
sea, guachito.
Tankiness being built for MLXG as well as Looper, just continuing to grow further and further. And for Team SolarMid, it is still a 2,000
Team
gold
Solo
game.
Lul.
Actually, it's a 1,000. No, it is 2. My math is terrible. Too much pressure to count. They've held it even at 8 minutes. But again, it's because RNG got so many advantages so early, the risk increases.
Oye, bueno, esa hora debería estar viendo esta weá.
Spike that Spawn talked about for Uzi. He's got the double item completion here for Ezreal, and that is just provides so much threat in the team fights when you consider all of the zoning of a full tank Poppy on the front line and Aurelion Soul circulating stars.
Bjergsen uses his ultimate just to get into tower. I do not believe RNG saw that, so they may not be the wise. It's a 1.5 minute cooldown ballpark at this stage. Needlessly Large Rod picked up as well, so there's additional damage coming out for Bjergsen.
This is a really dangerous turret to defend because it's 2 hits away from falling down, and RNG is one of those teams that will collapse on you after the team
A ver, no se
fight.
pongan mañosito en el chat.
No
Santos
teleport available,
baneados.
but TSM, they just give it away. They take the
Vale,
trade.
mierda, Juliana, ¿qué va?
Definitely encourage equal objective trades when behind like
Y bueno, los va a banear todos.
Dove.
No me importa
Definitely
nada.
getting roamed on.
Feels like that could be
That's on me
episode
viewing.
number 3 in the Hornsa versus RNG
Capa.
saga. Not going to be the number.
En el foto de la... No, ya, pa' qué. El Sub me dijo una wea. No lo cagué, po. Pero no voy a terminar la cagada porque si no se van a enojar conmigo.
And that's a big stacking wave top lane, so now all of a
Están
sudden
peleando por mi
they
pene.
rotate Xiao up there. keep their 1-3-1 in effect.
Ah, ya. Mira la cámara.
TSM, yes, it is a risky game. They're trying to keep control.
Tengo que poner la panorámica para que alcance a caer.
Build up and allow RNG make one of those power dives on the other side of the map. Bottom, they do have a little bit of pressure, but here comes Looper.
2 minutes until the next Mountain Drake. Team SalonDeLaFama somewhat scattered in the mid lane. Bjergsen almost going to have access to that.
Ah, cagamos.
It looks like double.
Cagamos. Puta, Sad, perdón. Sergio, digamos. No me está jugando a mí, era otro Sergio.
TSM have
Don, yo te
to
amo.
farm for late
Lo amo todo.
mentality. They're trying to just continue to farm, and it's a risky game. RNG get a little more damage here on the mid turret as they take their toll for all of these extra moments that TSM are buying here.
And this is what it's about, rotating around the map, getting the chip damage, making sure you're constantly pressuring to ensure the advantages are there. The big one is Rise, but I would say that right now the Jason
El físico del mañana.
Poppy, 2 kills starting to come online.
Pero ¿por qué me dan cuerda,
This game, you can see gold
El
deficit.
físico del mañana con la tula del presente.
1300 gold.
Censuren esto, por favor.
Separates double lifted Uzi thanks to that very early.
Como en el slogan, esa weá debería ponerlo en mi weá de clases particulares. El físico del mañana con la terrible tula.
Bronce 5.
Oh, triple
For RNG, really gotta help validate the LPL because EDG, the heroes of China, they were so shaky and on the
No entendí nada de lo que dijo el Felipe, pero te apoyo.
Igual en oro van bien.
Es que la weá son los dragones que han sacado Royal más que todos, pues, por eso no hay tanta diferencia. Pues un 7-2, weón. La han puesto para el farmeo, esa es la weá, mira el Rise, weón. Pon limit a los ahora el Trindamere.
Ultimate's down. If a dragon is on the cards for Team Solo Mid, crucial abilities not available to Lupa.
Los tecache.
TSM need to pick their next battle
Cuando tú quieras, Coto.
very carefully. They're going to need to start the fight out with some extra damage on it. Whether it's Rise snaring someone up.
Pero hermano, si gana Royal, po, ¿no? Pero es que como Royal le ganó las 2 veces a Solo Mid.
No, recortado, ¿no?
¿Vos decís?
Sí, los puntos, ¿no?
¿Vos decís?
Just because
Sí, yo digo.
of the extra zone
Puede
control
ser.
that RNG are bringing, in addition to how
Lo que no entiendo por qué sacó Rise y no sacó Syndra o la banearon. De hecho la banearon ellos.
Porque parece que el counter de Aurelion está haciendo Rise, weón. Porque cuando Aurelion va volando, el Rise lo puede parar con el snare.
Pero no ha dicho mucho, ¿eh?
Estoy escuchando que las 2 veces que han picado Aurelion, han picado el Rise para contenerlo.
from TSM side, and RNG, they're feeling very confident still.
Y donde Aurelion se mandó un Romeo, vos sacó un triple.
3 dragons stacking up as it slowly builds.
Another mountain.
Honestly, though, I need to look top lane. I think RNG should force on this top
Se supone que cuando el Aurelion va a bajar alguna línea, el Rise lo tiene que seguir con el último, weón.
bully and brute
Sí,
force
pero
the
se
extra
intentó, pero
objective down.
no, yo.
That would mean that the
Por eso, esa es la idea detrás del counter.
has collapsed, but they still have not quite, removed their. Gets the slow. Haunts is knocked back into the expansion.
Oh my god. ¡Oh! ¡Sí, la concha de tu hermana!
That's his 4th kill of the game.
Oh, increíble, weón. Está enojado, sí, weón.
Doublelift might be able to help. Xiao, who's still running for his life. It could be a 4-on-3. The Cocoon catches Doublelift. Biofrost joins. Glacial Fissure might get needed. The wall comes up. The Unbreakable Shield doesn't help Doublelift. He's in trouble. Flashes away with his life. Knocked up by the Keeper's Verdict. Doublelift still trying to run.
Mano, dejen de pelear, miren lo que está pasando.
Damage onto MLXG. Lupa gets Bjergsen, but the claims is already tagged. Eat the chair, Lupa. He's Rune Prison in place under the tower.
¡Luper, no, weón!
Very close, even exchange right there. As
Oh, ese sobreextendieron más que la chuva.
And Haunts are also has teleport.
hace la diferencia, weón.
Such an incredibly close team fight. Look at the aggressive move here. All right, they go 2 versus 1. TSM are
Ahí estaba bien.
started that
Uzi es un genio.
Haunts gets sniped. What a beautiful snipe from Uzi. That was very important as, Jace can still add damage.
Oh, la tiró antes. No lo calculó, chao. Jugué y lo vendió.
Bjergsen comes in with the ultimate.
So many Summoner spells used prematurely here. Another flash, 1 into 3. The Exhaust and Flash already used from Mata, and TSM kite it back beautifully.
That was a bit uncoordinated there from MLXG, but they knew they had Looper on the way, and you can see him dive so heavily into the turret.
As we jump out of the replay, Sven Skaren dodges a potential Aqua Prison. The gold gain is now 1,000. After all of the positives for RNG, it equates to a 3 dragon lead rather than item and gold lead right now.
¿Dónde está Tatito?
TSM got the shutdown on Uzi. That's a large amount of gold for
Me
them.
remontaron.
Bjergsen flanked to the
No.
side, got the extra overloads onto Uzi, which are going to be difficult. As we
No. Va a ganar Uzi, va a ganar Uzi.
RNG, they actually
Sí me daría mucha pena que perdiera Uzi.
or
Me daría
Uzi
pena que
himself
perdiera
needs to
TSM.
keep that line.
Vale, pico,
clear.
TSM.
The thing is, it's kind of
No.
difficult because Ezreal himself also
Se lo
wants to have a
eligió.
clear line at the DPS target.
And there is so much power around this map right now. Bjergsen is huge.
He is indeed. Team Solo Mid got a 3-on-1 for now. MLXG's coming in from the side. No teleport for Looper. But there's a flank coming
Tidal
from
wave.
the jungle. Tidal wave is available for Marta.
Pupi está yendo por los lados, se está dividiendo solo mil, cuidado.
Look for the cocoon.
No pasó nada.
Tag Sven Skerens behind, and he makes it out alive.
Varón. Varón.
They force them down with double mount Drake. Do they go for Baron or are they just looking for the turret?
Mano, yo creo que van
A bit
Varón.
of lingering vision around
Fue a
Baron.
carrera.
There we go. RNG do clear it out, and that is going to be a bait. TSM has
Bueno,
to
ahí
be so
está
much more careful than they have been in the past. They have no blue trinket available. Very risky situation.
Teleport is up for Hornsa, and if he can get into position, the poke from those accelerated shock blasts can help onto RNG in the pit. Tidal wave is used this time around. The
Bueno, a ver,
target's
Jensen.
Bjergsen. He's able to sidestep. Looks like he can get away. Xiaohu finds
Ulti a ver,
no
Jensen.
target. And
Bueno.
once again, Bjergsen survives with his life. Bjergsen's used Realm Warp. It is not available.
He actually got out of danger before using the Rise ultimate there. We'll see
Sí,
if
se
that
pararon.
actually does cost them. Hanser's trying to pressure on the bottom
loco.
side. That's why RNG are forcing it.
Es que tenían miedo de iniciarlo por el ulti del Rise, pero ahora no tienen nada de miedo porque ven al concert en bot. ¡Oh my god! ¡Help! Oh, Looper, la media place, weón.
For a tower, it's not over yet. Double uses the Ghost Blade culling. Voice of Light gonna tag him up. Tidal wave's not available. GLP slows down.
¿Cachaste que Xiaohu lo ultió para cagarle el ulti al Lucian?
Hornsa continues to put pressure down bottom.
Para que no le llegara, lo corrió.
Another flash forward, crucial stun this time onto double lift, and they want to push it straight up mid lane.
Hanser did get 2 turrets for their
¿Cómo está
trouble,
Francisco?
but a huge cost there for TSM as RNG now with
He doesn't look like he can. Saves the teleports. Who gives the kill? It should be Xiaohu. It's just a matter of
Rampage! Ciao!
9 Baron and 3,000 gold down.
And RNG should not stop there. With the Baron buff, the last outer on top is easy pickings, and they can try and get some extra gold in their pockets for that victory.
El oro que te da el dragón de valor es como 2500.
10 stacks on his Dark Seal. Been there for so long. Bloodthirster picked up for Uzi. The power spikes really are coming out of this team. Matched reasonably well by TSM. However, it's just the fact that they've been picked off before these fights really have begun. Haven't seen a 5v5 since that one in the bottom lane.
The hope for TSM now is the Rise.
Cuando te ponen Electro en tu casa, tú te pones a bailar. Como si no hubiera un mañana.
Kills, all of the money, all of the hopes of TSM and North America channeled into the star mid laner.
But he's in the bottom lane. I mean, right now,
El ese enculeado tiene que cargar estos mancos de mierda de la Season 3, media raya,
they
weón.
just have to give up topside priority.
That's exactly what Team Solo Mid are doing. Don't know if they would have been able to win a fight there anyway.
Mano, mira los scores. 0-4, 0-4, 4-0.
As they put pressure on the inner turret top. Teleport still available for Hornsa. No real vision to work with. One small ward right on top of Mata. Culling interrupted by the Cocoon and the tower's under pressure. Celestial Expansion and Star Surge alone allow RNG to get the tower. Look at the damage on Sven Skeren. 50% down without any pressure. Decent shock blast from Hornsa. He needs about 17 more of those. Looking to get some poke down and RNG. 1 minute left on Baron. They're starting to see the turrets.
And this is what you want to see out of RNG. They're not a finesse side. Group is 5, brute force. Here we go.
There we go. Keeper's Verdict is thrown out. I think Bjergsen was able to sidestep it. Round Warp could be used. RNG, they're knocking down the inhibitors. 30 minutes go down. Good damage onto Xiaohu from the Overload. Team Solo Mid are making RNG hesitate. Not anymore. Uzi breaks open the base. Super minions now pouring through. At some point, TSM have to decide to go in. Culling's going to come up shortly. They get some damage onto Lupa and then Shock Blast.
Todo es defensivo, están jugando a la 6, weón.
RNG with a clean hit and run.
Y eso que Double Leaf está usando su main, pues weón, a Lucian. Bueno, siempre he dicho que Lucian es como su pocket pick.
And this is why the LPL use Aurelion Soul to protect their carries.
Es que hermano está contra Uzi, no hay nada que se le pueda, weón. Y mira, Uzi se compró... Ojo que Uzi no se armó la Blue Wheel, weón. Uzi se armó Trifuerza, hermano.
¿Cómo va ganando?
Como tiene que carrear, ¿quieres decir? Como tiene que meter todo el daño del equipo. Oh my god. Cacha mata como cachó que se iba para allá. Pum. 3 dragones contra 0. Creo que no juegan de nuevo, hermano. Creo que si Royal gana queda clasificado porque hubiese ganado 2 veces a TSM. No sé si juegan de nuevo. Yo creo que no juegan de nuevo. No sé, bueno, yo creo que no.
Honestly, so much credit to RNG. They had the much better game plan coming into this. So much pressure mid and bottom. Again, they focus their in-game play around it as well.
Quiero reclamar, no sé cómo sean las reglas, pues bueno.
MLXG from the very beginning, they push up with Mada. They take control of the jungle.
Ese tiene que ganar.
All of their plays off the quadrant.
Todo va a pisar.
Scaren's still waiting in the bush. Haunter got teleports available. Sven playing with his life.
Los dos quedarían 3-3, hermano, pero Royal le hubiese ganado los 2 matches que jugó contra SoloMid, por eso gana Royal. En el desempate, porque... Por eso me refiero yo, pues. Así es como el fútbol. Como fútbol, Me fútbol. Qué voy a aprender el Teletubby ahí casero.
Eso es la wall.
El wall.
La gol.
¡Oh, pero mira el feo! ¡Cuidado! ¡Cuidado, Royal! ¡Oh my god! ¡Está muy peleado! ¿Qué está pasando acá? ¡Oh my fucking god!
In that team fight, able to get on the backline for the first time, and he torches Uzi.
Look at this, it's RNG pulling the trigger before the inhibitor's down.
El problema es que ahí se encierran todos, weón, y comparten mucho daño.
Hunter and double lift go melee range in there to destroy RNG. They still did lose 2 members, but they barely defended their second inhibitor. That second inhibitor falling means so much for RNG, and TSM still have life in them yet.
They absolutely do. This buys enough time. This should get their top inhibitor to respawn. Baron is up in 45 seconds, and Team Solo Mid, a minute on that inhib left. They are still very far behind and cannot afford any mistakes.
They have bought themselves more time to look for an opportunity to punish a mistake from RNG. And around Baron, those have come from this team. If TSM are patient and they try and get the vision, there is a chance, but RNG still in control. They've got 4 Drakes, Baron up in 15 seconds. Let the dance begin.
Comments of legend, Xiao who's looking for Bjergsen. GLP comes out in the
cuidado, cabros, cuidado.
Glacial Fisher may get needed. Sven still running for his life. Sven may go down, eats the chair. Sven will die. Keeper's verdict knocks him out along with the rest of TSM. Double if he's dead. Bjergsen and Haunter running for their lives. Biofrost is trying to catch as many as he can.
Oh, mira ese crítico, weón.
To jump to Bjergsen. It's a 1 for 2. Bio's still in trouble, running away. Mystic shot off the Mystic shot.
Tienen que botar el Nidor de bot ahora, weón.
That should be the Baron for them, unless there's some miraculous play from TSM. And RNG with the Baron buff will come marching for that second inhibitor.
Bjergsen is still alive. There's 5-0-5.
Shock blast. There's a warded side for TSM. They know this. They already know that they're trying to bait.
No lo vieron.
So TSM by process of elimination.
And now Sven Skaren has ultimate. Is going to be able to get... Oh, there's no tunnels actually. They're going to start it up.
They are indeed.
Lo hacen, no tiene túnel. No puede ir.
You need to hit those shot blast. Sends it flying 2000 HP. Biofrost
Bien.
for the steal, but it's Royal that secures
Pero es que igual, es que Royal la tiene tan ganada, pero está tan peleada igual que chucha solo mismo.
Just after, faith and hope is given to TSM. Royal never give up. Squash it. They have control.
TSM should grab that Scuttle Crab. What you want to do is delay the Scuttle Crab take as long as possible so that the extra vision lasts long, but you want to be able to get it before ING obviously arrive.
And it's huge out of Looper. I mean, watch Looper here. Flashes, stops the tunnel, and gets the pin.
Beautiful there, interrupt from Looper. They also get the extra kill off it, and even though he sacrificed his life, that sacrifice so worth it as it opens up the Baron.
¿Cuál es el doble? El usan como personaje de frente, así como.
He's down 70 CS, but time and time again with this full tank Poppy is able to get the crucial stun.
Exactly, that's the role you take when you take the Poppy into Jace matchup. Yes, he's down a whole bunch of CS, but he just builds full tank, you go as the playmaker, and you shine later.
The damage onto Sven once again. Uzi, Mercurial Scimitar added to the collection.
And he's pretty much 6 items. I mean, he's going to upgrade the last Whisper, but right now 2 full items nearly above double it.
This is it, last stand of TSM. Poppy ultimate here for the zoning, and they push him off the turret again.
It is fine, nobody's knocked away, but it's not needed. It's just a zoning verdict. The tower falls, round wolf in from behind. Nobody takes the right except for Sven Scarron, but he might be left out to dry. Forced to flash instantly.
No, la vendió, weón. Flashó para el top, weón.
Sven's running for his life. As Horns are down, he's caught on the flank. This might be the last fight. Fire Frost is down. RNG looking for more.
¡Vale, Uzi! Uzi never give up!
That's a shutdown as MLXG picks it up. It's a 5-on-1. Baron buff is available. The inhibitor's being dropped. Once that goes down,
What? ¡Mira Uzi! ¡Cuál es de Uzi! ¡Korian! ¡Uzi! Bien, weón, por fin un team que me gusta gana, weón. ¡Vamos, Uzi! ¡Vamos, Uzi!
Uzi, I will take you deep into worlds, and that is an Uzi game if I have ever seen one.
Royal never give up. Make it out of the group and send TSM back.
Solo mid se va a la casa y Royal gana. No hay tiebreak porque Royal le ganó los 2 matches a Solo mid.
Esos enfermitos siempre ganan.
So many questions about this Royal lineup. Xiaohu, horrible tournament.
Ahí tenéis doble lift, la soberbia, papu, la soberbia.
Gut check, a last-ditch effort, and both players come up huge.
And Xiaohu deserves the credit. I mean, so much of their previous loss to Samsung was him mistaking a mistake. Yet the Aurelion Soul was a giant part of this game.
SKT lo está haciendo una prueba.
Down into the jungle, into the bottom lane. They absolutely took TSM's bottom lane out of the early game.
RNG's most impressive games at Worlds have been against Team Solo Mid, both of which convincing victories.
Y así nomás, pues, cabrón.
They advanced to the quarterfinals as the 2nd seed, joining EDG from the LPL as a 2nd.
Oye, ¿cómo no un lolcito?
This is going to be very difficult for every other group who could potentially drop it and could potentially go up against that level of RNG.
And I'm still not sure what we'll get.
Mano, si tenemos Clone Knight todavía.
You're still a bit worried as to
roll the dice.
No queda Clone Knight, es la esperanza de Nia.
Watching them all year, and this team is just so confusing. When they're at their best, the raw talent, the skill, they can match anyone, and you can see they can play disciplined play when they have to, it's just they don't at times. If they're at their best, they can take anyone down to the ground.
What does this mean for Team Solo Mid? The NALCS and Western fans. Europe, North America joined behind TSM.
Hey, we all did.
Unfortunately, they didn't show up in groups.
Yeah, we all did. I mean, TSM this year was such a powerhouse, such a classy team. You could see Bjergs and Svenskeren to the very end were trying to battle their way out of that one. You hate to see them go, really.
Definitely. I mean, they put everything into this year. The dedication, you know, all the hours that they put in. And it did not work out though, as RNG are able to take that ticket.
Yeah, they absolutely are. RNG, of course, joining Samsung Galaxy. Samsung Galaxy looked phenomenal today. Incredible threat forward as one of those pool 1 seeds that's going to draw one of the groups. But just so many question marks. Again, even Samsung Galaxy, week 1 to week 2. If you took name tags off, you wouldn't know it was the same team.
No, man.
Definitely agree. I mean, honestly, the improvements this week were very, very impressive. Also, moving forward. I think they convince everyone of Crown's victor.
Anybody needed more.
Hoy le estáis jugando.
And I think 2 subs this week will come through. Pawn will most likely start.
falta mucho.
More impressive. And Core JJ, man, the support player that was a former
¿Cuánto llevan, weón?
stepping up huge on the world stage. That has got to be one of the best stories coming into the quarterfinals.
Ah, ya, cagamos. Ahí avisan cuando terminemos.
Some local history here. A lot of the fans and viewers, I'm sure they're going to be aware of him. We're going to have to find out how he
Oye,
performs.
Diego, jugamos con el
We're going to join
este.
Shocks for an interview with Royal. Never gives up superstar.
Man. ¿Por qué te con mañita?
Thank you very much, Trevor. And you joined here by Uzi after RNG secures that spot in the quarterfinal. Uzi,
¿Cuánto puede gustar solo mí, weón?
what relief is it that you guys made it here after you had to play that do or die match? When did you feel the momentum?
Con el Uzi, weón, con el Uzi no.
你们今天打的是起伏的很不定嘛，然后呢，就是今天最后一场也是生死战，你们今天赢了这场之后呢，对你来说是一个多大的放松？然后你什么时候发现说你们可以翻盘赢的呢？
首先能赢非常开心，然后也出现了嘛，因为今天我们的状态说实话不是特别好，在前面2场比赛也是，就是给人的感觉就是已经被淘汰了吧，就最后一场能够找回状态，非常的开心。
I'm really happy that we actually made it out of group stage today, because our team wasn't really in the best condition to play today, and after our first 2 games, everyone saw that we're probably already heading home, but we won. We won.
Well, you mentioned it there. It was do or die. Why do you think the group stage was so up and down for your team?
Sorry?
Why do you think the group stage was so up and down for their team?
他刚刚也说，你之前也提到说，你们今天这场是生死战吗？你觉得你们在小组中为什么打得这么艰辛呢？
就首先可能就我们小组的其他队伍也非常的强，然后我们的状态也没有就是保持到很好吧，就可能中途出现了点失误什么，就会导致我们后面就打得没有往常那么好。
So first of all, I think all the teams in my group, they're really strong teams, and personally for our team, we just weren't at a very consistent performing stage.
Hermano, jugamos con el Levi, hermano, sentímonos juntos.
So we had a lot of mistakes in game, and that's
Te paso una cuenta, malo culiao.
You saw.
Well, RNG now has time to recoup and go into the quarterfinals. Uzi, you have a huge legacy already at Worlds, 2 times semi-finalists. How big is the hunger and the pressure on you personally to go far here at Worlds?
本身你亲自已经来过了，就是世界总决赛2场，反正都打到了总决赛嘛。然后今年对你来说的话，你想要走多远？
非常能够就是继续进总决赛，因为如果就是再进总决赛的话，就是连续3次，也就是非常好的一个就是成绩吧，就非常的开心会。
成绩，成绩，成绩，成绩，成绩，经济，成绩，成绩。
First off, I want to definitely make it into the finals, because then I would be in finals for 3 times already, and that is a really good score for any player.
Yeah, good previous place. It is indeed 3 times finalists that would happen, but you guys are through to the quarterfinals. Congratulations, RNG, making it through here out of group stage.
Thank you, Shocks. A smile on Uzi's face, and much deserved as they make it through here in this last.
Smile on his these days, as much as deserved.
What a game! Because
what a game!
Based on the way it started, but we have to start in champs like where it really looked like that Aurelion Soul pick threw TSM off.
Yeah, and I personally have been attacking RNG almost all day for some of the pick and ban phases, lack of flexibility and so on. I didn't believe in Xiaohu going into this game, but him getting Aurelion Soul and actually having saved that. This was the first time he's ever
Vamos a jugarlo.
He's clearly saved it for a very, very important moment. He's using it right now. And if you have a stronger mid laner, give him a pick like Aurelion Soul so he can impact other lanes, and he did. He played such a good game on this Aurelion Soul.
They had a great game plan. Start in the top side, go to the bottom with the pushing lane, 2 pushing lanes as we were talking about before, control the blue buff and just put all the pressure to the bottom lane. Eventually, TSM just could not handle the pressure. They stuck around a little too long. They refused to give up the bottom lane, and from that point on, RNG just played a pretty clean game to finish the game off.
Yeah, one of the things about the pick and ban phase that was so surprising for me was that Bjergsen was not on a pushing mid laner. And this tournament alone, every time Bjergsen hasn't been able to shove in the lane and roam and assist his team, His team's always been polarized in the early stages. And one of the weird things for me is, even though we saw Rise into Aurelion Sol earlier on, I think Twisted Fate is one of the missing picks at this Worlds against Aurelion, because not only can he shove to match Aurelion, he can also match his roams pretty strong.
Yeah, and
mira, TF contra Aurelion es bueno, pues, bueno.
Ability to follow in the very first replay, which only comes 7 minutes into the game. Triple kill for
Main?
Uzi in
Ya,
the
pues,
lane,
juguemos.
but based on the fact that Xiaohu was able to continually push that mid lane.
And this is basically everything they were
que
building
lo probé.
towards with the pick and ban phase, going army as well to that, pushing bot lane. Here he roams down and
Muy
it's such a
bueno,
good
weón,
play.
muy bueno.
First kill comes in and then here, since Karen doesn't see the cocoon over the wall, so he doesn't flash it, and that means he has to flash after, and he's now too low to really do anything. And even the last auto attack gets double lift, so really well played by RNG. And if you
Well played por Uzi, chucho tu madre.
we'll look back at that one replay and be like, ah, if I
Estoy viendo si la gente apaña, weón, que tengo unos amigos que están jugando, pero llevan 23 minutos, weón.
super close, but honestly super well.
Yeah, after that moment,
Le di un culiado, me dijo que lo esperara.
that was after that moment. Just RNG moved across the map, 4-man unit everywhere, and there's nothing you could do with that composition like what they had. It's very difficult to find a team fight that you can actually win, and they were able to pull one off, but it's not enough.
But here's the thing, we still had a game, LS, and now I want to kind of identify how it was that TSM was able to keep themselves in it.
Lamentable, TSM no alcanza.
On that rise.
Yeah, I mean, the TSM's team fighting was really immaculate,
Y
and I
por
think
un
that
match.
RNG really got overzealous with a lot of
Y
their
eso le
team fights,
partió
especially in the bottom
por
lane.
no poder ganarle a
In
RNG en
Monster's
general.
case, even though it wasn't really going off, he did have a pretty big CS advantage, and so that was something that they could have relied on moving into the mid and late game. And honestly, RNG did look a little bit shaky, and they now RNG 3 Mountain Drakes and got the Baron. I don't know if this game turns out the way that it did. I think TSM could have pulled it out through team fights.
I think it is important to highlight Hansel like you just did, because while he had like 0-3 or 1-3 score in the end, he got so many towers in the side lanes, and that is still one of the big problems for RNG, is they go for this poppy pick so often, they just surrender top lane completely, and while, yes, you're winning on the bottom side, if the enemy top lane is 50 CS up, is already taking a tower, that's a lot of extra gold you give to someone who is behind in the bottom lane. So it is a problem for RNG, definitely, but because they played so well around Uzi, and with, of course, Xiaohu roaming, they actually got a big enough advantage from that.
All right, well, now I want to take a look at that base defense put together by TSM. This ace brought to you by Acer here. It's what made the game really close and gave our fans a little bit of hope.
Just keep your eye on Beerus, flashing the Aurelion Sol ultimate combo with the knockup from Svenskeren. He's going to be able to dish out so much damage, and as soon as the carry goes down for RNG, you know that TSM carries are untouched. And this is the fight that you were really hoping that TSM could do something out of it. They were able to push down mid lane, get 2 turrets, and really shrink that gold lead.
It is not often you have
ESGG
5 members standing right next to each other, and you just have all your carries around them. Even Hansel and Jace was down the bottom of your screen, shooting them from one side, Bjergsen from another one, double it from a third angle. That was just perfect, you know, just hammer everything in that little corner. It worked for that one fight. Sadly, they were too far behind.
That's the thing. You only get that fight.
Eso viene ahora, Alejandro.
Most usually where everything's positioned perfectly, but now
ahora viene Zeicro versus Las.
to the game winner, because ultimately RNG was
Como
able
ves ahí
to
arribita.
victory. The Mountain Drakes doing a huge job in helping them secure those Barons so they could make pushes like this.
Yeah, this was the final endgame siege, and they went for a little bit of mistiming there.
No hay más partidos por hoy día, pues ese fue el grupo. Pasa Royal ¿Cómo se llaman los otros buenos que pasaron, hermano?
And at this point, the gold leads too much. They have too many items over TSM.
Yeah, and also I think RNG's composition just is
Hello?
these late game team fights. The fact that TSM managed to win some was, you know, credit to them, but also maybe some criticism towards RNG in the late game, wanting a little bit too.
Ya voy a hacer algo, claro. Voy a terminar el streaming ahora y voy a volver en un ratito más con un streaming de solo que voy a volar ahí con la promo Platino y voy. Eso, Samsung. Me olvidé el nombre.
Now, Crumbs, we had some discussion here on the desk about who to give player of the game to, and we're like, well, is it Xiaohu for showing up with
Y
the
Gansu,
After
Gansu.
seeing the damage graphs there,
Ya, cabrón, entonces vuelvo de ahí.
damage for his team.
Nos vemos un ratín.
That's who it's going to go to this time around, and I mean, all we're set up.
Ahí le estoy avisando por WhatsApp, Facebook. Ustedes saben, el spameo diario. Nos vemos un rato. Los amo. Gracias por apañarme en el Mundial. Arigato gozaimasu. Sácate un like acá. Esu kawaii. Bye bye.
How are you going to get to him with a comp like that? And he makes it work, and that's what you want to see.